Chapter 770. Ah. The three young heroes misunderstood. This is my magic weapon. It is called Flying Star Sword. Xiao Qin said. Flying Star Sword? Really? Kid, are you lying to me? The tall disciple looked at Xiao Qin suspiciously. Throw it over and let us see. Okay. Xiao Qin threw the flying sword over, but he did not plot against the three of them. After all, the three of them were obviously very vigilant against him. Especially after taking out the sword, the three of them were even more suspicious. It was not a good time to make a move at this time. It was very unwise. Bah. The tall disciple caught the flying sword that Xiao Qin threw. Seeing that Xiao Qin did not play any tricks, he was relieved and said, Kid, you are not lying to us? This thing is a magic weapon? Holding it in his hand, the tall disciple felt that it was just an ordinary sword. There was nothing special about it. How could it be a magic weapon? I don't have anything. Look at what else I have on me. As Xiao Qin spoke, he even opened his arms and shook them twice on the spot. Senior brother, this seems to be a handicraft sword. Junior brother Ba said. Yes. The other black-faced junior brother who had not spoken before also nodded and said, This looks like a broken sword that old men and old women used to practice in the park. Damn kid, you dare to play with us? The tall disciple was more and more convinced by their words, especially when he saw a line of small words on the hilt that read, Made by the Winter Seal Arts and Crafts Factory. He immediately flew into a rage out of embarrassment. Do you want to die? No, why would I dare to lie to you? Xiao Qin trembled and couldn't help but take 2 steps back. You think that's a trap? This is a handicraft. Do you think I don't know? The tall disciple said and raised his hand. A demonic aura emerged in his hand and he was about to beat up Xiao Qin. Junior brother Ba and the other black-faced junior brother were also very cooperative. Their figures flashed and they had already locked onto Xiao Qin from both sides. As long as the tall disciple gave the order, they would attack Xiao Qin. Young heroes, don't be nervous. How could I dare to deceive you in such a state? Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. This is really my treasure. Really? Alright, since that's the case, why don't you give it a try and see how to use it? The tall disciple looked at Xiao Qin's cowardly look and hesitated. He thought for a moment and said, Don't try to fish in troubled waters. Show me now. Yes. Xiao Qin caught the flying sword thrown by the tall disciple, then threw it on the ground and stepped on it. The tall disciple sneered. In his opinion, Xiao Qin was talking nonsense. It was impossible for him to fly. However, what surprised the three of them was that Xiao Qin was standing on the handmade flying sword and slowly rising into the air. The tall disciple was stunned and immediately shouted, Kid, hurry up and come down. Don't even think about taking the opportunity to escape. Believe it or not, if you dare to fly away, I will send out a signal. I don't want to run. I know it's not easy to run. Xiao Qin quickly came down. Is this really a treasure? The tall disciple looked at the flying star sword under Xiao Qin's feet in confusion. That's right. As you all know, my strength is not that high. If I were to bring out a magic treasure that is too eye-catching, I would be targeted before I could even take it out. And now, I have disguised this magic treasure as a work of art. Even if others were to see it, they would not be interested, Xiao Qin quickly explained. Damn, so it was you who disguised it. Why didn't you say so earlier? The tall disciple suddenly understood. He grabbed the flying sword under Xiao Qin's feet and then the three of them gathered together to study it. Senior brother, how do I use this thing? Junior brother Ba curiously looked at the flying sword in his hand. It did not look like a good treasure. Hey kid, how do you use it? The tall disciple asked. Don't you know? I use my mind to activate it. This thing can only be understood and not explained. I can't explain it clearly. Xiao Qin said. Oh. The tall disciple nodded his head repeatedly. Naturally, he had heard of how cultivators used magic treasures. After hearing this, the three of them no longer cared about Xiao Qin. The tall disciple waved his hand impatiently and said, Hurry up and leave, but remember, don't tell anyone about this. Of course, even if you tell us, we won't admit it. Yes. Thank you three. Xiao Qin turned around and was ready to leave. It was not that the three of them did not want to capture Xiao Qin and hand him over. However, if they captured him and Martial Uncle's smiling face did not find the flying star sword, he would definitely suspect them. It was better to let him go and let others catch him. When that time came, the person who caught Xiao Qin would not be able to explain himself. Even if Xiao Qin were to turn the tables and falsely accuse the three of them, the sect's elders would think that the person who captured Xiao Qin wanted to take the flying sword for himself and then frame his fellow sect members. Let's use our minds to activate the Flying Star Sword. Let's see who can activate it first. The tall disciple thought for a moment and said, for the sake of fairness, although he was the senior, everyone was of the same generation. Moreover, they had discovered Xiaoqin together. It was not good for him to take it for himself. Whoever can activate it first will keep it. Of course, the three of us can share it. Senior brother is wise. Junior brother Ba and junior brother Blackface nodded in agreement. As they spoke, they surrounded the Flying Star Sword in the middle. Then they sat cross-legged and began to use their minds to activate the Flying Star Sword. After Xiaoqin walked far away, he saw that the three of them were not paying attention to him. So, he hid behind a big tree and waited for an opportunity to make his move. After waiting for a while, Xiaoqin saw that the three of them were concentrating. He immediately realized that his opportunity had come. Without hesitation, he directly activated the Flying Sword. The tip of the Flying Sword was pointed right at junior brother Blackface. Shwa! Junior brother Blackface didn't even have time to make a sound before his heart was pierced. Ah! What's going on? The tall disciple and junior brother Ba were shocked. The two of them instantly opened their eyes and quickly retreated, giving way to junior brother Blackface's corpse. Senior brother, what's going on? Junior brother Ba looked nervous. The tall disciple's face was solemn. He frowned and looked at junior brother Ba. He said with some vigilance, little Ba, tell me the truth. Did you kill junior brother Blackface? You can already use your mind to activate the Flying Star Sword, right? Do you want to take it for yourself? Junior brother Ba was stunned. Then his heart trembled. He knew very well that he didn't activate the Flying Star Sword to kill. It was impossible. And senior brother said so. Could it be that senior brother was a thief crying thief? Thinking of this, junior brother Ba was very afraid. He knelt on the ground and shouted, Senior brother, don't you know who I am? I didn't do it. If it wasn't you, then who? The tall disciple looked around. Xiaoqin was long gone. It really wasn't me. Could it be that junior brother Blackface didn't control it well and accidentally did it himself? Junior brother Ba said. How is that possible? The tall disciple frowned. Suddenly he thought of something. He picked up the biological detector in his hand and began to scan the surroundings. However, Xiaoqin was now very far away. He was already out of the biological detector's range, so the detector didn't respond. The tall disciple was puzzled. The flying sword that pierced through junior brother Blackface's body. The tall disciple was caught off guard. Shwa! The tall disciple suddenly stabbed into the tall disciple's body. It really is you. The tall disciple pointed at junior brother Ba, who was kneeling on the ground. His face was full of resentment and unwillingness. He slowly fell down. It's not me. Junior brother Ba was a little stunned. However, the next moment, the flying sword that pierced through the tall disciple didn't stop. It directly flew out and pierced through junior brother Ba's body. Junior brother Ba died with a grievance. He even took the blame for his death. He also didn't understand how the flying sword could fly by itself. Xiaoqin walked over from a distance. He quickly put away the flying sword. Then he pulled out 2 sets of clothes from the 2 of them. He threw 2 fireballs to directly burn the 3 of them to ashes. Then he called out to Yi Xiaoya, come down. It's all right. Yi Xiaoya had already woken up. She watched from above as Xiaoqin deceived the 3 of them. She couldn't help but find it a little funny. These 3 people are really stupid. You can't say that they are stupid. They're just greedy. We can't stay here anymore. Quickly put on clothes and find a place to hide. Xiaoqin said. Okay. Yi Xiaoya also made a prompt decision. She put on the clothes of the black-faced disciple. Although there were some bloodstains and holes, it couldn't be seen if one didn't look carefully. Xiaoqin was tall, so he put on the clothes of the tall disciple. The 2 of them quickly moved toward the depths of the mountain range. However, Smiling Mithreya and the others were patrolling on the shuttle. If they were not careful, they would be discovered. It was not realistic to go down the mountain. The foot of the mountain was full of Joyous Clan's middle-level disciples who were responsible for commanding. Therefore, the 2 of them could only move toward the depths of the mountain range. Someone is coming. Calm down for a while. Xiaoqin said and transformed himself into the appearance of the tall disciple. However, he was helpless against Yi Xiaoya. He could only make her lower her head as much as possible. Sure enough, not long after, 2 people came over. However, the strength of the 2 people made Xiaoqin a little worried. One was a level 3 Devil General and the other was a Devil Master Perfection stage. With this kind of strength, it was very difficult for Xiaoqin to kill them. If they fought and caused a commotion, it would be very troublesome. Moreover, it seemed that the two of them were very smart. They shouldn't be greedy for his treasures. They were different from the previous three. Did the two senior brothers discover anything? Xiaochen thought about it. It was better to take the initiative to greet them. Otherwise, if they passed by without saying a word, it would be too strange. Moreover, the strength of these two people was much higher than the tall disciple. He was afraid that they were senior brothers. What's your name? Calling me senior brother? The level 3 martial general was stunned. Immediately, a pair of sharp eyes swept toward Xiaochen. Martial uncle. Xiaochen was shocked. He hurriedly said with embarrassment, the distance just now was too far. I didn't see clearly. Martial uncle, do you have any clues? Chapter 771. No, you are Xiao Gaozi, right? The level 3 general looked at Xiaochen and nodded. Yes, Uncle Master, we will go and look for him too. Xiaochen replied. And? The level 3 general looked at Xiaochen and suddenly shouted, wait! Uncle Master, do you have any other instructions? Xiaochen's heart skipped a beat, but he pretended to be calm and asked. You called me Uncle Master? The level 3 general asked. Xiaochen was a little confused. Was Uncle Master wrong too? Aren't you Coiled Silk Monk's in-name disciple? Shouldn't you call me Uncle Master? The level 3 general said. Because I'm not familiar with the ranks of Uncle Masters, so... Xiaochen was shocked and quickly explained. Oh, Heaven Rumbling Joyous Clan. The level 3 general nodded. Oh, Heaven Rumbling Joyous Clan. Although Xiaochen didn't know what was going on, he repeated it anyway. Kid, you are courting death. Who are you? Are you Xiaochen? The level 3 general was enraged and slapped Xiaochen. F***ck. Xiaochen couldn't be bothered anymore. He pulled Yi Xiaoya and started running. Now he understood that the baffling Heaven Rumbling Joyous Clan must be a secret code. He didn't match it, so the level 3 general became suspicious. What a scam. If he had known, he would have spared one and asked about the situation. It seemed like he had done all that for nothing. However, Xiaochen didn't know that the Joyous Clan was so cautious and even came up with a secret code. At that time, he thought that with so many Joyous Clan disciples, the elders probably didn't know what they looked like. He didn't expect to be recognized. Chase. The level 3 general shouted and said to the disciple beside him, release the signal flare and get everyone to come over. Yes. The disciple nodded and took out the signal flare, ignited it and released it. Level 3 martial generals chased after them relentlessly. Xiaochen had a headache. He definitely wouldn't be able to outrun this martial general level 3. However, he didn't dare to step on his flying sword and fly. This was because the smiling Mithraea was still on the flying shuttle. If he lured him over, he might really be caught. He was really afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind. Gritting his teeth, Xiaochen saw that the disciple had already released the signal flare, thinking that the smiling Mithraea would be attracted. He could only carry Yi Xiaoya, took out the flying sword, stepped on it and flew forward quickly. He really does have a magic treasure. The level 3 general was shocked to see Xiaochen escape. However, given his speed, he would not be able to catch up. As expected, the signal flare attracted the attention of the old Taoist Yanlong, the smiling Mithraea and the eldest brother. There's movement over there. Smiling Mithraea pointed in the direction of Xiaochen and shouted. He can't escape. The eldest senior brother quickly urged the flying shuttle to fly in the direction of the signal flare. After flying for a while, the smiling Mithraea shouted. Look, they are over there. This flying magic treasure is very rare. It seems to be very small. The eldest senior brother looked at Xiaochen, who was not far away, and was somewhat shocked. However, there was still some distance between them. For the time being, he couldn't see clearly what it was. Congratulations, smiling junior brother, you got such a high-level magic treasure. The old Taoist Yanlong said with envy. Although he already knew that it was a flying magic treasure, seeing such a small appearance was still very envious. However, with their seniority, it was impossible for them to do such a thing. They could only think about it. Haha, in the future, eldest senior brother and senior brother Yanlong can borrow it from me. We can all use it together. The smiling Mithraea smiled proudly as if the flying sword was already his. That's not necessary. I already have a flying shuttle. However, smiling face, it's good that you can lend it to the sect's senior and junior brothers. I didn't come all the way to help you in vain. The eldest senior brother nodded. Thank you, eldest senior brother. The smiling Mithriya was really grateful for the selfless spirit of the eldest senior brother. But it's a bit difficult to catch up with the other party. The eldest senior brother's face was very cold. The speed of Xiao Chen's flying magic treasure was not inferior to his flying shuttle. Thinking of this, he had to concentrate and control it with all his strength. So he said, "Don't talk to me. I want to focus on the pursuit." Yes. The smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yan Long hurriedly said yes. Originally, Xiao Chen saw that the speed of the flying shuttle behind him was basically the same as his. In other words, it wouldn't be able to catch up with him for a while. But just as he was relieved, he saw the flying shuttle accelerate. Xiao Chen was shocked. This thing could also accelerate? However, the flying shuttle could accelerate, but Xiao Chen couldn't. The material of this flying sword was too garbage. The current speed was already the limit. Xiao Chen there catching up. What should we do? Yi Xiaoya was somewhat worried. Damn, why am I so unlucky recently? Xiao Chen cursed. He kept looking left and right, looking for a chance to escape. According to this method of pursuit, unless Xiao Chen flew deep into the mountains, but after crossing the mountains was the sea. Continuing to fly into the sea was tantamount to courting death. Xiao Chen's elemental qi would be exhausted and he would fall. At that time he and Yi Xiaoya would die. But Xiao Chen didn't dare to change direction and fly in the direction of the city. Now it was broad daylight. If he was seen by a lot of people, they would call the police and call for bombers and fighter jets to be shot down as unidentified flying objects. That would be the end of him. Boy, you can't fly faster than us. If you know what's good for you, quickly stop. The smiling Mithriya saw that the eldest senior brother's forehead was densely covered with sweat in order to help him catch up with Xiao Chen. He was somewhat worried. So he couldn't help but shout, "If you stop now and hand over the magic treasure, I won't kill you." When he said not to kill, he just wanted to keep Xiao Chen alive. However, he must cripple Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen wouldn't believe him. He continued to fly forward desperately, but after flying for less than a minute, Xiao Chen couldn't hold it anymore. The speed of the pursuers was too fast. Xiao Chen had no choice but to take the risk and fly to the sea. He now hoped that there would be a foothold like an island in the sea, although this hope was somewhat slim. "Ya, why are you flying to the sea?" Yi Xiaoya was suddenly shocked. "If he dares to chase, then come. I don't believe that he dares to waste time with me." Xiao Chen was also desperate. He didn't believe that the flying shuttle of the smiling Mithriya could fly continuously. If it couldn't, then when they saw Xiao Chen flying to the sea, they would certainly not dare to chase. However, what made Xiao Chen regretful was that he flew to the sea, but the flying shuttle was still chasing him. Little did he know that the eldest senior brother was now in a frenzy. In his eyes there was only Xiao Chen. The scenery around him was all floating clouds. He didn't notice that below him was already a vast sea. The smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yan Long were surprised. They wanted to ask the eldest senior brother, but they were afraid to disturb him. There was no way they could only worry. Because of the eldest senior brother's full concentration, the distance between the two was getting closer and closer. In fact, Xiao Chen's current distance was already within the attack range of the smiling Mithriya and the old Taoist Yan Long. As long as the two of them used their full strength, they could beat Xiao Chen down. However, they didn't dare. After all, below them was the sea. If they beat Xiao Chen down, it didn't matter if Xiao Chen died, but the flying magic weapon would also sink into the sea. Although they were all top-notch Devil General expert cultivators, in front of the vast ocean, they were also powerless. It was said that in ancient times, only the masters of the sea-splitting stage could open a gap in the sea. However, this level no longer existed now. That was the strength of the legendary characters with great magical power. Smiling junior brother, even if we catch up here, it's not easy to make a move. If we try to snatch it, then when Xiao Chen falls into the sea, the magic weapon will also fall down. How can we salvage it? The old Taoist Yan Long looked at the smiling Mithriya with some difficulty. The smiling Mithriya was shocked. Yes, previously they only thought that they couldn't easily attack within the attack range. But even if they really caught up, they couldn't attack. If they really fell into the sea, let alone a person and a small flying magic weapon, even a big ship would be difficult to determine the direction and salvage it. Motherf ***, this kid is really cunning. The smiling Mithriya scolded. What should we do now? He must have done it on purpose. There's no need to think about it, it must be. The old Taoist Yan Long said angrily. We have to think of a way. There seems to be an island in front. The smiling Mithriya was also very worried. Suddenly his eyes lit up. He pointed to a black spot not far away and said, "That is a small island. Let's wait for Xiao Qin to arrive at the island. We will calculate the time and attack him together. Then we will hit him on the island. Even if we can't accurately land on the island, it must be nearby. It shouldn't be difficult to find him. That's right. The old Taoist Yanlong nodded. The two of them confirmed the plan and began to calculate the distance between Xiao Qin and the island. Finally, when they saw that it was about time, the two of them suddenly attacked Xiao Qin. Big Palm of Joy. Dragon Yang Wave. The two's moves were very strange. The smiling Methraia's hand suddenly stretched out. A shadow of a hand enlarged in the air. Then, it shrouded the top of Xiao Qin's head and slapped down. The old Taoist Yanlong's Dragon Yang Wave was a tornado-like shockwave that spun towards Xiao Qin. One slapped down and the other disturbed Xiao Qin's advance. He was caught in the middle of the shockwave. Just like a tornado, he would be able to smash Xiao Qin to the island below. Xiao Qin didn't think that the two of them would really dare to make a move. He was shocked. He quickly used his Yuan Qi to protect himself and Yi Xiaoya. But the other party was too strong. He didn't have time to make other countermeasures. He was slapped down and fell rapidly. "Oh!" Yi Xiaoya screamed. Fortunately, the goal of the two of them was to slap Xiao Qin down and not to kill him. Their moves were calculated. It also seriously affected the power of their attacks. Therefore, the two of them were only slightly injured. It was not fatal. All of this happened too fast. Before Xiao Qin could regain control of the flying sword, he felt a burning hot airflow coming straight up from below. Chapter 772. Xiao Qin looked down instinctively and nearly went crazy from fright. It's King Island down there. Of course, it would be fine if it was just a small island. This was a small island formed by the eruption of an undersea volcano. He and Yi Xiaoya fell right into the volcano cave in the middle of the crater. Xiao Qin could even see the rolling magma below. Xiao Qin noticed that something was wrong. Yi Xiaoya naturally noticed it too. She couldn't help but exclaim, "Xiao Qin, are we going to jump into the volcano and kill ourselves?" Gosh. Xiao Qin was a little speechless. At this time, Yi Xiaoya was still in the mood to joke. Taking a deep breath, Xiao Qin hurriedly wanted to control the flying sword. However, he was shocked to find that the flying sword was no longer under his feet. After being hit just now, he had converted the primordial qi that controlled the flying sword to protect his body. He didn't know where the flying sword went. It was too late to find it. Without a choice, Xiao Qin could only continue to use primordial qi to protect his body. "Master, let me out." Just as Xiao Qin closed his eyes and was about to use primordial qi to protect him and Yi Xiaoya, the voice of the flame of the underworld came from his mind. "Oh." Xiao Qin was stunned. He didn't have time to think about it and released the flame of the underworld. After Nethery came out, it began to spread around Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya. In an instant, it formed a spherical shroud that surrounded the two of them. "This is..." Yi Xiaoya was shocked. Although the two of them were surrounded by flames, they didn't feel the heat. "It's okay. We're on the same side." Xiao Qin comforted her. Then he was also happy. If Yi Xiaoya was watching from the outside, she would be even more surprised. Around the fire of the underworld, the originally hot flames automatically moved to the side, as if they had a mind of their own and did not dare to approach, as if they were afraid of being devoured by the fire of the underworld. Surrounded by the flames of the underworld, Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya continued to descend. They didn't know how deep the volcano was, but for the time being, they weren't in any danger. Thinking about it, Xiao Qin also understood. The flame of the underworld was a heavenly flame. Although the magma produced by the volcano was hot, it could not be compared to the heavenly flame. Therefore, Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya did not feel any discomfort. "One of us?" Yi Xiaoya was a little surprised. "You mean the fire around you?" "Yeah, his name is Nethery. He's my subordinate," Xiao Qin said. "It's a heaven and earth unusual flame. Have you heard of it?" "What? You actually subdued a heavenly flame and made it your subordinate? Is that true?" Yi Xiaoya's eyes widened. She looked at the blue flames around her in disbelief. Isn't the heavenly flame an existence that cannot be subdued? How many demonic cultivators want to refine the heavenly flame, but they have not succeeded? How did you do it? I already said that I am not a demonic cultivator. Xiao Qin smiled bitterly. That's right. Yi Xiaoya suddenly realized. You are a superpower user. It seems that you are quite powerful. As the two were talking, they suddenly felt their bodies stop. They stepped on something. They should have reached the bottom. Master, it's okay. Just as Xiao Qin was puzzled, the voice of the flame of the underworld sounded. With this voice, Nethery, who was wrapped around Xiaoqin, also dissipated and turned into a blue flame. Hey, where is this? Yi Xiaoya was very shocked as she looked around the environment. She and Xiaoqin were currently standing on top of a hard rock. This was a very spacious place, and this was not the most magical thing. The most magical thing was that not far above their heads, there was actually a layer of transparent partition. It was unknown whether it was water or some other special substance, and above the transparent layer was the surging magma. Although they were separated by only a few dozen meters, they did not feel the heat of the magma at all. Instead, it felt refreshing and pleasant here. This should be under the volcano. Xiaoqin was also very vigilant to look around. After discovering that there was no danger, he was slightly relieved. However, in this case, it should be impossible for him to go up from here. He did not know where the flying sword went. It probably fell into the sea instead of the magma. Otherwise, he could use the flying sword to let Nethery wrap him in Yi Xiaoya and fly up. Thinking that the smiling Mithraea and the others must still be waiting outside, so Xiaoqin was not in a hurry to go up. With the mentality of taking things as they came, he looked around. At this time, on the volcano, the big senior brother had already woken up from the chase. Because Xiaoqin had been beaten down, he also had no target. Why did you hit him? The big senior brother's tone was very strict. I think there is a small island below. Let's beat him to the island so that we can take away his flying divine tool. The smiling Mithraea said. But is that a small island? Xiaoqin fell into the crater of the volcano. The big senior brother said angrily. That is the crater of the volcano? The smiling Mithraea and the old Taoist Yanlong were dumbfounded. Nonsense, if you don't believe it, go and see for yourself. After saying that, the big senior brother urged the flying shuttle to gradually stop above the small island. Suddenly, the hot magma made the three of them begin to sweat. The big senior brother's strength was superior to the two of them, so he was one step ahead of them to feel that it was a crater. What should we do? The smiling Mithraea looked at the crater that was still emitting a red light, and was a little at a loss. If Xiaoqin fell in, can he still survive? What do you think? The big senior brother glared at him. Then isn't the flying magic treasure? The old Taoist Yanlong looked at the empty crater around and said weakly. He also fell in. The big senior brother snorted coldly. You two really can't do anything right but only spoil things. After chasing for so long in vain, in the end, it was all for naught. Then what should we do now? The smiling Mithraea asked with some regret. What else can we do? Go back. Otherwise, do you still want to jump down to find him? The big senior brother said angrily. Of course not. The smiling Mithraea shivered. This was surging magma. Not to mention a demon general like him, even a cultivator of a higher level would be burnt to ashes if he fell into it. The big senior brother shook his head and urged the flying shuttle to turn back. Under the volcano, Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya looked around randomly. This seemed to be some kind of ruins. On the stone wall, there were some incomprehensible symbols and words. There won't be any treasure here, right? Yi Xiaoya asked. It's hard to say. Xiaoqin frowned. If this was a ruin, then there might really be something good inside. Let's look for it. I love exploring. Yi Xiaoya was not nervous at all. She didn't think as much as Xiaoqin. Xiaoqin also agreed. Since they were here and couldn't go up for the time being, it was better to look here. Maybe there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. There seems to be a door here. Yi Xiaoya suddenly pointed to the stone wall not far away and said. Xiaoqin looked in the direction she pointed and saw a vague door. It seemed to be painted on the stone wall. If he didn't look carefully, he wouldn't notice it. He walked over and pushed it but found that it didn't move. There should be a mechanism. As Xiaoqin spoke, he started searching the surroundings. Looking around, he saw a slightly sunken square groove. Xiaoqin touched it gently and was basically certain that it was a mechanism. That's right. Xiaoqin pressed it hard, but there was no reaction. Just when Xiaoqin was puzzled, suddenly there was a rumbling sound on the stone wall. Suddenly, the stone door opened slowly, revealing a new room. Then, a rich heaven and earth spiritual qi rushed out. If he didn't guess wrong, this should be some cave ruins. Such a rich spiritual qi. Although spiritual qi didn't have much effect on ordinary cultivators, Yi Xiaoya as a fire devil cultivator could still feel it. Yes, let's go in and have a look. Xiaoqin said and took the lead to enter the cave. After entering, he was a little shocked. He saw that on the wall of the room, there were countless fiery red crystals inlaid. They looked similar to spiritual jade, and the aura they exuded was very similar to that of spiritual jade. However, the difference was that they exuded a hot aura. Elder Heaven Ancestor, this is? Xiaoqin couldn't help but ask. This is called Fire Crystal, commonly known as Fire Spiritual Jade. It has a magical effect for cultivators with Fire Spiritual Root. But for you, it is almost the same as ordinary spiritual jade. If you use it too much, you may even be poisoned by fire. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. Oh, cultivators are also divided into attributes? What attribute do I have? Xiaoqin hurriedly asked after listening. You and I are both cultivators without attributes. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. What? 5 attributes? That's awesome. Xiaoqin was surprised. Is it metal, wood, water, fire, and earth attributes? It's no attribute, not 5 attributes. Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It means no attribute. Pfft. Xiaoqin was stunned and then said gloomily, what does that mean? Is it very weak? Is it worse than any other attribute? Wrong, it should be stronger than any other attribute, but to say it is weak is also correct. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. What does that mean? Why is it contradictory? Xiaoqin was a little puzzled. Anyway, you can't meet other cultivators now, it's useless for you to study so much. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. This can't be explained in a short time. There are so many spiritual jades here, why don't you hurry up and cultivate? Why are you talking nonsense with me? Oh, I think that Li Xianer is a cultivator. Xiaoqin said. What is she cultivating? Her cultivation method will never catch up with you. Elder Heaven Ancestor said indifferently. Xiaoqin nodded and then said to Yi Xiaoya, Little Yi, we can't go out for the time being, but this place is full of fire spiritual qi, which is also very beneficial for your cultivation. Yes, then let's start dual cultivation. Yi Xiaoya nodded. Chapter 773. Dual cultivation is not possible for the time being. I have to practice by myself first. This is also good for me to improve my strength. Xiaoqin said. All right then. Yi Xiaoya had some hidden bitterness. Before starting his cultivation session, Xiaoqin carefully inspected the entire stone chamber. There was a stone table, a stone chair and a stone bed within the stone chamber. Judging by the state of the place, it was likely that a certain cultivator had once lived here. However, there were no magic weapons or books, which made Xiaoqin feel very regretful. He thought that he could pick up some things. However, it was impossible to say that someone had been here before. After all, the fire crystals inlaid on the wall were still there. If someone had been here, they would have taken them away and not left here. So thinking about it, it was estimated that the people here left on their own. The two of them prepared for a while, then they prepared to sit cross-legged and start practicing. To Xiaoqin's surprise, Yi Xiaoya quickly took off her clothes before practicing. She took off her clothes and sat cross-legged, trying to communicate with the fire spiritual energy. What are you doing? Why are you taking off your clothes while practicing? Xiaoqin was a little speechless. He looked up and down greedily, but because the light in the stone room was dim, it was completely relying on the light emitted by the fire crystals. Moreover, the angle where Yi Xiaoya sat, Xiaoqin couldn't see clearly at all. It was just that the more obscure it was, the more tempting it was. Xiaoqin took a deep breath and turned his head. The urgent matter was not to see Yi Xiaoya, but to seize the time to practice. Xiaoqin knew that the only thing that mattered was to improve his strength. The smiling Mithriya saw him fall into the volcano and left temporarily. When he found out that Xiaoqin was not dead, he would definitely continue to pursue. So if Xiaoqin had the strength, he didn't have to be afraid of him. I'm used to it, Yi Xiaoya said, and it's too hot here. I'm sweating all over with my clothes on. Xiaoqin nodded and said no more. He began to use the Stealing Heaven's Fortune battle art and began to crazily absorb the heaven and earth aura emitted by the fire crystal. It was too abundant. Xiaoqin sucked in a mouthful of spiritual qi. He was like a smoker who was addicted to smoking, sucking in mouthfuls of spiritual qi greedily. The spiritual energy that entered Xiaoqin's body was different from the spiritual energy from the spiritual jade. This spiritual energy was a little hot, but Xiaoqin could still endure it. Compared to the soothing impact of the spiritual energy on his meridians, that little bit of heat was negligible. After the spiritual energy circulated through his body, it gathered in his dantian and was absorbed by Xiaoqin. Time flew by. Cultivation had no sense of time. However, to Xiaoqin's surprise, although the fire-type spiritual energy here was scorching hot, it seemed to be endless. Xiaoqin didn't need to cherish it at all. Instead, he madly absorbed it. This was the first time he was able to absorb the heaven and earth aura so refreshingly since he started cultivating. At this moment he really wanted to thank the smiling Mithraea. If he hadn't been beaten down, he wouldn't have found such a good place. Yi Xiaoya also seemed to be very satisfied. The speed of cultivation here was much faster than the outside world. The only thing that made her a little unhappy was that she couldn't dual cultivate with Xiao Chen. If she could dual cultivate with him, the speed would be more than twice as fast as it was now. The peak of the third level of Foundation Establishment Realm, the fourth level of Foundation Establishment Realm, the peak of the fourth level of Foundation Establishment Realm. Xiao Chen's strength soared all the way. He didn't know how much time had passed. It might have been a week or it might have been a month. There was no night or day here. Xiao Chen's mobile phone had already run out of battery, so he couldn't judge the time. Phew. Xiao Chen opened his eyes and glanced at Yi Xiaoya, who was concentrating on cultivating beside him. His heart couldn't help but burn with an evil fire. He had an impulse to execute her on the spot. It must be because it was too hot. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and moved his head to the other side with difficulty. His gaze stopped on the stone bed. At this moment, Xiao Chen's strength was already at the peak of the fifth level of Foundation Establishment Realm. He didn't know why, but he suddenly wanted to stop. He also had an impulse to go to the stone bed and investigate. He didn't know where this idea came from. In any case, if he didn't take action, he definitely wouldn't be able to concentrate on cultivating. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Chen got up and walked to the edge of the stone bed. He studied it carefully. The stone bed was bare and there was nothing special about it. Moreover, the surrounding heaven and earth aura was the same as anywhere else. There was nothing special about it. Why did he have to study this bed? Xiao Chen couldn't figure it out. He looked at the bed and wanted to turn around to cultivate, but he just couldn't calm his heart down. He forced himself to go back to his original position and meditate. He closed his eyes and circulated the mantra, but he still couldn't absorb the heaven and earth aura freely like before. It was as if he was tired of this matter and had to study the stone bed. Without a choice, Xiao Chen stood up again. He walked to the front of the stone bed and carefully examined it. This time Xiao Chen found something different. At the edge of the stone bed, there seemed to be a small gap. Although it was very shallow, if one looked carefully they could still see it. Xiao Chen reached out to touch the gap. He used a little force but he didn't find anything. It shouldn't have been opened by brute force. This gap didn't have anything to borrow force from. It wasn't very realistic to use his hands to forcefully open it. Unless Xiao Chen smashed the stone bed, but that wouldn't be in line with his original intention. In his opinion, there should be some kind of mechanism nearby. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen looked around. Sure enough, at the foot of the bed, Xiao Chen saw a small groove. It was the same as the door outside. The mechanism here wasn't very difficult to find. It didn't seem to be deliberately making things difficult for people. Xiao Chen pressed the groove. After a while there was a clicking sound. A layer of stone slabs on the stone bed slowly rose. Originally, Yi Xiaoya was focused on her cultivation. Even if Xiao Chen walked back and forth a few times, it didn't affect her. After all, Xiao Chen's movements were very light. But now, the sound of the stone bed woke her up. She looked strangely at the slowly rising stone slabs. Just as she was about to ask what Xiao Chen was doing, the next moment, Yi Xiaoya saw a red mist rushing towards Xiao Chen. It directly entered Xiao Chen's head. This sudden change gave her a shock. She looked at Xiao Chen in panic and said, "Xiao Chen, what's wrong? What are you doing?" Xiao Chen also screamed. He also saw a red mist rushing towards him after the stone bed opened. However, he didn't have time to dodge and the mist invaded his body. He only felt that his mind was burning and in an instant, it went blank. "Wow, I've finally been reborn. Kid, thank you for providing me with a body. I'll help you take care of your woman." Gah. The voice was originally very proud, but it suddenly stopped. It was replaced by another voice. "This disciple really worries me. Sai, luckily I have some ability. Otherwise, this silly boy would have been possessed by someone else." Chapter 774. What happened to me just now? That was Xiao Chen's original voice. "Idiot, you were possessed." Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily, "Are you stupid? Tell me, are you stupid or not? Why did you open the coffin for no reason? Do you have nothing better to do?" "That's a coffin?" Xiao Chen was startled. "Nonsense, don't you see that there are still bones in there?" Elder Heaven Ancestor said angrily, "If I hadn't been vigilant, that bastard would have succeeded, and I would have to fight with him for the rest of my life. Xiaochen looked under the stone bed and sure enough, there was a pile of scattered human bones. It was weathered and he couldn't tell its age. However, there was a small rectangular box next to the bones. He didn't know what it was, but it looked like a treasure. Xiaochen was overjoyed. It seemed that he didn't open the coffin for nothing. He was about to pick it up, but then he remembered what happened just now and he didn't dare to act rashly. Xiaochen, what happened to you just now? Why did you imitate several people's voices? Yi Xiaoya asked in confusion. Oh, it's nothing. Xiaochen shook his head and was about to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor if he could move the box under the stone bed, when he suddenly felt something like a flame exploding in his body. Ah! Xiaochen let out a blood-curdling scream. He felt as if all the meridians in his body were about to boil in an instant. That ball of flame started to circulate around his body. Ah! Xiaochen screamed again and again. The clothes on his body were vaporized and not even ashes were left. His entire body had turned into a scarlet-red color. It was very frightening. Xiaochen's eyes were red and he was running in the stone room. At this moment, his mind was not clear, and he didn't even know what he was doing. Hey kid, don't be impulsive, don't run around. Elder Heaven Ancestor's anxious voice sounded in Xiaochen's mind, but Xiaochen turned a deaf ear. It wasn't that he didn't want to listen, but he couldn't hear it anymore. He had become unconscious. Elder Heaven Ancestor didn't have a choice. If this continued, Xiaochen would die. He could only grit his teeth and decide to possess Xiaochen again. However, to his disappointment, he had just possessed Xiaochen's body once, and he had even helped Xiaochen destroy the soul that came out of nowhere. Now, he no longer had the physical strength and vitality to complete a second possession. Xiaochen, what are you doing? Yi Xiaoya saw Xiaochen walking around in the stone room in pain. She was shocked and didn't know what to do. But seeing Xiaochen in pain, Yi Xiaoya hesitated for a moment, and couldn't help but chase after Xiaochen and hug him. Xiaochen, wake up, what's wrong with you? Although Xiaochen's body was frighteningly hot, Yi Xiaoya was a fire-type devil cultivator. This degree of heat, especially through Xiaochen, was not enough to do anything to her. He felt like he was being hugged by a soft body, and the heat in his body seemed to be transmitted to her. Xiaochen felt a burst of comfort and subconsciously hugged Yi Xiaoya. Ah! Yi Xiaoya let out a moan, and her whole body was pushed to the ground by Xiaochen. Xiaochen's actions at the moment were completely meaningless. He felt that he was very hot, and what he had to do now seemed to be able to alleviate it. Yi Xiaoya screamed and her whole body trembled in pain. Xiaochen was completely unconscious at the moment, so he didn't know what gentleness and tenderness were. Yi Xiaoya was a little upset. Why did my first time happen in this situation? She had fantasized many times before. Although she knew that the person she was going to dedicate herself to was Xiaochen, she didn't expect it to be like this. What she imagined was that after the dual cultivation was over, they would be lying on the same bed, and then they would be aroused and then, however, Yi Xiaoya didn't regret it. As long as it could alleviate Xiaochen's pain, it didn't matter if she felt a little uncomfortable. Moreover, it wasn't really very uncomfortable. Gradually Yi Xiaoya closed her eyes and began to enjoy it. This was because she found that this seemed to be able to improve her cultivation more than dual cultivation. Feeling a steady flow of fiery demonic energy into her body, Yi Xiaoya quickly circulated her energy to resolve it. What happened next seemed to be no different from dual cultivation. It was still the mutual circulation of vitality, and it was twice the result with half the effort. Yi Xiaoya even thought that if she knew it would be so fast, she would have seduced Xiaochen earlier and let him push her. As time passed, Xiaochen slowly became sober from a state of insanity. When he realized what he was doing, he was instantly dumbfounded. He did Yi Xiaoya just like that? He wasn't ready yet. Although he had gone through fire and water with Yi Xiaoya, Xiaochen also knew that the two of them would develop into a relationship sooner or later. Otherwise they would be naked together every day. If he let Yi Xiaoya be with other men, Xiaochen wouldn't be comfortable. But wasn't it a little too fast now? And it was even in this environment. But then he thought of something and felt something. Although it was unconscious before, the mantra had been circulating, including now. After the flame exploded in Xiaochen's body, it turned into a mass of fiery vitality that surged throughout his body. He and Yi Xiaoya's dual cultivation led the hot part of the fiery vitality into Yi Xiaoya's body, turning it into energy for Yi Xiaoya to improve her strength. As for the original vitality, it was transformed and absorbed by Xiaochen. He didn't know if it was because he had pushed down Yi Xiaoya, but Xiaoqin suddenly discovered that his strength had suddenly jumped from the peak of the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment stage to the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment stage. He was only one step away from the peak of the Foundation Establishment stage. Xiaoqin could be said to have stepped into the state of the half-step Golden Core stage. This kind of speed of leveling up suddenly scared Xiaoqin. He quickly asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor, "Elder Heaven Ancestor, am I taking the elevator to level up?" The person who wanted to take over your body, the previous owner of this stone room, was a cultivator with fire spiritual roots. He had set up a very advanced bewildering array in this room. Any fire cultivator who had reached the peak of the 5th level of the Foundation Establishment stage would unknowingly lose their minds and open the coffin on the stone bed, allowing him to take over their bodies. Elder Sky said. "But I'm not a cultivator without an attribute?" Xiaoqin was a little puzzled. A cultivator without an attribute is the best target for possession. He can create a constitution of any attribute. Elder Heaven Ancestor said. "It seems like I've become Tripitaka's flesh." Xiaoqin sighed. More or less. Before he passed away, he retained a portion of his strength and vitality, waiting for it to circulate in your body after he took over your body, completely refining your constitution into a fire attribute for his use. However, I interfered with it, causing his soul to scatter, but that strength and vitality remained in your body. Elder Heaven Ancestor explained, because you don't have his mantra, you can't refine the strength and vitality of the fire attribute. Fortunately, you brought a fire-type demonic cultivator as a friend. Then, the fire element in your fire attribute vitality was dissolved, and the vitality was absorbed by you. That's my teammate, okay? How did it become a friend in your mouth? Xiaoqin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Elder Heaven Ancestor, you really don't know how to respect your elders. Did I say something wrong? Then what are you doing? Elder Heaven Ancestor asked curiously. Forget it, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Xiaoqin directly ignored Elder Heaven Ancestor and continued to work with Yi Xiaoye to improve their strength. Yi Xiaoye suddenly screamed. I'm going to faint. Lil, Yi, the way you call me is really special. Why do you keep calling me? What are you screaming for? I leveled up. I've become a demonic cultivator, Xiaoqin, did you know that? Yi Xiaoye said in surprise. I'm about to become a demonic cultivator. What's so strange about that? Xiaoqin shrugged. Then hurry up and continue. Yi Xiaoye saw that Xiaoqin was not moving and immediately became anxious. I'm a little regretful now. If we did this earlier, wouldn't I have already become a demonic cultivator? You wish. It's all because of the environment here. Xiaoqin said. If we did this earlier, it would be good for me. You don't have any, and it's easy to be sucked to death by me. If that's the case, then let's not leave. Let's cultivate here until we become peerless experts before coming out. Yi Xiaoye said. There's so much spiritual energy here. If we leave, it'll be a waste. Look at those heroes in Wuxia TV shows. Don't they all go to a cave and cultivate peerless martial arts before coming out? At that time, we'll be like those experts coming out to the demon sect conference and killing everyone. You're thinking too much. First of all, after cultivating for so long, the demon sect conference has already ended. Secondly, there's not much spiritual energy here. Xiaoqin glanced at the fire crystals on the wall. He didn't know if it was because of his special consumption of spiritual energy during cultivation, or if the owner of these fire crystals had already used up a lot of energy. Anyway, many of them had already dimmed. Obviously, there wasn't much spiritual energy left. It was estimated that they could only persist for 1 or 2 more days before completely losing their original effects. Okay. Yi Xiaoye also felt that she was thinking too much. But how do we get out? Hee, why don't we just fly out? Xiaoqin smiled faintly. He was already a cultivator at the peak of Foundation Establishment level 10. He could fly in the air. Of course, the flying distance couldn't be too long. Otherwise, he would still need to use a flying sword. However, even if the distance wasn't long, it was enough to rush out of the volcano. You can fly out? Yi Xiaoye's eyes widened. Isn't your flying sword gone? If it's gone, I'll just ride you and fly, Xiaoqin said. Annoying. Yi Xiaoye's face turned red. Xiaoqin was still on her and hadn't gotten off. She naturally thought of something. Then hurry up and ride. Don't stay still. Hee. Xiaoqin's strength had increased greatly, and his mood was much better. He thought that something would happen between him and Yi Xiaoye sooner or later, so he didn't care anymore. Previously, he was afraid that Yi Xiaoye's sect or the so-called demon sect leader would come looking for trouble. After all, Yi Xiaoye was some saintess candidate. She couldn't lose her virginity. However, now that Xiao Qin couldn't kill all martial general level experts in seconds, he definitely had no problem protecting himself. Chapter 775. The two of them cultivated for a while until all the fire crystals in the stone room dimmed and no longer emitted energy. Only then did Xiao Qin get up from Yi Xiaoya's body. Hey, are you done? Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Qin strangely. I heard that after a man does it, isn't it only done? What do I have to do? Xiao Qin was taken aback. Just make it. Yi Xiaoya said. Oh, I'm afraid that you'll get pregnant. Besides, aren't we dual cultivating? It's not like it's just that, Xiao Qin said. Oh, but don't you feel uncomfortable? Yi Xiaoya was a little puzzled. It's nothing. Xiao Qin shook his head. He didn't just do it with Yi Xiaoya because of the desire between a man and a woman, but to release the fire poison in his body. These happened to be beneficial to Yi Xiaoya, so both of them improved their strength. However, these dim fire crystals weren't very helpful to Xiao Qin in the later stages, so Xiao Qin's strength was still stuck at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Yi Xiaoya, on the other hand, was much more powerful. She was now a 3rd level Devil Master. Why don't you do it with me for a while? It's simply too good. Yi Xiaoya said reluctantly. Ah. Xiao Qin was taken aback. Don't misunderstand. I mean, it's too good to level up. Yi Xiaoya's face turned red. There's no sense of accomplishment. I won't do it anymore, Xiao Qin said. Oh, the rest is not bad, okay? Yi Xiaoya was a little embarrassed. Then let's wait. Let's go back now. Maybe we can still make it in time for the Devil Gate conference. Xiao Qin said and began to put on his clothes. Oh. Yi Xiaoya thought of business and put on her clothes. When he was ready to leave, Xiao Qin's gaze finally fell on the rectangular box beside the white bones under the stone bed. After hesitating for a moment, Xiao Qin took it in his hand, then carried Yi Xiaoya and leaped up, releasing the Hades flame. Just like before, surrounded by the flames of the netherworld, the two of them rose rapidly, completely unaffected by the lava. By the way, what if the smiling Mithraea hasn't left yet? Yi Xiaoya was suddenly worried. Then beat him to death, Xiao Qin said calmly. There was an indescribable confidence in his words. You can beat him now? Yi Xiaoya was surprised. Even if I can't win, I won't suffer a loss, Xiao Qin said calmly. Great. Yi Xiaoya was overjoyed when she heard that. Then you can compete for the demon sect leader. At that time I'll be your wife. Alright. Xiao Qin thought about it and it seemed that it was really possible. Before, he had been thinking about how to destroy the demon sect grand meeting. If he snatched the position of the demon sect leader, wouldn't it be equivalent to destroying it? At that time, the worries of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau would be solved. During the conversation, the two of them had already flown out of the crater, but there was no one outside. The smiling Mithraea probably estimated that Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya had already been burned to death, so he didn't continue to wait. Standing near the volcano, the first thing Xiao Qin had to do was to find the flying sword. Otherwise he couldn't fly back so far. He hoped that the smiling Mithraea wouldn't find it and take it away. Otherwise, Xiao Qin wouldn't have the materials to refine another one. Closing his eyes and sensing the surroundings, Xiao Qin waved his hand, and the flying sword rose from the sea. It turned out that it fell into the sea, but only the owner, Xiao Qin, could find it. Yi Xiaoya was surprised. She followed Xiao Qin on the flying sword and flew in the direction of Wutan town. Xiao Qin, you are so powerful. Can you teach me to learn special abilities? Yi Xiaoya said enviously. This shouldn't be possible. Xiao Qin shook his head. Cultivation was not something that everyone could do. Furthermore, the amount of resources he expended alone was already very shocking. Unless he had a fortuitous encounter in the future, it would be very troublesome to bring along another person to cultivate. Forget it. I'm just curious. Can our baby become a special ability user in the future? Asked Yi Xiaoya. It should be possible? Xiao Qin didn't expect Yi Xiaoya to think so far ahead. She connected it to the baby, but at that time he should already be a very advanced cultivator. It shouldn't be a problem to cultivate with another person. That's good. Yi Xiaoya nodded happily. Although his strength had improved, Xiao Qin's flying speed was still not very fast due to the limitations of the flying sword's material. It was just a little faster than before. About half an hour later, Xiao Qin returned to the previous mountain range. There were no more joyful clan disciples at the foot of the mountain, and it was peaceful again. After flying for a distance, he landed on land with Yi Xiaoya. Wutan town was not far ahead. Xiaoqun didn't want others to see that he could fly. Currently, only the smiling Mithria knew about it. He probably wouldn't say it out loud. Who are you? The demon sect grand meeting is being held. Unauthorized personnel are not allowed to enter. Just as the two of them walked into the town, they were stopped at the door. These were two cultivators at the great perfection of the Demon Master level 10. The aura on their bodies was completely exposed. We are here to participate in the demon sect grand meeting. Xiaoqun said, we are disciples of the Devil Star sect. The grand meeting has already begun. If you are here to participate, you should know about it, right? The gatekeeper looked at Xiaoqun and Yi Xiaoye and said, are you here to fish in troubled waters? How is that possible? We are really disciples of the Devil Star sect. As Yi Xiaoye said that, she took out her Devil Star sect token and said, take a look if you don't believe me. So what if you have a token? That only proves that you are from the Devil Star sect. It doesn't prove that you are a participant. The gatekeeper said, alright, those who are here to watch the fun don't have to come. Why don't you just investigate our identities and names? Xiaoqun said coldly. Investigate? If I investigate everyone, then I don't have to do anything else. Alright, hurry up and leave. The gatekeeper waved his hand impatiently. Is that so? Xiaoqun grabbed the collar of the gatekeeper and released his aura in an instant. His strength that was close to the middle stage of Devil General was completely revealed. You are a demon general. The gatekeeper turned pale with fright. Xiaoqun's strength was at least at the 4th or 5th layer of Devil General. This made his complexion suddenly change. This kind of person was the backbone of each sect, and he actually used that kind of arrogant attitude to talk to him. He was simply courting death. Don't worry about what I am. Are you going to investigate? Xiaoqun asked. No need to investigate. The gatekeeper said quickly. What? Xiaoqun lifted him up. No, I mean there is no need to investigate. Please come in. The gatekeeper said quickly, a powerful cultivator like you will definitely not lie. Let's go. Xiaoqun put down the gatekeeper and swaggered into Wutan town with Yi Xiaoye. The Demon Gate conference was held in the central square of Wutan town. Yi Xiaoye brought Xiaoqun directly to the square. They stood at the outermost edge and saw a person standing on the arena in the square. He was cupping his fists and smiling at everyone. Thank you for your support. Since no one else came to challenge me, then I, Ma Longting, will be disrespectful to refuse the position of the Demon Gate sect leader. This young man's age couldn't be seen. He was probably in his 30s, or maybe he took good care of himself. It's over? Xiaoqun was stunned. Seems to be a challenge. No one else challenged him, so he naturally became the final winner. Yi Xiaoye said. Looks like I'm a step too late. Where is this person from? Xiaoqun asked. He is the son of the Kuei Mountain sect leader Ma Baozhu. His name is Ma Longting, and his cultivation level is at the 4th level of the Demon General. Yi Xiaoye said, the competition this time limited the age. Only the younger generation of each sect can participate in the selection of the sect leader. To put it nicely, the future of the Demon Gate belongs to the younger generation. Among the younger generation, Ma Longting's strength is the highest. He is at the 4th level of the Demon General. Kuei Mountain sect? Xiaoqun quivered and jumped up. He passed the crowd and flew onto the arena. He stepped on the arena and mocked, aren't some people celebrating too early? The people below haven't said that there are no more challengers, and you call yourself the Demon Gate sect leader? Who are you? Ma Longting was stunned, and a gloomy expression flashed across his face. In his opinion, the other party must have come up to slap his face on purpose. Otherwise, why didn't he come up earlier and only came up when he was about to announce the results? And from the strength that this person displayed when he jumped onto the arena, he was definitely a demon general. He didn't come with good intentions. Fiend Star Sect disciple Xiaoqun. Xiaoqun said plainly, you can also call me Hero White Fox. Hero your head, Fiend Star Sect? Just a small sect and you want to compete for the Demon Gate sect leader? You are overestimating yourself. Since you are not convinced, then very well, I will make you convinced. When he heard that Xiaoqun was a disciple of the Fiend Star Sect, Ma Longting was instantly relieved. He thought that the other party was a rival sect looking for trouble. He didn't expect it to be a small sect, so there was nothing to be afraid of. One had to know that although the Kuei Mountain sect was the strongest sect in the outside world, there were some demon gates whose strength was on par with the Kuei Mountain sect. Some even surpassed the Kuei Mountain sect. However, the Kuei Mountain sect had a background and backing, so it became the #1 demon gate. It was normal for other sects to be unconvinced, but he didn't expect it to be the Fiend Star sect. Isn't that Xiaoqin? Junior brother's smiling face. This guy didn't die after falling into the volcano? Taoist Dianlong said to smiling face Mithrea beside him in surprise. That's strange. This kid really didn't die. Smiling face Mithrea was also shocked. And how did his strength become a demon general? Could it be that he was hiding his strength before? In his opinion, it was simply impossible for Xiaoqin to increase his cultivation by so many levels in less than a month. Even if he had a fortuitous encounter, it was still impossible. So, the only possibility was that Xiaoqin had been concealing his strength. Or it could be said that he wasn't hiding it on purpose, but because of some special reason, his strength was suppressed, and now it was released. Did you purposely come up here to make a fool of yourself? Ma Qingting instantly laughed when he heard this. This was the most ridiculous opponent he had ever seen. I just fell asleep. I don't want to watch the fight between these small shrimps. Hurry up and tell me the rules. Xiaoqin said indifferently. Rules? It means there are no rules. Ma Qingting sneered and said, that is to say, even if I kill you, you will die for nothing. I know. Xiaoqin suddenly attacked. Dark Flame Palm. At this moment, Xiaoqin's peak foundation establishment 10th level strength was fully displayed. Combined with his martial skill, his power was vaguely approaching the 6th or 7th level of demon general. Boom. Just as Ma Qingting finished laughing, he was slapped off the stage by Xiaoqin and smashed into the ground, creating a deep pit. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, but luckily he didn't die. Qingting. Ma Qingting was shocked. He hurriedly ran over and hugged Ma Qingting, but he found that the bones in Ma Qingting's chest were all broken. Although it wasn't life-threatening, the injury was very serious. I'm fine. Ma Qingting spat out another mouthful of blood and fainted. Xiaoqin, you actually broke the rules and cheated. Ma Qingting pointed at Xiaoqin and shouted. Rules? Are you stupid? Or did water get into your head? Xiaoqin looked at Ma Qingting in surprise. Ma Qingting just said that the rules mean there are no rules. Didn't you hear it just now? Ma Qingting was speechless. These words were indeed said by Ma Qingting, and he really couldn't refute it. Alright, I'm Xiaoqin from the Demonic Star sect. Everyone feel free to challenge me. I'll accept your challenge. Xiaoqin stood on the stage, cupped his fists, and spoke in a carefree manner. The people below the stage looked at each other, speechless. This huge change stunned everyone present. When did such a dark horse appear in the Devil Star sect? A magnificent reversal at the last moment. However, even if they were envious, no one dared to challenge him. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that the strength displayed by Xiaoqin's palm strike earlier was something that could only be unleashed by a demonic general of the 6th layer. Who among them had such strength? Xiaoqin saw that no one came up, so he imitated Ma Qingting and said, Thank you for your appreciation. Since no one else wants to challenge me, then I, Xiaoqin, will accept the position of the Outer Pugilistic Demon sect master. Ma Qingting's face darkened, but looking at his son in his arms, he definitely couldn't go up to challenge him. Moreover, his son was the strongest in the Kuei Mountain sect. If others went up, they would just be courting death. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he really couldn't make false accusations. He could only say against his will, that's right. If no one else wants to challenge me, then I will announce that Devil Star sect's Xiaoqin is this time's Outer Pugilistic Demon sect master. Xiaoqin was stunned. It can't be? He got the position of Demon sect master so easily? Of course, the most excited person was Qi Xiangmei. She looked at Yi Xiaoya. Was what this girl said true? Xiaoqin got the position of sect master just like that? Ahem, is there anyone else who wants to challenge me? If you miss this opportunity, you won't get another one. Ma Qingting continued to provoke the crowd. Because no one refuted him when he spoke just now, he really didn't want the position of sect master to fall into the hands of an unknown nobody. Everyone looked at each other. You Kurt, don't you feel pain in your back when you speak? Xiaoqin was at least a level 6 demon general. Who would dare to go up and get beaten up? Ma Qingting King set a limit for participants to be over 35 years old. Wasn't your son the strongest among those under 35 years old? However, at this moment, everyone was a little gloating. When they heard about this rule, they more or less guessed that the Kuei Mountain sect wanted to give the position of sect master to Ma Qingting. In the end, Qing Yaojin came out of nowhere and shattered their dreams. Haha, since no one objects, then it would be impolite of me to refuse. By the way, can I start choosing the demon sect's saintess? Xiaochen turned to look at Ma Qingting and asked. This can wait a little longer. Ma Qingting said with a dark face. He still wanted to bring all the beauties from other sects into his son's room, indirectly turning it into a marriage alliance with other demon sects. Then he could control them. But now, how could he be willing to let Xiaochen take advantage of all this? Wait your head. You're the sect master and I'm the sect master? What you say goes and what I say goes. Xiaochen said angrily. This, of course the sect master has the final say. Ma Qingting finally understood what it felt like to shoot oneself in the foot. He had set up such a demon sect master election. Now that the sect master had been chosen, if he was the first to disobey, then this event would become a joke. His Kuei Mountain sect would also become the laughing stock of the outer martial arts world. They would not be able to hold such a sect master election in the future. Now Ma Qingting's only thought was to wait for Xiaochen to be the sect master for this term and let his son take the position again in the next election. After thinking about it, he decided to forget about it since it was just a few women. He could only say, however, according to the rules you can only choose one. Don't choose too many because the demon sect master of the outer martial arts world is not for life. They are chosen once a year. You have to leave some for others, right? What? Xiaochen looked askance at Ma Qingting. When the others heard Ma Qingting's words, they were confused. Why did the sect master be chosen once a year? It was not mentioned before. However, after thinking about it carefully, they understood that the Kuei Mountain sect was not willing to accept this. However, these people did not have a good relationship with the Devil Star sect. There was no need to offend the Kuei Mountain sect over this matter. Hence, after being surprised, no one stood up to object. This is the rule set by the Kuei Mountain sect, the leader of our demon sect's event. Everyone is clear, right? Ma Qingting was impressed by his wit. He had finally found a solution. He wanted to say half a year, but that would be a little too disgusting. Hence, after thinking about it, he decided to say 1 year. Clear, I support it. The one who stood up to support was actually the smiling Mithriya of the Joyful clan. He looked at Xiaochen on the stage with a smile and a fierce look in his eyes. However, he really did not dare to confront Xiaochen head-on at this moment. Xiaochen was now the demon sect master, and this was led by the Kuei Mountain sect. If he tried to kill Xiaochen on the first day of Xiaochen's appointment, wouldn't it be equivalent to slapping the Kuei Mountain sect in the face? Although the Kuei Mountain sect would definitely be happy to see this, they would definitely hypocritically punish and denounce the Joyful clan. He would not do such a strenuous and unrewarding thing. Wasn't it just 1 year? He would kill Xiaochen a year later. Moreover, as long as the limelight was over, he could secretly find a chance to kill Xiaochen. The Kuei Mountain sect would not know who killed him, and he believed that they would not investigate in detail. Hence, he planned to build a good relationship with the Kuei Mountain sect first. Not bad. Since everyone supports it, then it's settled. Ma Qingting made a generalization and then said to Xiaochen, you can choose a woman from the demon sect as your partner. Do you have a list? Xiaochen wanted to say Qing Menjing, but on second thought, the young mistress was not a saintess candidate at all. All he knew was Yi Xiaoya and Hongzhu. He was not sure if Xin Jingxian was considered one. Chapter 777. As for Hongzhu, he did not need to worry about him at all. After thinking for a while, Xiaochen said, it's better to be familiar with this kind of thing. I've decided to choose Yi Bia from the Demonic Star sect. Yi, no problem. Ma Qizhu was very happy when he heard that Xiaochen was from the Demonic Star sect. He was afraid that Xiaochen would choose other powerful sections. In that case, the election next year would be very stressful. After all, the Demonic Star sect and the sect he was going to marry did not want Xiaochen to step down, so they would take some measures to give Ma Qizhu a headache. Now that there was only the Demonic Star sect, there was nothing to be afraid of. Yi Xiaoya was very surprised after hearing this. Qi Xiangmei also hoped that at least Xiaochen was a responsible person. In this way, Yi Xiaoya did not have to worry about being blamed at all, because from this moment on, she was Xiaochen's woman. Master, see, I told you. Yi Xiaoya was very happy. Well, but I'm afraid that things are not so simple. The Quishan sect does not dare to do anything to Xiaochen openly, but after all, Xiaochen took their position. I'm afraid that they will secretly deal with Xiaochen. Qi Xiangmei said with some worry. Ah. After the excitement, Yi Xiaoya remembered this important thing. Her face suddenly showed a worried look. What should we do? I don't know. Qi Xiangmei smiled bitterly. But I think Xiao Qin has a complete plan. Yi Xiaoya was relieved after hearing this. Thinking about it, it was true. Every time Xiao Qin seemed to be confident. Because the final leader of the demonic star sect was not Ma Qingfei, but Xiao Qin. Ma Qizhu did not want to continue the event. Originally, after Ma Qingfei took office, there would be a series of measures and joint activities, but these were all cancelled by Ma Qizhu. He could not let an outsider, Xiao Qin, take advantage of him, right? He was going to let Xiao Qin exist in name only and delay the plan for a year. Anyway, 1 year was not long, so he stood up and announced. Well, this year's Demonic Star Sect conference is over. Everyone can go back. Demonic Star Sect leader Xiao Qin, if there are any actions or orders in the future, you can coordinate with the host of the Demonic Star Sect, the Quishan Sect. A cold smile flashed across Xiao Qin's lips. He also knew what was going on with the Demon Sect Master. It would be strange if Ma Wuxiao allowed him to take over. However, he didn't want to be a sect master. His main purpose was to cause destruction. Now that he had achieved his goal, nothing else mattered. Although Xiao Qin was a well-known figure among the younger generation of the demon sect, Xiao Qin was still not a match for those old fellows. Who knew if there was an existence that surpassed the demon general? Therefore, Xiao Qin did not intend to force everyone to obey his orders at this time. That was unrealistic and impossible. Things could only be reversed when pushed to the extreme. Alright, everyone go back and rest. This sect leader doesn't have anything to ask of you for the time being. Xiao Qin waved his hand and left the stage. Everyone was very satisfied with Xiao Qin's tactfulness. If the sect master was Ma Qingting, everyone feared the Kuei Mountain sect's reputation and might have disobeyed. However, the sect master was Xiao Qin of the Devil Star sect. Why should they give him face? Therefore, it was better for Xiao Qin to know his own limits. It would save everyone from falling out with each other. Xiao Qin came to Yi Xiaoya's side and gently held Yi Xiaoya's hand, making her feel sweet in her heart. Let's go back to the inn. Xiao Qin said, Senior Qi, please? Xiao Qin, you're not bad. Qi Xiangmei was very satisfied that her disciple could follow Xiao Qin especially, but she thought about it and said, You don't have to be so polite. Since you claim to be a disciple of the Devil Star sect, you can call me Martial Uncle. Yes, Martial Uncle. Xiao Qin did not refuse. The three of them left just like that. At least, Ma Beiki felt a little better. He was afraid that Xiao Qin would use the name of the demon sect master to criticize him. If that happened, it would be really troublesome. Since Xiao Qin had left, then so be it. The Devil Star Conference ended with a strong start and a weak finish. However, everyone tactfully did not talk about it. Back at the inn, the innkeeper could not help but be stunned when he saw Xiao Qin. Did Xiao Qin escape the smiling Mithria's pursuit? And he swaggered back. Could it be that the matter was resolved? Young hero, you're back? Are you checking out? The innkeeper smiled. No, I'll stay for a few more days, Xiao Qin said. Ah. The innkeeper was stunned, but then he said awkwardly, I'm sorry, young hero. The inn has been full these days. There are no more vacancies. When Xiao Qin and Yi Xiaoya came, not all the people of the Devil Star sect had arrived. After that, as the number of people increased, there were basically no more vacancies. Do you want to turn the world upside down? How dare you say there are no vacancies without seeing the arrival of the Devil Star sect master? Before Xiao Qin could speak, a familiar voice sounded. This surprised Xiao Qin because he was too familiar with the owner of the voice. It was the smiling Mithria who had a grudge against him. However, Xiao Qin was also very puzzled. Why did the smiling Mithria speak up for him? The innkeeper was stunned. He looked at Xiao Qin strangely and then looked at the smiling Mithria. Isn't this the guy who chased after Xiao Qin? Why are the two of them together? It seems they are speaking up for Xiao Qin. However, who is the Devil Star sect master? This is the new Devil Star sect master, Xiao Qin Hero Xiao. How dare you say there are no vacancies? The smiling Mithria pointed at Xiao Qin and said to the innkeeper, Hurry up, find 2 superior rooms. Yes. The innkeeper actually reserved superior rooms for emergencies, but he would not use them usually. Now that he heard that Xiao Qin was the Devil Star sect master, he was suddenly surprised. However, it was not appropriate to ask. He could only say, Hero Xiao, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were the Devil Star sect master. I will help you prepare them. Please come with me. Xiao Qin nodded, but he was even more puzzled. This smiling Mithria really spoke up for me. What does he want? Following behind the shopkeeper, Xiao Chen's group went upstairs. As expected, the smiling Maitreya Buddha followed behind them. However, only the smiling Maitreya Buddha went upstairs alone. His disciple stayed downstairs. No one knew what he was up to. The innkeeper opened 2 very luxurious suites and said respectfully, "Hero Xiao, please." Xiao Chen nodded. He gestured for Yi Xiaoya and Qi Xiangmei to walk into one room, and he went to the other room with the smiling Maitreya. He believed that the smiling Maitreya must have something to talk to him about. Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiao Chen with some worry, but seeing that he insisted, she did not say much and went to the next room with her master. Xiao Chen did not believe that the smiling Maitreya would dare to do anything to him in the inn. That was purely courting death. At that time, the Quishan sect would not let him go. Although Xiao Chen was not a real sect master, at least he was chosen according to the rules of the Quishan sect. After entering the room, Xiao Chen took the initiative to close the door. Then he made a gesture to the smiling Maitreya and said lightly, "Smiling Maitreya, let's cut the crap. If you have something to say, just say it. I don't think there's any need for pleasantries between us. You threw me into the volcano, I still remember that. Hee, aren't you fine now?" The smiling Maitreya laughed, but he was puzzled. "Why didn't you die? How did you survive?" "I'm fine now because my injuries have healed and my strength has recovered. Otherwise, wouldn't I have died at the bottom of the volcano?" Xiao Chen said angrily, "Why don't you have any awareness at all? Hurry up and say it. Don't try to get close to me. It's useless." "Well, if that's the case, then I'll be honest. Xiao Chen, do you think you can do whatever you want just because you're the sect master? Are you not afraid of me?" The smiling Maitreya sneered and snorted. "Is there something wrong with you? Are your ears stuffed with chicken feathers? Can't you understand what I'm talking to you?" Xiao Chen frowned and said impatiently, "If you have nothing to say, please go back." "You?" The smiling Maitreya was furious. "Do you really think that you're very bad *SS? I'm telling you, once you're out of Wutan town, I can kill you in minutes." "Oh, my true strength is that of a great perfection demonic general. I'll recover soon. At that time, it's still uncertain who will be the one to die." Xiao Chen curled his lips and threatened. In any case, there was no tax on bragging. "What?" The smiling Maitreya was shocked after hearing it. If it were in the past, he definitely wouldn't believe such a shocking thing. Who would say that he was the Demon General Great Perfection at the 6th level of the Demon General Great Perfection? But he didn't dare to disbelieve Xiao Chen. In his opinion, Xiao Chen was only a demon master at the 4th or 5th level. In the blink of an eye, he became a demon general at the 6th level in less than a month. Don't say that this guy broke through within a month. The smiling Maitreya wouldn't believe it even if he was beaten to death. There was only one possibility. Xiao Chen originally had such strength, but his strength declined for some reason and didn't recover. Xiao Chen's words just now also confirmed this point. It was because Xiao Chen recovered his strength that he could fly out of the volcano. In this way, Xiao Chen might really be the Demon General Great Perfection. "Do you have anything to say?" Xiao Chen said angrily, "I'm telling you, you either kill me now or pretend to be bad *SS in front of me. Get lost. I'll find a way to kill you later. Let's stop joking." The smiling Maitreya finally looked at Xiao Chen and coughed twice. "Xiao Chen, I admit that you may be the Demon General Great Perfection, but so what? Do you think you can fight against our entire sect alone? Obviously not, right? Our sect has a higher level existence." "Then?" asked Xiao Chen. "Then you may run fast, but you have to consider your family, right? I've already investigated. You are from the secular Xiao family. Compared to our joyful clan, a small Xiao family, hee. The smiling Maitreya's tone was full of threat. Chapter 778. Are you done? What the hell do you want to say? Are you talking to me? Xiao Chen stood up and made a gesture to send the guest off. Please? No, you misunderstood. I'm just stating the facts. What I really want to say to you is, can you give me your flying magic weapon? Smiling Maitreya saw that Xiao Chen was really anxious, so he quickly said the purpose of this trip. He originally planned to rob the flying magic weapon with threats and promises, but seeing that Xiao Chen was so tough, and he heard that Xiao Chen was also at the level of Demon General Great Perfection, he immediately changed his strategy. Of course, don't get me wrong. I'm not talking about giving it to me for free, but in exchange. Hee. Xiao Chen smiled. In the end, you still have your eyes on my magic weapon. Exactly, Xiao Chen, I don't want to rob. If you have any conditions, you can put forward them. As long as I can satisfy them, I will find a way. Smiling Mithriya said. In fact, in the final analysis he was still threatening, but this method was more acceptable and it also made Xiaoqin look good. Sure enough, after he finished speaking, Xiaoqin fell into deep thought. He seemed to be thinking about this matter. In fact, Xiaoqin was also thinking about the pros and cons of this matter. To be honest, he didn't want to offend Smiling Mithriya, at least not now. He didn't dare to bet that Smiling Mithriya would really not do anything to the Xiao family. If they made a move, then Xiaoqin would regret it, but this matter couldn't be completely taken advantage of by Smiling Mithriya. This flying magic treasure of mine is not something that just anyone can control. It requires a strong will. Don't think that I could control it just because I was a demon master back then. That's because I was once a demon general at the great perfection stage. That's why I found a way to control it with my will. Even after I dropped a level, I was still able to control it, Xiaoqin said slowly. Oh, of course I understand this. The more advanced the magic weapon, the more difficult it is to control, but I am also at the level of demon general great perfection. I can do it, said Smiling Mithriya. But I'm afraid you can't, said Xiaoqin. Don't worry about that. If you're willing to give it to me, I'll think of a way myself. When the Smiling Mithriya heard Xiaoqin's words, it seemed that there was a way. However, Xiaoqin was obviously reluctant to leave and was making the last struggle. Alright, I need some medicinal herbs. If you can satisfy me, I'll trade with you. Xiaoqin seemed to have made a difficult decision as he gritted his teeth and said, Oh, tell me. The Smiling Mithriya was overjoyed. Elder Heaven Ancestor, I want to break through to the next stage of Foundation Establishment, the Golden Core stage. What herbs do I need? Xiaoqin asked Elder Heaven Ancestor. The Outer Star Ink meteorite in your hand is one of them. As for the rest, you just need to find something called the Everlasting Golden Pill Fruit, said the Elder Heaven Ancestor. I want the Myriad Golden Dan Fruit, Xiaoqin said. Oh, Myriad Golden Pill Fruit? What's that? The Smiling Mithriya was stunned as he had never heard of this medicinal herb. Xiaoqin was also stunned. No way, he has never heard of the Smiling Mithriya? He was about to ask Elder Heaven Ancestor when the Elder Heaven Ancestor said, It's not that I haven't heard of it, but this thing is not called this now. There are other names. How about you describe the appearance of this medicinal herb to him? As he spoke, the Elder Heaven Ancestor described the appearance of the Everlasting Golden Pill Fruit in Xiaoqin's ear, and Xiaoqin repeated it to the Smiling Mithriya. Isn't this the Everlasting King Fruit? A medicinal herb for breaking through to the Demon King realm? Are you really a Demon General Peak? You want to break through to the Demon King realm? The Smiling Mithriya suddenly looked at Xiaoqin in horror. Xiaoqin was also astonished. It turned out that the Myriad Golden Pill Fruit was also effective on demonic cultivators. However, he remained calm on the surface and said, That's right. What's wrong? Are you going to trade or not? Exchange, of course, exchange it. The Smiling Mithriya looked at Xiaoqin strangely. Although the Everlasting King Fruit was rare, it was not enough to exchange for a magic weapon. Moreover, it did not mean that as long as a Demon General Peak ate the Everlasting King Fruit they could break through. Some people ate 8 to 10 and still could not break through. Moreover, the Demon King who used this medicine to assist in breaking through could easily lose his mind in the moment of advancement, so generally speaking, no one would use it unless it was a last resort. The Smiling Mithriya was also a Demon General Peak 10th level cultivator for many years, but he did not dare to eat the Everlasting King Fruit. He was also afraid of losing his mind and dying. Oh, I'm not talking about one, don't get it wrong. Seeing that this guy agreed so quickly, Xiaoqin naturally began to demand an exorbitant price. Then how many do you want? The Smiling Mithriya was not angry. In his opinion, 1 for 1 was abnormal and Xiaoqin was reasonable. Otherwise, he would have thought that Xiaoqin was playing with him. 5. Xiaoqin said. 5 is not that many. The Smiling Mithriya said honestly, To be honest, your condition is not high. It can only be said to be an exchange. I only have 3, do you want to exchange? Can I not exchange? Xiaoqin said impatiently. It sounded as if he was admitting defeat. In fact, Xiaoqin's original intention was to exchange for 1. This was a good thing, unless he was stupid he would not exchange. Good, straightforward. Since that's the case, let's write off all the grudges from before. The Smiling Mithriya was straightforward. Seeing that Xiaoqin was so understanding, he did not want to make things difficult for him anymore. Okay, when do you want to exchange? Xiaoqin asked. This old man will call the sect and ask them to send an express delivery, said the Smiling Mithriya. Xiaoqin nodded and said, "Okay, I have been living here. I will exchange the goods at the same time. I will not send you off. This old man can go by himself." The smiling Mithria achieved his goal and did not stay. He got up and left Xiaoqian's room. He was very satisfied. Xiaoqian waited for the smiling Mithria to leave and was about to contact Yi Xiaoya. He did not expect her door to open. It turned out that Yi Xiaoya had been paying attention to Xiaoqian's side. When she heard the movement at the door, she immediately came out to see. He left. Yi Xiaoya walked into Xiaoqian's room, and Qi Xiangmei followed closely. She saw that there was no figure of the smiling Mithria in the room, and there was no trace of a fight. She could not help but be surprised and confused. He left. He came to exchange for my flying sword. Xiaoqian smiled and said, "He is not here to fight. You don't have to worry." "Then did you exchange with him?" asked Yi Xiaoya. "Yes, there is no need to offend him." Xiaoqian said faintly, "I have to change his appearance and I also exchanged what I want." "Xiaoqian, do you want to exchange for a flying magic weapon?" Previously Yi Xiaoya told Qi Xiangmei about her and Xiaoqian's previous adventures, so she naturally thought of a flying magic weapon. "Yes, that's it." Xiaoqian nodded. Qi Xiangmei was shocked when she heard that. She said, "Xiaoqian, this flying magic treasure is an important treasure in any martial arts sect. Why did you change it just like that?" "He threatened the secular Xiao family." Xiaoqian smiled bitterly and said, "What's more, I have a grudge against him. If I don't give him some benefits, will he let it go?" "The secular Xiao family?" Qi Xiangmei was slightly stunned and then said with some anger, "This smiling Mithria. He lied to you. We, the people of the martial arts world, are not allowed to intervene in the affairs of the secular world. This is the agreement with the Martial Arts World Guild. If we go to the secular world to kill people, won't it be a mess?" "There is such a saying?" Xiaoqian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It seemed that he was fooled by the smiling Mithria, but there was nothing wrong with it. Who asked him to not know? Moreover, Xiaoqian didn't feel that he was at a loss at all. The flying sword could not be used by others except him. It was a waste if he took it back. It was just a broken piece of art. It was really worth it to exchange for 10,000 crossing king. "Yes, so you were cheated. Think of a way to refuse it," Qi Xiangmei said. "No need. This flying magic weapon is not valuable. Just give it to him. Besides, I also need the things he exchanged for," Xiaoqian said indifferently. Well, you decide." Qi Xiangmei saw that Xiaoqian insisted, so she couldn't do anything. After all, Xiaoqian wasn't her real disciple. She could force Yi Xiaoya to do something, but she couldn't control Xiaoqian. Since Xiaoqian had already decided and she also reminded him, then how to choose was up to Xiaoqian himself. "Martial ant, you don't have to worry. It's really not a good thing." Xiaoqian said, "It's just a broken sword." "Since you said so, then I won't say it." Qi Xiangmei nodded. "Little Yi, you stay here. I'm going back." "Okay." Yi Xiaoya's face turned red. Although she was the saintess chosen by Xiaoqian and could be together with Xiaoqian, she was still a bit embarrassed, especially in front of her master. But seeing Qi Xiangmei's expressionless face, she felt relieved. After her master left, Yi Xiaoya said, "What did that smiling Mithria want from you?" "He used 10,000 crossing king fruits to exchange for my flying sword." Xiaoqian said. 10,000 crossing king fruit? That's really a good thing. But if you really want to exchange it for a flying sword, it's not worth it." Yi Xiaoya was surprised and said, "Oh right, you said that your flying sword is not valuable, what?" "This flying sword is a handicraft sword. I made it myself. It's not valuable at all. Give it to him and I'll make another one." Xiaoqian took out the flying sword and handed it to Yi Xiaoya. "Then can he find out and not exchange with you?" Yi Xiaoya said. "Probably not." Xiaoqian smiled and said, "Let's not care about him. Do you still want to dual cultivate?" "There's no spiritual energy here. How can we dual cultivate? If you want to do it, just say it. You don't have to be so dignified and add the reason of cultivation." Yi Xiaoya rolled her eyes at Xiaoqian. "What nonsense. I really want to dual cultivate with you. Since you don't want it, then let's just do that." Xiaoqian sighed. Then let's dual cultivate," Yi Xiaoya quickly said. The night was uneventful. Early the next morning there was a hurried knock on the door. Without guessing, it must be the smiling Mithria. Chapter 779. "Who is it? Are you seeking death so early in the morning?" Xiaoqian said impatiently. He could not even rest for a while. Aha, young hero Xiaoqin, it's me, the smiling Mithriya. Indeed, the smiling Mithriya's voice came from outside the door. Oh, are you done? Xiaoqin walked over and opened the door. I have never seen you so impatient. Did you bring the item? Yes, I brought it. The smiling Mithriya nodded quickly. He was afraid that Xiaoqin would not exchange with him. He stuffed a small box into Xiaoqin's hands and was about to enter the house. Stop. My wife is sleeping inside. What are you doing? Xiaoqin stopped the smiling Mithriya. Aren't you going to exchange with me? Are we not going to do it in the house? The smiling Mithriya asked as he rubbed his hands. Of course we can do it anywhere. Let's go to the backyard. There are not many people there, Xiaoqin said. All right, we will do it wherever you say. Xiaoqin had already agreed to the exchange. The smiling Mithriya was afraid of complications, so he agreed to whatever Xiaoqin said. He followed Xiaoqin downstairs and arrived at the backyard of the inn. There was indeed no one there early in the morning. The Flying Star Divine Sword is here. Check it. As Xiaoqin spoke, he pulled out the flying sword from his waist and handed it to the smiling Mithriya. All right, all right. The smiling Mithriya carefully received the flying sword and studied it. As for Xiaoqin, he opened the wooden box and started to examine the 10,000 crossing monarch fruits. They were exactly as the Elder Heaven Ancestor had described yesterday, giving off a fragrance and abundant spiritual energy. Xiaoqin was very satisfied with the item. Now it was up to the smiling Mithriya. However, it was about the same as the 3 joyous sect disciples. When the smiling Mithriya saw the words, "Made by the Winter Seal Handicraft Factory," on the sword hilt, he immediately flew into a rage. Xiaoqin, you lied to me? This is not a Flying Star legendary sword at all. It's obviously a piece of garbage that was bought on the street. Why do you say that? Xiaoqin pretended to be surprised. If you don't want to exchange, then don't exchange. Is there a need to use a fake to fool me? I didn't expect the dignified demon sect master of the outer martial arts world to be a swindler. The smiling Mithriya sneered. If you don't want to do it and want to go back on your words, just say it. Don't blame others. Xiaoqin snatched the flying sword angrily, and then shoved the wooden box with the myriad monarch fruit to the smiling Mithriya. I'm leaving if you don't want it. You want to act shamelessly. Smiling Mithriya was very angry. It was obviously Xiaoqin who acted shamelessly. Why did he blame him? However, Xiaoqin ignored him and directly threw the flying sword under his feet. He stepped on it and instantly took off, flying towards the inn where Xiaoqin was. Ah! The smiling Mithriya's eyes widened. What was going on? It can't be, right? Was this really the Flying Star Sword? Why did it say, "Made by the Winter Seal Arts and Crafts Factory"? He watched Xiaoqin use the Flying Star Sword in front of him. No matter how stupid he was, he knew that the sword was a real flying magic weapon. Xiaoqin didn't lie to him. At that moment he understood why Xiaoqin was so angry. He took out the real thing, but he insisted that it was a fake. Wouldn't he be angry and refuse to exchange? He probably didn't want to exchange it. Thinking of this, the smiling Mithriya was very regretful. Xiaoqin could fly, but he couldn't. He could only run back to the inn quickly. He went upstairs and came to the door of Xiaoqin's room again. He carefully knocked on the door. Who is it? Xiaoqin's bored voice came from inside. Hero Xiaoqin, I'm the smiling Mithriya. I offended you just now. I shouldn't have doubted you. The smiling Mithriya smiled shamelessly. Oh, is there anything else? Let's forget about what happened just now. I want to rest, said Xiaoqin. Aren't we going to continue the exchange? The smiling Mithriya was shocked. It seemed that Xiaoqin didn't plan to exchange. That wouldn't do, so he quickly said, Xiaoqin, I was just testing you. It's not that I don't want to exchange. Oh, but I don't want to exchange now. Xiaoqin said slowly, is there anything else? But this. The smiling Mithriya hated himself. Why didn't I let Xiaoqin demonstrate just now? It was a normal request to have him demonstrate, but I questioned Xiaoqin. Now he didn't want to exchange. Are you done? Xiaoqin said impatiently. In this case, Hero Xiaoqin, can I increase the money to exchange? What else do you want? Say it. I was wrong just now. I'm very sincere. The smiling Mithriya had no choice but to say so. Increase the money? After Xiaoqin heard it, his heart moved. He just wanted to teach the smiling Mithriya a lesson. It was impossible not to exchange, so it was about time to stop. He walked over and opened the door. He said, Okay, seeing that you are so sincere, I reluctantly agree, but why do you want to increase the money? You say it. When the smiling Mithriya saw Xiaoqin open the door, he suddenly breathed a sigh of relief. He didn't know what Xiaochen was thinking. He thought that Xiaochen didn't want to exchange just now. If that was the case, he really couldn't do anything to Xiaochen. He was a person who cared about his face. If it was said that he took the initiative to give up the exchange, what did it have to do with Xiaochen? At that time he really couldn't use this as a reason to deal with Xiaochen. Even if there were other reasons to deal with him, others would definitely think that he was taking revenge. I want Spirit Jade. Do you have it? Asked Xiaochen. Spiritual Jade's not money. After the smiling Mithraea heard it, he suddenly frowned and said, "This is not easy to deal with. I have to go back and discuss it. How much Spirit Jade do you want? How much can you take out?" asked Xiaochen. The smiling Mithraea was a little speechless. This was obviously asking him to state a price. It was not worthwhile for him to state a higher price. If it was less, he was afraid that Xiaochen would not agree. He thought about it and could only say, maybe only 10 or 20 yuan. I have to discuss it with the big brother and give you an answer. I'm not in a hurry. Xiaochen closed the door directly. The smiling Mithraea could only go back to the room where the joyous clan was. At this time the old Taoist Yanlong and the big brother were already waiting in the room. When they saw the smiling Mithraea coming, they quickly asked, "Did you get the thing?" "AI, don't mention it." The smiling Mithraea sighed and waved his hand, looking depressed. "Why, that kid played with you and you regret it." The big brother's eyes were fierce and he got up to find Xiaochen to settle accounts. Don't think that he can go back on his words just because he is the master of the demon clan. Wait. The smiling Mithraea was shocked and quickly stopped him. "No, big brother, don't be anxious. Listen to me." "Oh? Tell me what's going on." The big brother asked with a gloomy face. "It's me." The smiling Mithraea said that he suspected Xiaochen, which led to Xiaochen not wanting to exchange. He did not dare to lie in front of the big brother, and he did not dare to add fuel to the fire. "You." The big brother did not know what to say after hearing it. After a long time he said, "You are purely looking for trouble and asking for trouble. He wants the spiritual jade. I guess the Devil Star sect wants it to please the people in the martial arts world." "Yes, so I did not dare to agree. Big brother, you see." The smiling Mithraea knew that he was in trouble, so he was careful. "Give him 20. We have already accumulated a lot. It doesn't matter if we give him 20. The big brother said helplessly, "In comparison, the flying magic treasure is more useful. I hope you don't cause unnecessary trouble." "Yes." The smiling Mithraea immediately breathed a sigh of relief and nodded. Xiaochen did not expect the smiling Mithraea to come back immediately. Even if he used the spiritual jade to exchange, it would at least be tomorrow. Xiaochen now had time, so he planned to study the wooden box that he took back from under the stone bed. Carefully opening the wooden box, Xiaochen was always on guard against any strange things coming out, but obviously there was none. In the wooden box, there was only an antique ancient sword. Xiaochen exclaimed in surprise and asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor, "What is this? Is it the flying sword of the cultivator who took over the body?" "It seems to be, but there is a fire attribute on it. You need to refine it yourself before you can use it." The Elder Heaven Ancestor said, "The refining process should be more troublesome than the last time, but you are now a cultivator at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. There should be no problem." "I'm going out to buy materials." Xiaochen put away the ancient sword and said to Yi Xiaoye, "Let's go out for a while." "What for? Also, why is there a sword in your box? Do you want to turn this sword into a new flying sword?" Yi Xiaoye guessed something. "Exactly." Xiaochen nodded. "If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. This sentence really makes sense." "What? Do you want to replace me?" Yi Xiaoye glared at Xiaochen. "People and things are different." Xiaochen said with a smile, "People need the old and the new. You're quite a playboy." Yi Xiaoye got out of the bed, put on her clothes and went out of the room with Xiaochen. They went to the market of Wutan Town. At this moment, Wutan Town had restored the order of the past. Many of the sects that came to participate in the Demon Gate Conference had evacuated. Demonic cultivators with low cultivation could be seen on the streets. The materials that Xiaochen needed to refine the flying sword weren't too special because the flying sword itself had already been refined. Xiaochen only needed to refine it into something that he could use. He didn't need to refine it completely. This trip cost them tens of thousands of yuan, and even Xiaochen found it unbelievably cheap. Yi Xiaoye, on the other hand, bought some materials to consolidate her cultivation, which were more expensive. She just casually bought a few kinds of herbs and they cost a few million yuan. You can get some seeds for these things. We can plant them ourselves when we go back. Xiaoqin said. That's true. We should save whenever we can. Yi Xiaoya nodded. But I just broke through the 3rd level of Demon Master not long ago, and you made me reach the peak last night. Although it's very cool, I have to consolidate it. Xiaoqin listened to Yi Xiaoya's words. Although he knew that she was talking about the peak of the 3rd level of Demon Master, he still felt a little awkward. Hey, what are you doing? Why are you looking at me strangely? Yi Xiaoya was a little uncomfortable. Chapter 780. It's nothing. Let's go back and continue our dual cultivation. Xiaoqin said. After buying things, he didn't plan to shop anymore. Ah, still cultivating? No, I can't stand it. I'm leveling up too fast. Yi Xiaoya shook her head again and again. I haven't consolidated it yet. I'm afraid there will be problems in the future. Oh, actually, without the original environment, you won't be able to level up so fast. Yesterday you reached the peak of the 3rd layer because you were about to reach it. Xiaoqin said. Besides, the dual cultivation I mentioned was what we did yesterday. Humph. Yi Xiaoya was happy in her heart. She didn't show anything on the surface. In fact, she was very happy. Xiaoqin was infatuated with her, which proved that she was charming. After returning, Xiaoqin didn't really find Yi Xiaoya for dual cultivation in broad daylight. She was brewing medicine to consolidate her strength, and Xiaoqin was preparing to refine the flying sword. The two of them were busy until it was dark in the evening. Only then did they finish it. However, both of them were exhausted and fell asleep in each other's arms. The next morning, as Xiaoqin expected, there was a rush of knocking on the door. Are you done? You don't have a memory after being scolded yesterday. Xiaoqin said angrily. Ha, hero Xiaoqin, sleeping early and getting up early is good for your health. We cultivators have to develop good habits. Smiling Mithriya laughed. Xiaoqin opened the door and saw Smiling Mithriya holding the box from yesterday. There was also a bag in his hand. Obviously it was filled with spirit jades. You brought it? That's pretty fast. Yeah, I'm exchanging things. Of course I have to be fast. How can I let others worry about me? Smiling Mithriya said very actively. Hee hee. Xiaoqin smiled and didn't say anything. He just took the spirit jades and the 10,000 crossing king fruit and looked at them. He threw them in the room and didn't bring them down. Then he said, Are you sure you won't regret it this time? I'm sure. Smiling Mithriya nodded. Then let's go. Xiaoqin led the way and Smiling Mithriya followed behind. They still came to the inn's backyard yesterday. Xiaoqin pulled out the flying sword and gave it to Smiling Mithriya. Look carefully. Is there any problem? I won't be responsible. Okay. The Smiling Mithriya carefully received it and examined it carefully. His intuition told him that this was the flying star sword from yesterday. However, he still said cautiously, Young hero Xiaoqin, I have examined it. There is no problem with it. However, can you please test it? Okay, but can you try it? Xiaoqin caught the flying sword and casually tossed it aside. He stepped onto it and the flying sword slowly flew up. After it circled around in the air, it landed and said, Have you seen it? Watch carefully. But can I stand on it and you help me fly it? Although the Smiling Mithriya felt that there should be no problem, he was still afraid that Xiaoqin might be hiding something like a small aircraft on him. Why are you so troublesome? If I'm not on it and you're the only one on it, you won't be able to control it well. You'll also waste your mental power. Xiaoqin said unwillingly. Look, hero Xiaoqin, please fulfill my wish. Otherwise, after I go back, I might not be able to figure it out. Why don't you let me enjoy it in advance? The Smiling Mithriya said with a smile. Okay. Xiaoqin walked to the side unhappily and gestured for Smiling Mithriya to go up. Smiling Mithriya hurriedly stood on the flying sword. Then he felt his body become light. He flew into the air. Hey? It's really flying? Smiling Mithriya was shocked and happy. He was sure that it was real. He was afraid that Xiaoqin would make a fake to trick him. Don't move. Xiaoqin warned loudly, but just as he finished speaking, the flying sword began to sway, and the Smiling Mithriya fell head first to the ground with a thud. The flying sword also slapped the back of his head with a pah sound. Smiling Mithriya screamed. I told you not to move. I can't control it if you stand on the flying star divine sword. I'm not the one standing on it. Xiaoqin said angrily, I don't care. Go and study it yourself. Oh, it's okay. It's none of your business. Hero Xiaoqin, it's me who didn't grasp the balance. Smiling Mithraea was happy. As long as the Flying Star Divine Sword was real, everything would be fine. As for the other things, he didn't care about falling to his death. Then I'm leaving. You study it yourself. Xiaoqin was ready to turn around and leave. Have you seen it? Yes. Smiling Mithraea said quickly. Okay, goodbye. Xiaoqin left directly. The matter in Wutan town was over, and Xiaoqin had to go back to report. The purpose of destroying the Demon Gate Conference had been achieved. However, this time when Xiaoqin went back, he didn't plan to use Yang Jiannan's identity anymore. He wanted to restore his original identity. Firstly, his contribution was enough to make up for the mistake of killing Yang Jiannan. Secondly, and most importantly, he was now a cultivator at the peak of the 10th level of the Foundation Establishment realm. Although his strength seemed to be at the first or second level of the Demon General, the higher the level of the cultivator, the greater the gap between him and a cultivator. Previously, there might only be a slight difference in strength, and the level system wasn't too obvious. For example, Xiaoqin was 3 and a cultivator was 2. Then Xiaoqin was 5, and a cultivator was 3. Xiaoqin was 7 and a cultivator was 4. This difference in magnitude wasn't very obvious at the beginning, but once it got to the later stage it would obviously become a lot bigger. This was also why the strength that Xiaoqin displayed was similar to that of a 6th level demon general. This kind of strength was probably the best in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Who would dare to do anything to Xiaoqin? Back in the room, Xiaoqin told Yi Xiaoya about his thoughts. Seeing that she was going to be separated from Xiaoqin again, Yi Xiaoya was a little reluctant. This was different from before. In the past, the two of them were just pure dual cultivation and had no other relationship. But now it was different. Yi Xiaoya really didn't want to be separated from Xiaoqin. Where are you going? How long will you be gone? Can you not go? I'm going to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. After that, I have to investigate my father's matter. I will come back to Songning to see you often, said Xiaoqin. Oh, then I will go back to the sect for a while. Yi Xiaoya sighed and said, with my current strength, the effect of staying in the secular world to cultivate is already very small. If you miss me, go to the Devil Star sect to find me. Okay, no problem. Xiaoqin nodded. Let's dual cultivate again? Yi Xiaoya looked at Xiaoqin. Her eyes were affectionate, blurred, and reluctant. Is it dual cultivation or something else? Xiaoqin couldn't help but smirk after listening. What do you think? Yi Xiaoya glared at Xiaoqin. There is no progress in cultivating now, idiot. That night, Xiaoqin and Yi Xiaoya said goodbye. Qi Xiangmei took her back to the Devil Star sect. Although Xiaoqin was a registered disciple of the Devil Star sect, it was a great thing for the Devil Star sect in any case. Qi Xiangmei went back to plan. Although the Quishan sect didn't want to recognize Xiaoqin as the leader of the Devil Star sect, no matter what, the leader had already been born. They couldn't deny it. Therefore, she must go back and use this matter to expand the influence of the sect. Xiaoqin didn't use the new flying sword. Firstly, the car was here. Secondly, he was afraid that someone would see it. Although he used another flying sword, it couldn't be seen clearly from afar. If the smiling Mithraea heard it, it would seem that he gave him a fake one. Even if it wasn't fake, it proved that he had a lot of such things. Then it would be worthless. As for the 10,000 Crossing King fruit, Yi Xiaoya didn't need it, so she didn't take it. Moreover, even if it was time to break through to the Devil King, not many people would choose to eat it. Song Billion came to Wutan town with the help of the Song family. However, he was only a spectator and wasn't qualified to go on stage to challenge. In a place like this where the members of the Devil Star sect were everywhere, he didn't have the chance to cause trouble even if he wanted to. Therefore, he left after Xiaoqin won. However, he was puzzled. How was Xiaoqin so powerful? How was this possible? This guy didn't seem so powerful when he pretended to be Yang Jiannan. If he was this powerful earlier, he would have killed Yang Jiannan and wouldn't have to go against him now. As Song Billion left 2 days earlier, he arrived at the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. At the moment, Ling Tian was presiding over a meeting in the conference room. Deputy Bureau Chief Song, you mean that you tried your best, but there was no possibility of stopping it, right? Ling Tian nodded and asked after listening to Song Billion's brief report. In fact, this was also within his expectations. Destroying something was easier said than done, but it was harder than ascending to the heavens. Yes, at least I went and tried to think of a way. However, some people probably went to have fun, right? I didn't even see them and I don't know where they went. The Devil Star conference is already over, but they didn't come back. Song Billion said sinisterly. Song Billion, what do you mean? Xia Zhili was furious. Hee, I believe everyone here can tell what I mean. Do I have to make it so obvious? Song Billion looked at Xia Zhili mockingly. Speak clearly. Don't scold me indirectly. Xia Zhili slammed the table and scolded. All right, this is what you want me to say. Song Billion sneered. We agreed to let Yang Jianan do this mission, but where is he? Where did he go? How do you know he didn't go? Xia Zhili asked. I went and I didn't see him. Doesn't that mean he didn't go? Song Billion said matter-of-factly. Bullsh asterisk T. That means Deputy Bureau Chief Yang didn't see you. Doesn't that mean you didn't go? Xia Zhili said angrily. He stared at Song Billion with his eyes wide open. What kind of Bullsh asterisk T logic is this? So, all of this is based on your imagination and guesses? I'd say you're blind. What did you say? You're the blind one. Song Billion stood up and pointed at Xia Zhili. Let me tell you, Xia Zhili. There's a limit to how much you can protect Yang Jianan. Chapter 781. Alright, stop arguing. Ling Tian felt a headache coming on. These two subordinates were really strange, but he couldn't do anything to them. One was sent by the Song family, so he couldn't afford to offend them. The other was a veteran of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, so he couldn't say anything. He could only say, Deputy Bureau Chief Song, if you have evidence, show us. You know that we need evidence here. It's not like you can do whatever you want. The evidence is simple. Song Billion decided to throw out a bomb. Do you know who obtained the title of Demon Sect Leader in the end? Why are you saying all this? Xia Zhili frowned. No matter who became the Demon Sect Leader, it wasn't a good thing. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau would definitely be pressured if they interfered in the future. The Demon Sect Leader is actually Xiao Chen. Aha, you guys are surprised, right? Song Billion suddenly laughed out loud. What? Xiao Chen? Xia Zhili was stunned for a moment, then he was overjoyed. However, on the surface he said, Did you pee in your head? Doesn't Xiao Chen have a grudge against you? When he becomes the Demon Sect Leader, the first person he will kill is you, you fool. If he dares. Let's not talk about whether he can find this place. Even if he does, what can he do to me? Yang Jianan will kill him first. Song Billion curled his lips and said, What I want to say is, the grudge between Xiao Chen and Yang Jianan is even bigger. With such a strong enemy in front of him, Yang Jianan didn't even let out a fart? Is that possible? Is it realistic? Even if he doesn't appear, he should at least send a message to the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, right? Therefore, I can confirm that Xiao Chen didn't appear at the Demon Sect conference. Who says I can't find this place? An indifferent voice sounded. Then the door of the conference room was pushed open. Xiao Chen walked in arrogantly. Xia Zhili, did you pee in your head? I don't dare to do anything to you? Come get up. Let's see if I dare to do anything to you. You? Xiao Chen. Why are you here? Who let you in? How did you get in? Song Billion was startled. He stood up from his chair with a whoosh, and looked at Xiao Chen with an incredulous expression. Why can't I come? Don't I always come here? Have you forgotten me so quickly? Xiao Chen walked into the conference room and sat down on the seat that belonged to Yang Jianan. He said calmly, Deputy Director Ling, I've completed the task I took before. Fortunately, I didn't fail my mission and successfully destroyed the Demon Gates event because I robbed the leader of the Demon Gate. The reason why Xiao Chen could come in was that he had transformed into Yang Jianan, so no one questioned him. He just returned to his original appearance at the door of the conference room. What? You? Ling Tian was also a little confused as he looked at Xiao Chen with a strange expression. Xia Zhili, on the other hand, was shocked. Although he knew that Xiao Chen was Yang Jianan, he was still shocked that Xiao Chen appeared in his original appearance. However, he didn't say anything. He didn't know what Xiao Chen was planning, so he decided to act according to the situation later. Haha, everyone doesn't recognize me? I'm Yang Jianan. Xiao Chen said calmly, Oh, right, I forgot to introduce myself. Actually, the Yang Jianan from before has always been me. The real Yang Jianan was killed by me a long time ago. You. Ling Tian was a little shocked. He didn't think that Xiao Chen would dare to say it in front of everyone. Was he not afraid? Alright, Xiao Chen, since you've admitted it, don't blame me for being impolite. Song Billion exploded on the spot and sent a palm towards Xiao Chen. He wanted to make use of this opportunity to get rid of Xiao Chen. Furthermore, no one would say anything about it. Since Xiao Qin admitted to killing Yang Jianan, then he would be taking revenge for Yang Jianan. Regardless of whether the Yang Jianan from before was Xiao Qin or not, as long as he got rid of Xiao Qin now, Xia Zhili would be alone in the future. At that time, how would Xia Zhili be able to go against him? From Xia Zhili's silent attitude, he could tell that Xia Zhili probably already knew about this matter. At first, he was still wondering why Yang Jianan and Xia Zhili had a falling out and suddenly reconciled. So it turned out that Xiao Qin had replaced Yang Jianan. No wonder. As for Xiao Qin's true strength, Song Bilian wasn't clear. He didn't go to watch the Devil Gate Grand Meeting. After watching the first day of the competition, he knew that it was impossible to destroy it, so he went back to the inn to sleep. After that, he heard that Xiao Qin won the championship with Devil Star Sect's Xiao Qin. Although he was shocked that Xiao Qin's strength was so high, now that he knew that Xiao Qin was the previous Yang Jianan, he was more confident in his heart. Wasn't Yang Jianan just at the first level of Devil General? Then he was still confident that he could catch him off guard and get rid of him. Thinking of this, Song Bilian suddenly made a move. Pa! Xiao Qin slapped Song Bilian's face, directly sending him flying. He crashed heavily into the wall behind the conference room, smashing a big hole in the wall. And Xiao Qin's strength, which was equivalent to the 6th level of Devil General, was completely revealed at this moment. 6th level Devil General. Song Bilian spat out a mouthful of blood. After a long time he finally said these 4 words in a panic. Xia Zhili was also shocked. He hadn't seen Xiao Qin for a short month. How did Xiao Qin suddenly become a 6th level Devil General? What was going on? He remembered that Xiao Qin's strength was inferior to Yang Jianan's. Previously, his 1st level Devil General strength was only obtained by borrowing Yang Jianan's fame. Now that Xiao Qin revealed such a move, even he was shocked. Of course, the one who was the most shocked was Ling Tian. Originally he was thinking about how to punish Xiao Qin. But now he was thinking about how to appease Xiao Qin and let Xiao Qin stay in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. 6th level Devil General, the identity of Devil Star Sect's disciple, and most importantly, the identity of the Devil Sect's sect leader. These made Ling Tian have no choice but to be cautious. He couldn't use normal rules to restrict Xiao Qin. Do you think I dare to touch you? Xiao Qin stood up and walked towards Song Bilian with a smile that wasn't a smile. Old thing, you still dare to sneak and attack? You're pretty strong, huh? Come, sneak and attack on me again? How is this possible? Yang Jianan was clearly a 1st level Devil General previously. Song Bilian roared in disbelief. Are you stupid? He's a 1st level Devil General, but I can kill him. What level do you think I am? Do you have any logic in your head? Xiao Qin looked at Song Bilian with a smile. I think I'll kill you today. Otherwise, with your intelligence, there's no point in living anymore. Song Bilian felt sullen, but there was nothing he could do. He didn't even dare to argue with Xiao Qin. He was afraid that if Xiao Qin was unhappy he would kill him. In this conference room, no one could stop Xiao Qin. Not even Ling Tian. Cough cough. But, Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, don't be rash. We're in the middle of a meeting. Let's put aside our internal conflicts for now. Ling Tian thought for a while and slowly spoke up. Since he called Xiao Qin Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao and not Deputy Bureau Chief Yang, it meant that as the Executive Deputy Bureau Chief, he had set the tone for this matter. He had acknowledged Xiao Qin's legal status as the Deputy Bureau Chief. Although there was a possibility that the higher-ups would blame him after this, he had already made a promise. This matter was basically a foregone conclusion. Furthermore, during this period of time, Ling Tian had already received hints from the higher-ups. He knew why the higher-ups wanted him to delay his retirement. It wasn't entirely because of the Devil Sect conference, nor was it to obstruct Xia Zhili's promotion. The real reason, he would explain it later during the meeting. Oh. Xiao Qin pondered for a moment and looked at Ling Tian with a strange expression. He left his back to Song Bilian, but no matter how stupid Song Bilian was, he wouldn't dare to launch a sneak attack. The difference between him and Xiao Qin wasn't on the same level. If he dared to make a move, he believed that Xiao Qin would be able to kill him in a matter of seconds. Since we've already ruined the Devil Sect conference, this is a good thing. Let's hurry up and discuss what to do next. Ling Tian said, Deputy Bureau Chief Song, I hope that you can conduct yourself with dignity. Don't speak recklessly. Yes. Song Bilian climbed up gloomily. He knew that he had managed to escape a calamity. If Ling Tian didn't directly acknowledge Xiao Qin's status as the Deputy Bureau Chief, that Xiao Qin might have really exploded and killed him. Now that Xiao Chen had a status, he couldn't casually harm his colleagues. Even if he was not willing to let Xiao Chen take the position rightfully, he knew that his words were like a fart. No one would listen to him at all. If he did not handle it well, Xiao Chen's life would be in danger. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, does this mean that you're the leader of the Devil Sect now? What plans does the Devil Sect have in the future? Ling Tian looked at Xiao Chen and went straight to the main topic. It was as if nothing had happened. Because my appearance was rather sudden, the Devil Sect's original leader was Ma Qingting from the Kueishan sect. However, I injured her and forced her to step down. They had no choice but to acknowledge me. Xiao Chen said, I'm afraid that it's only in name now. However, this way it's impossible for the Devil Sect to form an alliance. I see. However, this is already not bad. I didn't think that it would actually work. Ling Tian nodded and said, all right, this matter has come to an end. In the future, Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao will be in charge of contacting and handling the matters of the Devil Sect. The matters of the Devil Sect had always been handled by Song Bilian, the Deputy Bureau Chief. Now it was handed over to Xiao Chen. What did this mean? Could it be that Ling Tian was willing to do this? Or was it because he had no other choice? Or was it to pave the way for Xia Zhili's promotion? Was he handing over a portion of the authority to Xia Zhili's people and gradually supporting Xia Zhili? Alright, no problem. Xiao Chen nodded and didn't reject. After all, he was still the leader of the Devil Sect in name. It was better for him to be in charge than someone else. Chapter 782. Next, I want to talk about something more important. Ling Tian said, everyone here knows that other than Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, everyone here is an old member of the Supernatural Investigation Department. The old bureau chief was injured in the past, and because of his old age, his injuries have flared up again. He has been unable to manage the affairs of the department normally. Recently, his injuries have worsened, so the higher-ups have decided that I will temporarily take over the position of the bureau chief. As for the position of Deputy Bureau Chief, initially I wanted to let Deputy Bureau Chief Xia Zhili take over, but now Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao is obviously stronger than Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. In actuality, Ling Tian's words were partly to break up the relationship between Xiao Chen and Xia Zhili. If they were too close, it would be detrimental to his future management. Previously, Xiao Chen might have had to work with Xia Zhili because of his identity, but now that his identity had been made public, there was no need for him to continue working with Xia Zhili. Thus he decided to promote Xiao Chen. This way, with Xia Zhili and Song Bilian holding him back, it wouldn't cause any trouble for him. Previously, when he handed over the matters of the demon sect to Xiao Chen, it was just that at that time no one had thought it through. However, now both Xia Zhili and Song Bilian understood. What do you all think? After Ling Tian finished speaking, he asked with a smile. I agree. Song Bilian was the first to jump out and express his support. Whether it was to repair his relationship with Xiao Chen or to deal with Xia Zhili, he would always be the first to express his support. I abstain. Deputy Bureau Chief Zhang would always abstain. After all, this didn't have much to do with him, so there was no need to offend him. Also agree. Xia Zhili hesitated for a moment. His expression was a little complicated, but he still nodded his head in agreement. He looked at Xiao Chen and thought about the things that Xiao Chen had helped him find. He felt that he shouldn't hold up Xiao Chen because of his desire for power. Xia Zhili's reply surprised both Song Bilian and Ling Tian. Why did Xia Zhili agree? Xiao Chen was not surprised by Song Bilian's approval. Regardless of whether he wanted to attack Xia Zhili or express goodwill to Xiao Chen, it was understandable. However, Xia Zhili's answer was a little strange. Xiao Chen glanced at Xia Zhili and saw that the other party nodded at him. Xiao Chen was touched. It seemed that Xia Zhili was truly grateful to him, and it wasn't just because of benefits. Thinking of this, Xiao Chen slowly said, Deputy Bureau Chief Ling, or should I say Bureau Chief Ling, I think it's better to let Deputy Bureau Chief Xia Zhili be the Executive Deputy Bureau Chief. Oh. Ling Tian was slightly taken aback, his eyes narrowing as he looked at Xiao Chen curiously. What do you mean? First of all, I don't have much time to work here. I still have my own things to do. I have to go to school, pick up girls, find my dad, and so on. Anyway, I'm quite busy. I definitely can't put all my energy here. Xiao Chen smiled. Also, I don't like to be tied down, nor do I want to manage so many things. However, I will definitely support Deputy Bureau Chief Xia in his work. Probably only Xiao Chen would dare to speak to Ling Tian like this. He actually dared to say that he wanted to pick up girls. However, with Xiao Chen's current strength, he did indeed have the qualifications to say such things. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, have you thought about it? Ling Tian could already tell that Xiao Chen was not trying to reject him. Giving so many reasons, it was obvious that he wanted to reject him. I thought about it. Xiao Chen nodded. I'm actually really not suitable. Alright, since that's the case, I won't force you. Ling Tian nodded. He didn't dare to blame Xiao Chen for this matter because the Supernatural Investigation Department still needed to rely on Xiao Chen in the future. How could he offend Xiao Chen over such a small matter? And what do you think of Deputy Bureau Chief Xia? Xiao Chen asked. Originally, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia was the candidate. However, after seeing your strength and achievements today, I made this decision on the spot. I hope you don't mind. Ling Tian smiled. Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, I hope that you can contribute to the Supernatural Investigation Department in the future. Your strength is enough to make us proud. I won't restrict you as long as there's a mission that you can help us with. That's what I should do. Xiao Chen said seriously. Actually, this isn't for the Supernatural Investigation Department. It's because Deputy Bureau Chief Xia helped me in the past. So, as long as Deputy Bureau Chief Xia is here, I will also stay here to help. Although saying this might seem like I'm not putting you in my eyes, what I said is the truth. It's nothing. I'm not that petty. Ling Tian laughed. With Xiao Chen's strength, nothing could be said. Xia Zhili's eyes became a little wet. He didn't think that Xiao Chen would say such a thing. He immediately felt a little ashamed of his previous hesitation. Although he had agreed to Ling Tian's suggestion for Xiao Chen to be the deputy bureau chief, he didn't feel very comfortable in his heart. At this moment, he knew that he had gauged the heart of a gentleman with his own mean measure. Xiao Chen wasn't an ungrateful person. He was different from that traitor Yang Jianan. Xiao Chen was loyal and righteous. Just based on those simple words from Xiao Chen, he, Xia Zhili, was able to secure his position as the deputy bureau chief. With the support of a sixth-layer demon general who would dare to oppose him. Especially someone like Xiao Chen who didn't follow the rules. Didn't he see how Song Billion was sent flying by Xiao Chen? Deputy Bureau Chief Xiao, don't worry. If there's anything in the future, we'll discuss it. Xia Zhili hurriedly said. If there's anything else, then I'll be annoyed to death. If you have a problem that you can't solve, then look for me. If it's a small matter, you know? Xiao Chen laughed. Okay, then I won't act pretentious. Bureau Chief Ling, don't worry, I'll do my best. Xia Zhili said. Okay, then this matter is settled. I'll report to the higher-ups after the meeting. Ling Tian nodded and ended the meeting. Song Billion walked out of the meeting room with a gloomy face. Xia Zhili and Xiao Chen, on the other hand, were chatting happily. The two of them walked to the office before Xia Zhili said, You came in like this today and gave me a fright. I didn't expect your strength to be so terrifying. Xiao Chen was instantly amused. It's not that exaggerated. I'm just a sixth-layer demon general. There's nothing in the outside world. That's right. You've already set your sights on the outer world. Xia Zhili sighed. But it's fine now. Your identity has been exposed, so you don't have to go through the trouble of hiding it anymore. With your current strength, the previous problem is no longer a problem. Ling Tian really has a good plan. Roping you in, the overall strength of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau will definitely increase a lot in the future. Didn't I say it already? It's for you, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia. Xiao Chen laughed. Xiao Chen, I really didn't expect you to give me so much face. I, Xia Zhili, have no regrets in this life to have a good friend like you. Xia Zhili sighed. Xiao Chen, you're a good person. In the future, help me take care of Xia Shibin. He can be considered to be the heir of my Xia family. Although our relationship isn't as close as ours, he's still my godson. I'll take care of him. Xiao Chen nodded. And where are you going next? Xia Zhili asked. I plan to go back to Songning and take a look at my home. Then I'll leave for the outside world. With the identity of the demon sect's leader and name, it'll be much easier to investigate some things. I want to investigate my father's matter. Xiao Chen said. Okay, then go. I'll look for you if there's anything here. Xia Zhili said. If you encounter anything in the outside world, you can look for Vice President Yen to coordinate. He and I are old friends. You know that too. Okay, I'll remember. Xiao Chen replied. Outside world, Quishan sect. Ma Qingting lay on the bed. He had only just recovered from his injuries today. He was infuriated and wanted nothing more than to kill Xiao Chen. He was supposed to be the sect leader of the demon sect, but in the end all his efforts were in vain. Father, I can't accept this. Seeing Ma Qingting walk in, Ma Qingting clenched his fist and said loudly, "Sai." Ma Qingting had been worried for the past few days. He didn't dare to inform his backer about the results of the Demon Sect's conference, but he knew that this kind of thing couldn't be hidden. The news would eventually spread. As expected, just as he came to check on Ma Qingting's injuries, his phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and his heart skipped a beat. "Elder Yan, hello. I'm Ma Qingting." Ma Qingting braced himself and picked up the phone. "Sect leader Ma, what are you doing? Why didn't you tell me about such a big thing? Are you waiting for the news to reach me through the grapevine?" On the other side of the phone, Elder Yan's voice was filled with indescribable anger. I'm trying to solve this problem. I'll report it to Elder Yan after I'm done." Ma Qingting could only say carefully, "Solve? Solve my A**s." Xiao Qin became the Demon Sect's leader under the watchful eyes of the public. "Can you still solve it?" Elder Yan was instantly enraged. "Tell me, are you going to remove Xiao Qin from the position of sect leader and re-elect him?" Of course not." Ma Qingting stammered and couldn't say anything. "Humph, you mean you've been trying to solve it for so long but you still can't do anything, right?" Elder Yan snorted coldly. Ma Qingting almost knelt down in fear. He quickly apologized. I'm sorry, please forgive me, Elder Yan. I didn't do it well." "Do you know that you've held me up?" Elder Yan asked coldly. "I know, Elder Yan has always wanted to unify the Demon Sect in the outer martial arts world. You want to control it through our hands. During the re-election next year, we'll definitely achieve our goal," Ma Qingting quickly promised. Chapter 783. That's just what you think. Don't spread it. Elder Yan warned, "Since Xiao Qin has become the leader of the Devil Sect, don't think about destroying it. I'll give you the next task." "Please say it, Elder Yan." Ma Peiqie knew that Elder Yan would not blame him for what happened before, so he quickly asked seriously. "Think of a way to boost Xiao Qin's reputation. Make him the sect master of the outer pugilistic world's Demon Sect, known to everyone. It's best if you can use his name to hold a group gathering at the airport, then hold a concubine selection," Elder Yan instructed. Ma Peiqie was stunned. Why, Leader Ma, do you want to know the secrets of the higher-ups? Just do what I tell you to do. Why do you have so many questions?" Elder Yan's tone changed immediately and he warned coldly. "Yes." Ma Peiqie's forehead was sweating and he asked carefully, "Are we really going to serve that Xiao Qin as the leader? At least in the eyes of outsiders, we must make this leader look glorious. As for whether you listen to him or not, it's up to you. I only care about the results and nothing else," Elder Yan said. "I understand." Ma Peiqie was immediately relieved. He thought that Elder Yan did not want the position of the leader of the Devil Sect to be in name only. Since it was the first time, it had to be effective. That was why he asked them to help promote Xiao Qin. As for whether Xiao Qin would really be in power, there was no requirement. This way the Qishan sect could still do something. Thinking of this, Ma Peiqie was relieved. He thought that he had guessed Elder Yan's intention, so he was relieved. "I won't say more. I hope you can make up for your mistakes," Elder Yan urged. "Don't worry, Elder Yan. I know what to do," Ma Peiqie said and ended the call. "Father, what's going on? Is our backer dissatisfied?" Ma Qingting knew some inside information but not much. She saw that Ma Peiqie's expression changed several times when he answered the phone, so she asked worriedly. "It's nothing. He just wants us to help promote Xiao Qin, the leader of the Devil Sect, in name only." Ma Peiqie sighed. "What? Do you still want to boost Xiao Qin's popularity? Make him live up to his name? Is this for real? Did Elder Yan take the wrong medicine?" Ma Qingting was a little surprised after hearing this. "This is Elder Yan's request," Ma Qingtu said helplessly, "but I'm just guessing. Maybe it's because this is the first outer pugilistic world demonic sect grand assembly, and Xiao Qin is the first faction leader. If he doesn't establish his power and reputation, even if you become the next faction leader, you won't have the power and deterrence." "That's true, but I can't accept it." Ma Dragonfly clenched her fists. "Father, this is all caused by Xiao Qin and we still have to support him. Why should we? Don't worry about that. Although it's to build momentum for him, it's only to make him look better in name. The real control will be in the hands of the organizing committee of the Devil Sect Grand Meeting, which is the Kuei Mountain Sect, the organizer," Ma Wuzhu explained. "That's more like it. We can't let Xiaoqin master his strength. Alright, I can't wait anymore. Can we kill Xiaoqin and change the election in advance? Ma Dragonfly asked. That's not possible for now. Ma Wuzhu quickly shook his head. Don't complicate things. Elder Yin is already dissatisfied with us. If we do something else, he will definitely blame us. Sai, that's the only way. I'm not willing to let Xiaoqin have it easy. Ma Qingxiu's face was ferocious. We can attack him in other ways, but we can't kill Xiaoqin. Ma Qingxiu said, Alright, rest well. I'll go and arrange this matter. Okay, father. Ma Wuzhu's eyes lit up. After Ma Dragonfly left, he immediately shouted outside, Someone come. Young sect master, are you looking for me? A disciple walked in quickly. His name was Ma Jia and he was Ma Qingxiu's confidant. Ma Jia, you came at the right time. Investigate everything about Xiaoqin. Immediately, I want to see his information. Ma Qingxiu ordered. Yes. Ma Jia responded and didn't dare to ask why. Of course, he also knew that the young sect master suffered in the hands of Xiaoqin, so he quickly went to investigate. The Kuei Mountain sect had already collected information about Xiaoqin after he became the Devil sect master. Ma Jia only needed to go and get it, so it didn't take long for him to return and hand the information to Ma Qingxiu. So fast? Ma Qingxiu was a little surprised by Ma Jia's efficiency. He opened the document and read it. After seeing Xiaoqin's background, he was a little surprised. He didn't know as much about Xiaoqin as Ma Qingxiu, and he didn't care about Yao Boang's matter. So when he saw that he had a grudge with Yao Baoang, and that Xiaoqin's fiancé was in the Kuei Mountain sect, he was shocked. He said to Ma Jia, Xiaoqin's fiancé is in the Kuei Mountain sect? That's great. Bring me to see. I can't humiliate Xiaoqin first, so I'll humiliate his fiancé first. Ah, that's not good. This Cheng Minjing is also Yao Boang's fiancé now. Ma Jia said carefully. What about Yao Baoang? He's just an ordinary disciple. What? Do I need to care about his feelings? Ma Qingxiu was furious. No, of course not. Ma Jia was shocked and quickly said. Let's go. Bring me there. Ma Qingxiu sat up on the bed. Ma Jia had no choice but to bring Ma Qingxiu to the courtyard of the Cheng family. The Cheng family was currently living there. Seeing two unfamiliar young people walk in, Cheng Tianqiu, who was planting flowers at the side, was a little confused. You are, old thing Cheng Menjing is here, right? Where is her room? Ma Qingxiu pointed at Cheng Tianqiu and asked arrogantly. You. Cheng Tianqiu was furious. He didn't expect this person to be so rude. I don't know. You're not welcome here. How dare you? This is the young master of the Kuei Mountain sect, Ma Qingxiu. You old fart, answer me honestly. Ma Jia jumped out and pointed at Cheng Tianqiu. At this moment, Cheng Zhongfan, who knew that Ma Lianting had arrived, immediately ran over. When he saw the conversation between Ma Lianting and Cheng Tianqiu, he immediately understood the gist of the situation. He hurriedly said, Young sect master, ignore him. This old thing's brain isn't working well. Just find me if you need anything. And bring me to Cheng Menjing. Ma Qingxiu nodded. Although she didn't know Cheng Zhongfan, she saw that he was dressed like a disciple of the Kuei Mountain sect, so she instructed. Yes, this way please. Cheng Zhongfan quickly made an inviting gesture and invited Ma Qingxiu and Ma Jia into the courtyard. They walked towards Cheng Menjing's room. Cheng Zhongfan, you. Cheng Tianqiu let out a long sigh. He knew that he had to lower his head when he was under someone else's roof, but he didn't expect Cheng Zhongfan to be so shameless. If he knew this would happen, he would have kicked him out of the family. But it was all too late. He shouldn't have been so headstrong and self-opinionated. He shouldn't have listened to Cheng Zhongfan. As a result, the Cheng family had become like this. The #1 family in Songning had become dependent on someone else and treated like a prisoner. Young master, that is Cheng Menjing. Cheng Zhongfan pointed at Cheng Menjing in the room and said. Oh. Ma Qingxiu responded. She kicked the door open and walked in. Who? Cheng Menjing was shocked. She was cultivating when she heard a loud noise behind her. She quickly turned around and asked. You. Ma Qingxiu originally wanted to scold Cheng Menjing, but when he saw Cheng Menjing's appearance, he was stunned. There was actually such a beauty? This kind of person was rare even in the outside world of martial arts, and there was one in his own sect? Although Ma Qingxiu wasn't a lecherous person, a gentleman wanted a graceful lady. He wasn't married yet. When he saw the beauty Cheng Menjing, he couldn't take his eyes off her, and his lower body began to stir. Ma Jia had followed Ma Qingxiu since he was a child. He immediately saw through the young master's thoughts, so he coughed and said to Qing Menjing, "You are Yao Boang's fiancé, right? Do you know who this person in front of you is?" Qing Menjing frowned. Since these two dared to barge in and Qing Zhongfan was standing outside, they must be from the Kuei Mountain sect, and their status was definitely not low. However, she didn't want to know them, so she said plainly, "I'm not Yao Boang's fiancé. Do you have any business with me? If not, please leave. Don't disturb my cultivation. This is our Kuei Mountain sect's young master, Ma Qingxiu." Ma Jia pointed at Ma Qingxiu and said, "Our young master is interested in you. If you want your Qing family to have a good life in the Kuei Mountain sect, you can break off your engagement with Yao Baoang and find our young master." Qing Menjing was taken aback, but she also understood that Ma Qingxiu was probably interested in her. She didn't expect her to be so shameless as to directly ask for her. Didn't she care about the feelings of the Kuei Mountain sect disciples? "I'm sorry, I'm cultivating the Kuei Mountain sect's special mental cultivation method. I must maintain my virginity, so I don't need your suggestions. Please leave and don't disturb my cultivation," Qing Menjing said plainly. She didn't want to talk nonsense, so she directly pointed out the special nature of her mental cultivation method. She wanted Ma Qingxiu to back off. Really? Ma Qingxiu was taken aback. Previously, the information was mainly about Xiao Chen. Qing Menjing's matter was only briefly mentioned and not written in detail. Now that she heard Qing Menjing's words, she didn't quite believe it. Ma Jia wasn't sure either. This seems to be true. At this time, Qing Zhongfan spoke. Ma Qingxiu frowned. Although he was determined to get her, since Qing Menjing said so, he couldn't force her. It would affect his prestige as the young master, so he said, "Okay, then let's go back first. We'll talk after we investigate." Chapter 784. With that, Ma Dragonfly turned around and strode away. As for the thought of humiliating Qing Menjing, he had long thrown it to the back of his mind. What he wanted the most now was to get Qing Menjing. However, this way he would also achieve the goal of humiliating Xiao Chen. If he got Xiao Chen's fiancée, wouldn't Xiao Chen die of shame? Ma Jia and Qing Zhongfan didn't dare to say anything else. They quickly followed Ma Dragonfly out of the Qing family's courtyard. Qing Tianqiu looked at them and sighed. When did the Qing family decline to this state? All of this was caused by himself. Qing Tianqiu was filled with regret. However, they were also ill-informed here. They didn't know that Xiao Chen had become the sect master of the outer martial arts demonic sect. Of course, even if they knew, they wouldn't think that Xiao Chen could solve them. After all, a person like Xiao Chen was already a thorn in the side of the Quishan sect. He couldn't even protect himself. How could he save them? It was simply unrealistic. Ma Dragonfly returned to his room, then looked at Qing Zhongfan and said, "Tell me, what exactly did Qing Menjing cultivate? And she's actually a virgin? Isn't she Xiao Chen's fiancée? Haven't they slept together before?" "I don't think so." Qing Zhongfan shook his head. Previously, Qing Menjing always hated Xiao Chen. Later, I don't know why, but her impression seems to have changed a little. Perhaps it's to fulfill the agreement between the father's generation. Anyway, Qing Menjing should still be a virgin. And that's not bad. I hate used shoes the most. Ma Dragonfly's heart skipped a beat. Qing Menjing was so beautiful. It would be a pity if she was discarded after one time. However, it wouldn't be nice to say that he, the young sect master of the Quishan sect, spent all his time with a second-hand trash. Now there was no problem. Since Qing Menjing was the original, there was no harm in keeping her by his side. Young sect master, Qing Menjing's main problem now isn't this. It's her and Yao Baoang. Qing Zhongfan reminded. "Humph, what's the matter? Yao Baoang wants to snatch the woman that I've taken a fancy to?" Ma Qingting glared at Qing Zhongfan unhappily. "Is it me or Yao Baoang who has the final say in the Kuei Mountain sect?" "Of course, it's up to you, young sect master." Qing Zhongfan secretly cursed himself for being a busybody. If Ma Dragonfly liked Qing Menjing, he could punish Xiao Chen even more. Vice President Nian might be a deterrent to the small fries of the Quishan sect, but she wouldn't be so restrictive to the young sect master. It wouldn't be a problem for them to consummate their marriage on the same day. "Get Yao Baoang here. I have something to ask him." Ma Dragonfly waved his hand and gestured for Qing Zhongfan to look for him. "Yes." Qing Zhongfan quickly responded and ran to find Yao Baoang. After Qing Zhongfan left, Ma Jia reminded him in a low voice, "Young sect master, Although your words carry enormous weight in the Quishan sect, shouldn't you inform the sect master about this? After all, it's a family matter of the Quishan sect's disciples. I know. Didn't you see that I didn't make a move and asked Yao Baoang to come and talk? Although Ma Dragonfly was domineering, he wasn't a fool. He wouldn't do such a thing. Even if he wanted to do it, he had to find a good reason and excuse so that others wouldn't laugh at him behind his back. That's good. Ma Jia heaved a sigh of relief and waited quietly with Ma Dragonfly for Yao Baoang's arrival. Not long after, Yao Baoang arrived with Cheng Zhongfan. The two of them entered the room one after another. Disciple Yao Baoang greets young sect master. Yao Baoang bowed respectfully. Young sect master Yao Baoang is here, Cheng Zhongfan said. You may leave first. There's nothing for you to do here. Ma Dragonfly didn't want Cheng Zhongfan to hear what he was going to say next. He was prepared to use threats and promises. Yes. Cheng Zhongfan didn't dare to say more and quickly retreated. When only Yao Baoang was left in the room, Ma Dragonfly said, Yao Baoang, I heard that your father was also a disciple of the Quishan sect, but he was assassinated? That's right. He was killed by Xiao Chen and his men. This enmity is absolutely irreconcilable. Yao Baoang didn't know why Ma Dragonfly was looking for him. When he heard this, he thought it was to help him take revenge. The sect will compensate your father for the sacrifice he made for the sect. Ma Dragonfly said faintly, so I plan to recommend you to Elder Li and let him accept you as his personal disciple. Yao Baoang's eyes widened and looked at Ma Dragonfly in disbelief. He didn't believe that such a good thing as a pie falling from the sky would happen to him. Wasn't this too unbelievable? However, after being stunned for a while, he quickly thanked, Thank you for your guidance, young sect leader. Disciple Yao Baoang is very grateful. In the future, if young sect leader has any errands for me, I will not hesitate to go through fire and water. Yao Baoang was very clear that if he could be accepted as a personal disciple by Elder Li, then his current status would be completely different. In the sect, he could only be said to be an ordinary inner disciple. In the past, when his father was still around, he could be considered to be doing well. Now that little Yao was dead, he was finished. Even the cultivation resources were not as much as before. At this time, Ma Dragonfly was telling him that he could be a personal disciple. It was like a pie falling from the sky. You don't have to go through fire and water in the future. Now there is something that I need your help with. Ma Dragonfly was very satisfied with Yao Baoang's fanatical attitude and said faintly. Yao Baoang was slightly stunned. He didn't expect Ma Dragonfly to ask him about something so quickly. However, he still asked, What does young sect leader want me to do? I heard that Cheng Menjing is Xiao Chen's fiancée? Ma Dragonfly asked faintly. Yes, but she is now my. Yao Baoang was a little puzzled, but he still nodded and prepared to explain. However, before he finished speaking, he was interrupted by Ma Dragonfly. You also know that my position as the demon sect leader was stolen by Xiao Chen. Now, I hate him to the core, so I plan to take Cheng Menjing as a concubine to achieve the goal of humiliating Xiao Chen. Ma Dragonfly said. Yao Baoang was a little dumbfounded. He didn't expect that Ma Dragonfly actually took a fancy to Cheng Menjing, and this should be the small favor she wanted him to help. However, even though he was very happy to be able to become Elder Li's disciple, he was still a little unwilling to sacrifice Cheng Menjing. Although lust was a knife above the head, Cheng Menjing was the most beautiful woman he had ever seen. These days he was a little infatuated with her. He was not willing to give up just like that. Even if the other party was the young sect leader, he was not willing. This was his fiancée. If he took her away, wouldn't he regret it in the future? However, he didn't want to lose the opportunity to be a disciple of Elder Li. Once he became Elder Li's personal disciple, his future would be limitless. At that time, it might not be impossible for him to become a core disciple of the sect. Yao Baoang was in a dilemma. After thinking for a moment, he had an idea and said, Young sect leader, the current situation is not up to me. This matter is not something that the other party will agree to if I say I give up on Cheng Menjing. What? Does she insist that you won't marry her? Ma Qingting raised her eyebrows and asked unhappily. That's not it. She doesn't want to marry me at all. She only has Xiao Chen in her heart, so she is afraid that I will touch her. Now, she is cultivating a mental cultivation method of our Quishan sect that only first ladies can cultivate. It's called the Weaving Girl Heart Sutra. I didn't believe it at the time, but after carefully checking the relevant information of the sect, I found out that this mental cultivation method does exist. Yao Baoang had no choice but to use this tactful method to dispel Ma Qingting's thoughts. After a long time, he reckoned that Ma Qingting would forget about this matter. What weaving girl heart sutra? Ma Qingting was stunned. So what if she cultivates it or not? At most, she won't cultivate it. That won't do. Women who cultivate this mental cultivation method can't have intercourse with others. Otherwise, once forced, the demonic energy will flow backward and enter the other party's body. The other party will explode and die. Yao Baoang said with a bitter face. He wasn't lying, but he was speaking the truth. These things could be checked. When the time came, Ma Qingting just needed to check. Oh, there's such a thing? Can't I wear a condom? Ma Qingting frowned. Wouldn't that serve as a barrier? Young master, how can a condom withstand the backflow of demonic energy? It would have exploded long ago. Otherwise, do you think I didn't have the thought of forcing myself? But I can only endure it. Yao Baoang sighed. Why is it so troublesome? Can't I find someone to destroy Qing Menjing's cultivation? Ma Qingting also knew that Yao Baoang didn't dare to lie to her, so she asked after thinking about it. This shouldn't be possible. You may not know, but when Vice President Yen of the Outer Martial Arts Guild came forward to mediate this matter, she gave Xiaoqin 3 years to find evidence. If Xiaoqin produced evidence in 3 years, then Qing Menjing would have to leave the Qishan sect. So I can't go too far. I can do it secretly, but if I make a big move, I will offend the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Yao Baoang said. Tell me in detail what happened. The previous information didn't mention this in detail, so Ma Qingting didn't know. It's like this. Yao Baoang explained the situation at the time. After Ma Qingting heard it, he was a little unwilling, but he could only give up for the time being. He didn't expect a woman to be so complicated. It was a critical period now. He didn't become the Demon Gate Master, so it wasn't good to openly oppose the Outer Martial Arts Guild. Although he wasn't afraid of them, there was no need to offend them because of a woman. Thinking of this, Ma Qingting said, Okay, I got it, but I will think of a way. You report to Elderly in a while. Ma Cha, you bring him over. Tell Elderly that I arranged it. Chapter 785. Yes, thank you, young sect master. Yao Baoang knew that although his words had a certain effect, Ma Qingting had not given up. However, he could only stop her to this extent. If he continued to stop her, not only would Ma Qingting not allow him to become Elderly's disciple, but she would also find an opportunity to drive him out of the Qishan sect. Ma Qingting waited for Yao Baoang to leave before she began to pace around the room. She accidentally touched the wound on her body and immediately hissed in pain. Qing Menjing, you will be mine sooner or later. He thought to himself. Xiaoqin returned to Songning City in a low-key manner. He did not return to the Xiao family, but to the villa where he lived previously. However, it had become deserted. Standing in the courtyard, Xiaoqin seemed to be in a trance. He felt that Missy and Jean Bebe were in the living room while Yi Xiaoya was upstairs. A barking sound was heard. Xiaoqin looked down and saw that it was Invincible Dog. Ignoring him, Xiaoqin walked directly into the villa. However, after taking 2 steps, his eyes suddenly fell on the flower bed where Yi Xiaoya had planted the medicinal herbs. What the F***ck, what kind of dog are you? Why are you eating these raw medicinal herbs? Aren't you afraid of getting a stomachache? Xiaoqin looked at the various medicinal herbs that had been gnawed off and was speechless. It seemed that he and Yi Xiaoya had been away for a long time, so Invincible Dog had eaten all the medicinal dregs and potions. This guy had nothing else to eat and started to eat the fresh medicinal herbs in the courtyard. This time, Xiaoqin came back mainly to take the all-crossing golden pill fruit from the drawer. At that time, in the medicinal herb garden behind the resort, Xiaoqin vaguely remembered that the Elder Heaven Ancestor had let him take 2 all-crossing golden pill fruits. At that time, Xiaoqin did not know what it was, so he took it back. However, after exchanging with the smiling Mithriya, he suddenly remembered that he seemed to have collected this thing before. However, on the way back, he asked the Elder Heaven Ancestor about it. The Elder Heaven Ancestor couldn't remember it either. At that time, he had asked him to carry too many things. After giving him instructions and grabbing them, he had put them away when he returned. So, Xiaoqin wanted to confirm whether or not the item really existed. Looking at the bare flower bed, Xiaoqin shook his head. He really wanted to beat this broken dog up. Previously, in order to plant medicinal herbs for Yi Xiaoya in winter, Xiaoqin had spent a lot of effort, but in the end, all of it went into the dog's stomach. Back in his room, Xiaoqin opened the drawer and began to rummage through the medicinal herbs he had brought back from the herb garden, but the drawer was empty. Did I remember wrongly? You didn't put it here? Xiaoqin closed the drawer and began to search in the cabinets and boxes, but he still found nothing. There was no other way. Xiaoqin could only open the drawer again, but he found some clues in the gap of the drawer. There was also some soil on the medicinal herbs, which proved that Xiaoqin should have placed the medicinal herbs here, but where were the medicinal herbs? Could it be that Yi Xiaoye took it away? No. Xiaoqin suddenly remembered that the medicinal dregs in his room were gone. Could it be that it was also eaten by Invincible Dog? After thinking about it, Xiaoqin turned around and left the room. He picked up Invincible Dog, who was walking back and forth with his 5 backs and 6 beasts. Invincible Dog saw Xiaoqin running out angrily, and was a little scared. It subconsciously wanted to run away, and when it ran forward, Xiaoqin almost didn't catch it. Aya, what the F***, are you a magician-level dog? Xiaoqin felt that at this moment, the strength that Invincible Dog showed when it ran away was actually at the level of a magician level 1. It was simply unbelievable. Woof woof. Invincible Dog looked at Xiaoqin innocently and barked twice. It was afraid that Xiaoqin would beat it up. Forget it, if you ate it, then you ate it. Xiaoqin was a little speechless. The dog at home could still eat medicine to level up. What kind of world was this? Why did everything change after he fell off the cliff? Woof woof. Invincible Dog saw that Xiaoqin didn't have any intention of blaming it, and immediately became happy. This dog is quite understanding. Xiaoqin shook his head and said, forget it, you stay here and look after the house. I'll go buy some medicinal herbs for you. Woof woof. Invincible Dog seemed to be able to understand and barked twice again. Xiaoqin turned around and got into his car. He left this somewhat sad place and drove towards the Xiao family's compound. He was going to find out whose property this villa belonged to and then buy it. Although he no longer lived here, this place left too many memories for Xiaoqin. It was here that he grew up step by step and obtained his current strength. The Supernatural Investigation Bureau's matter was no secret. Xiaoqin had officially taken over as the deputy director. The previous Yang Jianan was killed by Xiaoqin because of his perverse behavior and evil deeds. Although the official notice only mentioned it lightly, the Qin family of Songning was finished all of a sudden. Qin Huanling couldn't believe this was true. Yang Jianan was actually dead? Killed by Xiaoqin? How was this possible? However, the notice posted in the warrior guild couldn't be wrong. Qin Huanling didn't wait for anyone to inform him and dejectedly returned to the Qin family from the warrior guild. He knew that from now on he wouldn't have any say in the warrior guild. These opportunistic people would probably hit the Xiao family while they were down in the future. But what could the Qin family do? Qin Huanling, Qin Zhantian, and Qin Wuxian were sitting in the Qin family's conference room. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have done it in the first place. Qin Jinping secretly fawned on Xiao Yuliang to deal with Xiaoqin was actually acquiesced by the Qin family. Now the Xiao family had become the largest family in Songning, and the Qiao family didn't even dare to fart. The Cheng family, the mastermind behind the scenes, had long become yesterday's news. Every time Xiaoqin came back he would bring changes to the Xiao family. Just like this time, everyone knew that Xiaoqin was the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. The Xiao family was even more crowded. Those aristocratic families and small families all came to visit and congratulate them. However, Xiaoqin didn't have the mood to see any of them. He let his second uncle and grandfather handle all of them. Brother, you are now the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and the master of the Outer Wulin Devil Sect? Xiao looked at Xiaoqin with some surprise. She didn't expect Xiaoqin to achieve so much in just half a year. It's just some empty identities. Xiaoqin shook his head. Is there anything going on at home recently? As soon as Xiaoqin came back, he saw his grandfather and second uncle were busy entertaining guests. So, he could only ask Xiao about family matters. It's all right. I just miss you. Xiao said this and lowered her voice. Brother, can you not let Yu Xiaochuan stay in our house? What's wrong with him? Xiaoqin was stunned. This person seems to have a mental problem. He's a pervert. I always feel that he likes to pretend to be a woman. Xiao said, moreover he talked to me a few times. I can feel that he seems to have a love for you. This. Xiaoqin actually noticed it. Tang also talked to him about this problem before. Who knows? I guess he may have a tendency to be feminine, but he is also very pitiful. Don't say that he is a pervert. Okay. Xiao Xiao didn't say anything else after Xiao Qin said so. I just feel that it's weird. If that's the case, he might as well go through a sex change operation and become a woman. Why does he have to do this? He's in so much pain and I feel awkward watching him. Let him be. Xiao Qin shook his head. He also felt that Yu Xiaochuan was becoming more and more feminine, but this was not something he could change. It was probably the sequelae of practicing the chrysanthemum treasure book. By the way, brother, how many days will you stay at home this time? Xiao Xiao asked. I don't know yet. I'll see if there are any tasks. If there are no tasks, I'm going to go to the outer martial arts world and investigate my father's situation. Xiao Qin said, by the way, I want to ask you something. Your classmate Li Xiener, is she like a normal person at school? Li Xiener? Xiao Xiao was slightly stunned. She didn't understand why Xiao Qin suddenly asked this question. Is it the girl who was bullied at the resort last time? Yes, that's her. Xiao Qin nodded. She. Xiao Xiao thought for a moment. When she first entered junior high school, she was a very ordinary girl. There was nothing special about her. Her academic performance was average, and her appearance was not outstanding. But later, maybe a girl changes 18 times between childhood and adolescence. Now she has become one of the campus belles of our junior high school. Also, her brain seems to be more useful and her academic performance has improved a lot. There are many pursuers at school. Our class monitor had a crush on Li Xiener before. Oh, no wonder he stood up for Li Xiener at that time. Xiao Qin nodded. He had a good impression of Xiao Zhao's class monitor. He said, is there anything else strange about this Li Xiener? That's not it. Li Xiener's personality seems to be a little introverted. She doesn't like to talk very much. She doesn't have any particularly good friends at school. Xiao Xiao thought carefully and then said, brother, why did you suddenly ask this? Could it be that you like Li Xiener? How is that possible? Xiao Qin suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said, that Li Xiener seems to have a secret. She is not an ordinary person. How should I say it? She is similar to me. She may also have special abilities. Ah. When Xiao Xiao heard this, she immediately widened her eyes and looked incredulous. Brother, is what you said true? She is also a superpower user? So powerful? It should be, but don't ask and don't show your attention to her. Help me secretly pay attention to this person. Xiao Qin said. And I understand. Brother, don't worry. Leave it to me. Xiao Xiao said with a smile, I'm the best at acting. I can see that. Xiao Qin smiled. The reason why he paid attention to Li Xiener was that Li Xiener was also a cultivator. She was the only cultivator that Xiao Qin had met since he started his cultivation. Of course, it didn't include those who had died, such as the spirit under the volcanic stone chamber that wanted to possess. By the way, will you sleep with me tonight? Xiao Xiao asked. Chapter 786. Didn't we agree on it that day? We won't make a fuss in the future. You're a grown-up now. At least you have to avoid it. Xiao Qin said. Yeah, didn't we agree that if something were to happen between us, it would have happened when we were young? Why would it wait until now? Xiao Xiao stuck out her tongue. Brother, you think too much. I just miss you a little bit. Okay. Xiao Qin had no choice but to nod and agree. As for Tang Tang, I can only wait. Why do I see that you seem to be very reluctant? Xiao Xiao saw Xiao Qin's perfunctory attitude, and suddenly she was a little unhappy. What's wrong? There are many boys in our class who want to sleep with me. You're the only one who slept with me and you look embarrassed. How can it be the same? Xiao Qin glared at Xiao Xiao. I'm not them. This time I came back, I wanted to accompany Tang Tang. I didn't spend much time with her last time. Ah, yes, Sister Tang Tang isn't here. She went home. Xiao Xiao said, she said that she had something to do and had to go home. She left you a letter and left. Otherwise, why would you shout you and play with me every day? I'm so annoyed with him. Tang Tang left? Xiao Qin was stunned. When? Why didn't I know? It was shortly after you left. Xiao Xiao said, she said that you went to perform a task. She was afraid to disturb you, so she didn't tell you and left you a letter. We didn't ask too much. She said that she had some private matters and left. So? Xiao Qin frowned. Tang Tang said that she wanted to break up with him. Although they talked it out later, Xiao Qin still felt that Tang Tang seemed to have something on her mind. He didn't expect her to leave. But didn't she say that she was Mrs. Yu? Why did she leave you Xiao Chuan here? Xiao Xiao was annoyed. Yes, the letter is in Sister Tang Tang's room. We didn't touch it. Xiao Xiao said, I'll accompany you to get it later. All right. Xiao Qin nodded and took out his mobile phone. He dialed Tang Tang's number, but the phone was turned off. It seemed that Tang Tang didn't turn it on. Xiao Qin's heart was slightly gloomy. Did she really want to break up with him and avoid him? Thinking of this, Xiao Qin could not help but quicken his pace. Xiao Xiao pouted and followed behind. She felt that Xiao Qin cared a lot about these girls except for her. They came to Tang Tang's previous villa one after another. Yu Xiaochuan was sitting in the yard practicing martial arts. When he saw Xiao Qin coming back, his eyes suddenly lit up and he ran over quickly. Brother Xiao, you're back. Yes. Xiao Qin nodded and said, Are you used to it? It's good. It's better than my own home. Yu Xiaochuan said. Xiao Qin was a little speechless. He wanted to change the topic and then let Yu Xiaochuan go back to his own home, but he didn't expect that this guy's words made Xiao Qin speechless. He couldn't continue the conversation. He couldn't force him to leave, right? Moreover, Yu Xiaochuan had helped him a lot in the past. Without Yu Xiaochuan, he didn't know if he could deal with the Quishan sect. So Xiao Qin could only say, That's good. Is there anything on your Yu family's side? Yu family? It's good. Now they are fully cooperating with the Xiao family. Yu Xiaochuan said, In fact, I don't need to do these things. I just need to shock them. Now they don't dare to be interested in those business matters. They just want to be a quiet little girl, handsome man. Oh. Xiao Qin didn't continue this topic. Did Tang Tang leave? Yes, she said she would go back and have a look. I didn't ask for details. Yu Xiaochuan didn't seem to care much about Tang Tang's affairs. She left a letter in her bedroom. We don't have the key. She said you have it. Me? Xiao Qin didn't have the key either, but Tang Tang probably meant that Xiao Qin could open the door without the key. He walked over and opened the door of Tang Tang's room. The room was very clean, and the furnishings were almost the same as the previous rented house. There was a letter on the desk. Xiao Qin picked it up and saw the words for Xiao Qin on it. Xiao Qin tore open the envelope. Inside was a plain and unadorned letter paper. On it was written, Xiao Qin, I have thought about it carefully. We'd better separate. I don't think we are very suitable for each other. I said that you have changed, but it may be that I have changed. You can say that I am selfish or heartless. Anyway, I want to leave. Don't look for me. I won't let you find me. Maybe one day I will come back to you after thinking it through. But not now. You don't have to be sad. You have so many girlfriends now. You don't need me. Well, even if we can't be lovers, we are still good buddies. Tang Tang. The date of the letter was just a few days after Xiao Qin left. The letter was very short, but the message was very clear. Xiao Qin sighed. In fact, he had guessed this result before he opened the letter. Tang Tang still wanted to separate from him. Although Xiao Qin couldn't figure out the reason, he still respected Tang Tang's choice. After all, Tang Tang wanted to end this relationship, so there was no need for him to pester her. But Xiao Qin still wanted to talk to Tang Tang face to face. He wanted to know the reason. Even if he acquiesced to Tang Tang's choice, he also wanted to know if there was any other situation. I'm going out. Xiao Qin said to Yu Xiaochuan and Xiao Xiao. You're going to see Tang Tang? Xiao Xiao asked. Yes, I'm going to the Tang family. Xiao Qin nodded. Brother Xiao, let me go with you. Yu Xiaochuan said. Okay. Thinking that Yu Xiaochuan was the legitimate son-in-law of the Tang family, what would happen if he went? Although Xiao Qin wasn't afraid of anything now, he still had to save some face for the Tang family. I want to go too. Xiao Xiao said. Then let's go together. Xiao Qin wasn't going to fight, so he agreed to go together. After leaving the Xiao family, they went all the way to the Tang family. Outside the Tang family's door, they saw Yu Xiaochuan in the car, so they didn't stop him. They smoothly arrived at the Tang family's parking lot. However, as soon as the three of them got out of the car, the Tang family rushed over. Now, both Yu Xiaochuan and Xiao Chen were hot figures in Songning. The Tang family couldn't wait to curry favor with them. Haha, Xiaochuan and Xiao Chen are here. Master Tang walked over with a smile. Xiao Chen looked at Master Tang and felt a little strange. Why is this guy's temperament exactly the same as Yu Xiaochuan's, and why does he speak like a girl? Hello, Grandpa Tang. We're here to see Tang Tang, Xiao Chen said. Tang Tang? Master Tang was stunned. He looked at Xiao Chen strangely and said, Didn't she tell you? She said she wanted to go abroad to relax. She's traveling, so she's not at home. Oh, Tang Tang told you that before? Xiao Chen was stunned. It seemed that Tang Tang didn't go home. Yes, she said she wanted to go abroad to relax. After all, she is now Mrs. Yu and she is still living with the Xiao family. We can't interfere, so we didn't say anything. Master Tang nodded. Did something happen? It's nothing. I went out earlier, so I don't know much about the situation. Xiao Qin shook his head. I'm just here to confirm this. Oh, then please come in. I'll get someone to bring some refreshments and fruits. Master Tang said. Xiao Qin, I heard that you are now the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau? Yes. One look at Master Tang and Xiao Qin and he knew that this guy wanted to curry favor with him. You're also the sect leader of the demon sect in the outer martial world? Master Tang continued to ask. It's just a title, Xiao Qin said lightly. Oh haha, then the Tang family will be in Xiao Qin's care from now on. What Master Tang was most worried about was that the mental cultivation method he practiced would be exposed. The Tang family's main branch, the Jianghu Tang family and the outer martial world's Tang family, were both orthodox sections. Once they found out that Master Tang practiced the chrysanthemum treasured book, they would definitely be at odds with each other. When that happened, it wouldn't be easy for Master Tang to rely on the demon sect. Now that he had Xiao Qin's recommendation, it would be much easier. So, he wanted to take this opportunity to build a good relationship with Xiao Qin. Actually, he knew that Tang Tang and Xiao Qin had an unclear relationship. He also knew that Yu Xiaochuan was just a nominal grandson-in-law. Seeing how this guy was fawning over Xiao Qin even more than himself, Tang Tang and Xiao Qin had probably always been together and he was just a shield. Thinking of this, Master Tang felt that Xiao Qin should at least give him some face. So he asked him to take care of Tang Tang. Oh, there's definitely no problem. Although Xiao Qin didn't have a good impression of the Tang family, when he thought of the days he spent together with Tang Tang, taking care of the Tang family was something he could do. That's good, that's good. Master Tang felt relieved and invited the three of them into the house. I won't be sitting. It's getting late, we'll be heading back first. Xiao Qin didn't see Tang Tang, so his interest waned and he didn't want to pretend to be polite anymore. But, okay then. Seeing that Xiao Qin didn't have much interest, Master Tang thought that he and Tang Tang had quarreled. He thought that Tang Tang didn't know any better. With Xiao Qin's current status, why would he quarrel? Thinking up to this point he said, Young Master Xiao, then I won't hold you back. If you have time, come visit our Tang family more often. Actually, compared to Xiaochuan, your relationship with the Tang family is closer. After speaking, Master Tang made a you-know-what-I-mean expression. Xiaochuan didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Yu Xiaochuan didn't mind at all. Seeing that Xiao Qin had left, he couldn't be bothered to say goodbye to Master Tang and directly followed behind Xiao Qin. Previously, he was afraid that it would affect the Yu family and his identity. But now he only wanted to be together with Xiao Qin. Since Xiao Qin was part of the demon sect, then he would naturally belong to the demon sect from now on. After speaking, the three of them boarded the car and left the Tang family home. Along the way, Xiao Qin's mood was a bit gloomy. It seemed that Tang Tang was indeed trying to avoid him. But where did Tang Tang go? From Xiao Qin's perspective, Tang Tang shouldn't be away for too long. Firstly, she needed to go to school. Secondly, she didn't have any money on her. Chapter 787. At night in the inner martial arts world. This place was also commonly known as the small ancient martial arts world. This was a paradise, a place where there were only real martial arts sections. The sects here all claimed to be the orthodox sects of the martial arts world. They were sects that had been passed down from ancient times. They were the true kings of the martial arts world that had evolved from the previous ancient sections. The Awakening sect was a powerful sect in the inner martial arts world. It was also one of the major demonic sects in the inner martial arts world. In the Awakening sect, a sect meeting was currently being held. Sitting at the conference table was the sect master of the Awakening sect, Situ Qitian. In fact, the Awakening sect was not called the Awakening sect before. It was just that the current sect master was more powerful, and there were also some historical reasons. Situ Qitian did not get along with the previous sect master, and his position was almost usurped. Therefore, after taking over the position of sect master, he changed the name of the sect to the Awakening sect. He was also an existence that belonged to the founder of the sect. Sitting around him were the deputy sect master, Wang Duanli, Elder Yen Mind, and another elder of the Awakening sect called Ma Ipi. Elder Yen, look at the Kuei Mountain sect that you chose. What kind of thing is it to be so incompetent? Sidu Qitian was very annoyed. The Kuei Mountain sect kept getting into trouble. Ever since Elder Yen chose it as the spokesperson of the outer martial arts world, it had almost never done anything of note. This. Elder Yen was also very guilty and apologetic. In the previous inspection, Maipi was a very shrewd person. I didn't expect him to be so incompetent. He couldn't even handle such a small matter. He's a selfish, overcautious man. Elder Maipi spoke. He and Elder Yen had always been at odds with each other. They both wanted to compete for the position of Great Elder, so he would not let go of this opportunity to attack Elder Yen. According to my investigation, this person is useless. Alright, since we've already used the Kuei Mountain sect, let's not talk after the fact. Situ Chichen frowned and waved his hand. Let's talk about what we should do this time. The position of the outer martial arts world sect master has been taken by Xiao Chen. Do you think the guy that we want to lure out will come out? It should be, right? Elder Yen said, it has nothing to do with who is the sect master. As long as someone is the sect master, it will be fine. But don't forget, Xiao Chen is that Chang woman's son. Situ Chichen was a little worried. What if he doesn't come out because of this? Elder Yen lowered his head. Since things have come to this, we can only hope for the best. At this moment, Wang Duanli spoke up. He was Elder Yan's brother-in-law, so he naturally stood on Elder Yan's side and helped him out. I feel that the one with the surname Chang probably won't say anything about this, but it's hard to say for that person. He might even come out. Yes, that's the only way. Situ Chichen nodded. All right. Elder Yen, make arrangements to build momentum for that Xiao Chen. Let everyone in the inner martial world know that the outer martial world has a demon sect master. I understand. Elder Yen heaved a sigh of relief. This was the same as his original intention. Needless to say, he had already instructed the Quishin sect to do so. Nothing happened that night. Although Xiao Xiao wanted Xiao Chen to go to bed and hug her to sleep, her wish did not come true. Xiao Chen just sat cross-legged and cultivated at the side. Naturally, Xiao Xiao could not do anything about it. The next morning, Xiao Xiao had to go to school. Since school had started, Xiao Chen had nothing to do, so he drove to number 2 high school with Xiao Xiao. He had not been to school for a long time. Tang Tang was gone, Cheng Menjing was gone, and Jean Bebe was gone. He really did not know what else he could do in school. The familiar school, the familiar building, and the familiar classroom. When Xiao Chen walked into the classroom, he found that there was a new classmate next to his seat. Perhaps because Tang Tang and Song Huawu had dropped out, the seat was empty, so it was arranged for the new transfer student. Fortunately, Xiao Chen's seat was empty. He walked over and sat down. The new deskmate was a boy. He was dressed fashionably, but judging from the brand he was wearing, he should be from a rich family. However, Xiao Chen did not want to pay attention to this. He was just here to reminisce. Where are you from? Why are you sitting here? Xiao Chen did not want to pay attention to the boy, but the boy took the initiative to speak. His tone was not friendly and it was a little questioning. I'm sitting in this seat. Xiao Chen was not angry. After all, the boy did not know him. From another perspective, if a stranger sat next to him, Xiao Chen would also ask, something happened at home, so I didn't come to school. Now I'm back. Oh. The boy suddenly frowned and said, I don't care if you were sitting in this seat before. I Tsun Wuming, am not used to sitting at the same table with others. Then you can sit at another table. Xiao Chen was also angry. He wanted to explain to this person, but he did not expect this person to be so overbearing. If he did not like to sit at the same table with others, then he should not come to school. He could have his own table in a restaurant. Sun Wuming's face changed instantly. He looked at Xiao Chen with some resentment as if he was about to get angry, but after thinking about it he said, I don't want to fight. If you don't want to get hurt, you should find a place to sit. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. Oh, then don't be polite. Xiao Chen was too lazy to pay attention to him. If Sun Wuming did not care about his identity and did not want to attack an ordinary person, he would have already thrown Xiao Chen out of the window. But at this time he just saw Jing Xiaoquan coming in from the classroom door. He immediately shouted, Jing Xiaoquan, you came at the right time. Let this person sit on the side. Don't be an eyesore next to me. Jing Xiaoquan was stunned, but then he saw Xiao Chen next to Sun Wuming. There was a flash of joy in his heart, but then it became a little sad. He walked over and said to Sun Wuming, Brother Tsun, this is my good friend Xiao Chen. He is also a student in this class. He is sitting here. He did not come to school before because he had something to do. Didn't you hear me talking to you? Sun Wuming frowned. He grabbed Jing Xiaoquan's collar angrily and pulled him over. Do my words not work? Okay. Jing Xiaoquan looked bitter. He turned his head and said to Xiao Chen in a low voice, Xiao Chen, where did this person come from? Xiao Chen did not want to put Jing Xiaoquan in a difficult position, so he asked directly. He won't understand even if I tell him. Don't explain, just directly take him over there. Sun Wuming obviously heard Xiao Chen's words and said while pointing not far away. Jing Xiaoquan, this person escaped from the mental hospital, right? Xiao Chen was a little annoyed this time. He turned his head and grabbed Sun Wuming's hair, lifting him up. The originally handsome hair was pulled into a chicken's nest by Xiao Chen. You are a martial artist. Sun Wuming was shocked and angry. He did not expect Xiao Chen to dare to hit him. What surprised him even more was that Xiao Chen was a martial artist, because ordinary people would not be able to lift him up with one hand so easily. Why do you care if I'm a martial artist or not? Xiao Chen pressed Sun Wuming down on his seat. If you want to study here properly, then stop. If you don't want to go to school, then scram. No one will wait on you. Jing Xiaoquan stood aside, feeling a little awkward. He did not dare to offend Sun Wuming, but he could not offend Xiao Chen because of this, so he could only watch from the side. Jing Xiaoquan, who is this person? Sun Wuming was furious. Kid, I don't care if you're a martial artist or not. I don't care which path you're on. After class, we'll go out and practice no matter what. Brother Tsin, this is Xiao Chen, the eldest young master of the Xiao family in Songning. Jing Xiaoquan was afraid that the conflict would escalate, so he could only explain, Xiao Chen, this is Tsin Wuming, the eldest young master of the Tsin family in Jianghu. The Tsin family is very famous in the nearby Nanwu city. Recently, they've been expanding their business in Songning and they're cooperating with the Zheng family. Xiao Chen nodded and said, since you're working with the Zheng clan and Jing Xiaoquan, I won't touch you. However, don't make things difficult for me. Let's leave it at that. After that, Xiao Chen returned to his seat and ignored Sun Wuming. A young master from an ordinary family dares to act arrogant in front of me? When Sun Wuming heard that Xiao Chen was only from an ordinary family, and yet he dared to act arrogantly in front of him, a young master from a Jianghu family, he was instantly enraged. Fine, if you don't want your family to be destroyed because of you, apologize to me immediately and get lost in a corner. Then I'll consider letting you go. Otherwise, you and your family will be finished. Jing Xiaoquan, is this the person your Zheng family is cooperating with? Is there something wrong with his brain? Xiao Chen looked at Sun Wuming, who was acting like a weirdo. This guy really thinks too highly of himself. Fine, let's see if you can destroy one of my Xiao family. Jing Xiaoquan didn't know what to say. Of course, although he knew that Xiao Chen and the Xiao family had been very powerful recently, it was only based on some previous events. He didn't know that Xiao Chen had recently been elected as the deputy director of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau and the master of the Dark Sect. The Zheng family was no longer an aristocratic family, so they weren't very well informed. As for Sun Wuming, these things had little to do with him, so he naturally didn't investigate in advance. Jing Xiaoquan, you don't have to persuade me. Doesn't he want the Xiao family to be destroyed? Fine, after we get our hands on it, we'll join forces and attack the Xiao family's business. I'll make him cry. Sun Wuming said proudly. Jing Xiaoquan didn't know how to answer. I was worried that I couldn't find a breakthrough after coming to Songning. I didn't know where to start. Xiao Chen, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Sun Wuming looked at Xiao Chen and smiled. I wanted to beat you up before, but now I won't. You're finished? Chapter 788. Xiao Chen looked at Sun Wuming speechlessly. Then you go ahead and stop them. I'm waiting. You really won't cry until you see the coffin. You don't know how to spell the word, death. Sun Wuming sneered. The Tsin family wanted to enter Songning City, but most of the businesses here were done by other families. It wouldn't be good to intervene rashly. It would be bad if the local aristocratic families joined forces to fight back. The Zheng family's business was very limited. They only had the martial arts center and the security business. Even these two businesses were snatched by the new aristocratic Liu family. Therefore, the Tsin family came here and couldn't open up the situation. It wasn't good to intervene in any industry. In Sun Wuming's view, now that Xiao Chen was a fool, the Tsin family would have a good reason to make a move on the Xiao family's industry. Even if other families saw it, they would think it was a personal grudge and wouldn't resist together. After all, Xiaoqun had offended Qin Wuming and caused this situation. It was a good opportunity to establish the Qin family's prestige. Xiaoqun looked at Qin Wuming. He seemed to be very arrogant. He didn't seem to have heard of the Qin family of the True Martial Arts Academy. Of course, it could be that he was ignorant and inexperienced. But no matter what, Songning City was Xiaoqun's main battlefield base. If an outsider was arrogant, he would be ashamed. Do as you wish. After you're done bragging, you can stop and go to class. You see, the bell is ringing. Xiaoqun pointed to the wall clock in front of the classroom and said, I don't have time to talk nonsense with you. I have to study. As he spoke, Xiaoqun took out the revision questions and looked at them. He was planning to take the college entrance exam himself. He had nothing to do anyway. The job in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau was basically just a temporary job. He still yearned for an ordinary life. Maybe he could meet Tang Tang again when he was in college. Xiaoqun remembered that the purpose of Tang Tang's hard work was to enter a good college, so Xiaoqun felt that he should be able to meet her. Thinking of this, Xiaoqun felt slightly better. In fact, he was a very easily satisfied person. He really didn't like his current life. Of course, he didn't like his previous life either. Not long ago, he really wanted to be a real young master of a family. He wanted to be carefree, pick up girls, play with cars, and then show off with his little brothers. How wonderful was that life? However, in the past, that kind of life of pretending to be a dandy was not the slightest bit of pleasure. All day long he was on guard against that. Now that he had the strength, he still had to run around for all kinds of things. However, since he had already embarked on this path, there was no backing down. Moreover, his father was still missing. How could he give up so easily? In the past, he didn't have the ability, so he didn't search for them in order to protect himself. Now that he had the ability, he had the responsibility to do more. Qin Wuming kept making phone calls on the side. He didn't have any intention of avoiding Xiaoqun. He was instructing the Qin family to investigate what businesses the Xiao family had, and then carry out the corresponding attacks. Of course, the target of the alliance was naturally the Zheng family. During this period of time, the Qin family's movements were very big. They quietly merged and acquired many companies in Songning City. However, because they were worried about the thoughts of other families, they didn't dare to make a big move. Now that the opportunity had come, these companies could operate at high speed. However, Xiaoqun was too lazy to listen to what he was saying at the side. He didn't need to listen. Brother Qin, why don't we just forget about it? The Xiao family's influence in Songning City is very big. If we do this... Jing Xiaoqun watched anxiously from the side. He didn't want to go against Xiaoqun, and he didn't think that the Qin family could do anything to the Xiao family in Songning City. Maybe we'll be at a disadvantage when the time comes. Forget about it? Who the F***ck are you? Who are you? Qin Wuming was commanding the formation very happily. Suddenly he was splashed with cold water by Jing Xiaoqun. He suddenly became furious. He slapped Jing Xiaoqun's face and scolded, "Are you a spy of the Xiao family?" Jing Xiaoqun covered his face. His eyes were full of grievances, but he sighed helplessly. He really didn't dare to do anything to Qin Wuming, and he had to follow his wishes. Who let the Qin family be so strong? Moreover, this cooperation was led by the Qin family, so Jing Xiaoqun couldn't get a word in. He could only swallow his anger when he was hit. To be honest, originally, it was a very glorious thing for the Zheng family to be chosen to cooperate with the Qin family as the spokesperson family of the Qin family in Songning City. However, now it became that the Qin family was in charge of everything. The Zheng family, the local tyrant, had completely become a hired thug and errand boy without any decision-making power. This made Jing Xiaoqun very helpless. However, the Zheng family had already boarded the Qin family's pirate ship. It was absolutely impossible to get down now, so Jing Xiaoqun could only endure. He lowered his head and didn't dare to say anything. Xiaoqun looked at Jing Xiaoqun and felt a little strange. In his impression, Jing Xiaoqun was not such a person who swallowed his anger. But now it seemed that in front of this Qin Wuming he was very timid. However, since Jing Xiaoqun didn't say anything, Xiaoqun naturally wouldn't say much. He hadn't fully figured out the relationship between the two, so it wasn't good for Xiaoqun to speak up. What if the Zheng family deliberately compromised? If he made a move, wouldn't it destroy the cooperation between the two families? In the market, those companies that were acquired by the Qin family began to act together. The companies targeted were, of course, the companies under the name of the Xiao family. Recently, the Xiao family's business expansion had been very rapid, and it had been involved in many industries. First of all, it was the chain stores. The Xiao family stores were generally concentrated in the major business districts of Songning City. There were inevitably other stores in the business district. Originally, everyone had been living in harmony. Although there were often activities and competitions, there were rarely that kind of loss-making price war. After all, everyone was trying to make money, not to attack the opponent. This kind of self-destructive method wouldn't be used easily. However, today the supermarkets and shopping malls near the Xiao family store seemed to be crazy. They began to crazily reduce prices and promote prices. The prices were already cheaper than the cost price, and it wasn't just a little bit cheaper. This suicidal sales method attracted a lot of customers all of a sudden. Almost all the customers in the business district gave up on the Xiao family store and flocked to the Tsin family's store. Although Tsin Wuming didn't make the decision in the Tsin family, his proposal was quickly approved by his father. If they didn't know how to cherish this kind of good opportunity, then they were really stupid. The Tsin family looked at the popular photos of the store and were very happy. They also forwarded a lot of them to Tsin Wuming. Hee kid, it's too late now, even if you kowtow to me and apologize. Look at the Xiao family store. TSK, it's really deserted. Tsin Wuming pushed his phone in front of Xiao Chen and said, "Oh." Xiao Chen glanced at it. He wasn't interested in these things and he wasn't good at doing business. Although the Xiao family wasn't good at it, didn't they have other things they were good at? The Xie family and the Xiao family were in a cooperative relationship now. Emperor Xie was an expert in business operations. It was impossible that he didn't know how to deal with it. Sure enough, after Emperor Xie found out about this, he didn't panic at all. Ever since the Xie family cooperated with the Xiao family, the one thing they didn't lack the most was money. Since the Tsin family store was selling goods, Emperor Xie simply gave all the store employees a holiday and let them go to the Tsin family store to buy as much as they could. After buying, they would directly send it to the Xiao family's store. Jing family. The person in charge of Songning was the Tsin family's young master, Tsin Jiajin. He looked at the reports from his subordinates and was immediately very happy. Previously, because the Xiao family store was a veteran, they weren't able to attract too many customers. The business could only be considered moderate. In the end, it was so popular that it almost couldn't hold people anymore. Director Tsin Maduanlu's store is in urgent need of inventory. There's basically nothing left. Director Tsin Huicheng Castle's store is in urgent need of inventory. The shelves are already empty. Tsin Jiajin wasn't nervous at all when the store was in urgent need of inventory. Instead, he said in a rich and imposing manner, "Contact the suppliers and let them deliver the goods. This is a good thing. It means that our store is popular. These customers came here to take advantage of us. Even if we revert to the original price in the future, it will still be popular if we do some activities frequently." Losing money at the opening of a business was a common method used by many businesses. However, it was all based on precise planning and arrangements. There wouldn't be too big of a mistake. However, there was no such thing as the Tsin family's decision. The Tsin family didn't calculate the cost and profit at all. It was completely impulsive. Tsin Wuming was impulsive, but Tsin Jiajin was muddle-headed because he wanted to occupy the market as soon as possible. Although he was the Tsin family's young master, he was only an heir. It was hard to say whether there would be unforeseen events in the future. He had been in Songning for more than a month, but he still hadn't opened up a business. Songning family's deep roots made it impossible for him to get a foot in. How could he not be anxious when he finally found an opportunity? Yes. The assistant quickly responded. He originally wanted to say that they would lose money if this continued, but when he saw Tsin Jiajin's high-spirited appearance, he didn't dare to say more. Of course, the store was only one of them. There were other industries such as the hotel industry. In this industry, Tsin Jiajin wasn't stupid. Normal hotels wouldn't offer discounts. However, all the hotels that were close to the Xiao family's hotel all offered a 10% discount. In order to attract customers, they could apply for an annual card, which meant that they could stay at a 10% discount for a year. This attracted many customers. After all, the banners were out. As long as the customers weren't blind, they would be able to see it. After Emperor Xie received the report from his subordinate, he didn't pay much attention to it. He directly told the waiters who had nothing to do to go to the hotel next door to apply for a 10% discount annual card. In an instant, all the Tsin family's hotels were full. Although the customers who didn't stay saw the discount, they could only stay at the Xiao family's hotel next door. Chapter 789. As a result, those who originally wanted to stay in the Tsin family's hotel stayed in the Xiao family's hotel because there were no more rooms available. Originally, it wasn't a tourist season after the new year, so the hotel occupancy rate was only about 50%. But now, because of the Tsin family, it was close to 100%. This meant that after deducting the Tsin family's 10% discount, it was still equivalent to the Xiao family's 10% discount. Not only was the income much higher than usual, but it also made the Tsin family's hotel suffer a loss. It was just that the Tsin family hadn't discovered this problem yet. The assistant in charge of the hotel was so happy that he couldn't close his mouth when he saw that the hotels were full and that many membership cards had been applied. In fact, for ordinary people, even if they had a 10% discount annual membership card, they might not stay here every day. Who would be so free to stay in the hotel all day? Even if it was a 10% discount, it would still cost money, right? Therefore, according to the probability calculation, the real card holders would use it dozens of times a year. Who would have thought that these card holders were all disguised waiters of the Xiao family's hotel? Sun Zhejin looked at the report in his hand and instantly felt that he was going to completely dominate the Songning shopping mall. It was the same for several other industries. As long as he had a promotion or discount, Emperor Xie would send people to deal with it. Emperor Xie was also a little speechless about this kind of opponent. Acting recklessly without considering the consequences and costs, it actually benefited the Xiao family. As for the store, it soon became difficult to make ends meet. After all, the inventory of the manufacturer's agent was also limited. After being delivered, it was sold out. After a few rounds, the inventory was also gone. Even if they urgently transferred the goods from the manufacturer, it couldn't be done in a day. Without a choice, the empty Tsin family store could only be closed first, and the previously deserted Xiao family store became popular again. Although they were all normal activities such as a free laundry detergent for 200 yuan and a free napkin for 300 yuan, they were still more discounted than usual. Therefore, many customers went to the Xiao family store after seeing that the Tsin family store was closed. They didn't want to waste their trip and went to the Xiao family store. Most of the goods in the Xiao family store were bought from the Tsin family store at a low price. Even if there was a promotion, they still made a lot of money. The number of customers was more than double than usual. Sun Wuming happily showed Xiao Chen the good news his father was sending him on WeChat. Are you out of your mind? What does this have to do with me? Xiao Chen said angrily, don't disturb my class. If you keep talking, I'll throw you out. You? Fine, I'll tell you what, we're in a classroom and I don't want to fight. But just you wait, I'll let you have a good time when your Xiao family is destroyed tomorrow. Sun Wuming sneered. It was not that he did not dare to fight Xiao Chen, but he was not sure of Xiao Chen's strength. After all, he was only a martial artist with stage 8 inner force. If Xiao Chen was on par with him, he might not have the upper hand in a fight. Therefore, he planned to find a chance to ask Jing Xiaoquan about Xiao Chen's strength, but he was embarrassed to ask in front of Xiao Chen. It seemed like he was afraid of Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen did not pay attention to Sun Wuming until school ended at noon. Sun Wuming proudly pointed at Jing Xiaoquan and said, let's go. Let's have a meal to celebrate. Today, the Tsin family's business will enter Songning and suppress the Xiao family. At noon, Xiao Chen wanted to find Jing Xiaoquan to ask about the situation, but Sun Wuming called Jing Xiaoquan away first. He had no choice. Lu Zhiming just happened to come over. Boss Xiao Chen, you're back. Skinny monkey and I missed you so much when you weren't here. Lu Zhiming said, I'll treat you to a meal. Oh, let's go to the cafeteria. Xiao Chen smiled and said, do you remember the first time you treated me to a meal? Ah, don't mention it. I was young and ignorant at that time. I offended you. Lu Zhiming smiled and walked out of the classroom with Xiao Chen. Skinny Monkey and Ma Gangmen followed behind like two bodyguards. However, Xiao Chen also noticed that it seemed that Lu Zhiming was forcing a smile. Although he looked happy, he seemed to have something on his mind. Xiao Chen couldn't help but wonder, little Lu, what's wrong with you? Not very happy? Is it because Qing Menjing left so you don't have a goddess to look at? Boss Xiao Chen, don't make fun of me. Menjing is your woman. How can I dare to think about it? Lu Zhiming scratched his head awkwardly and lowered his voice. The Lu family's businesses are now almost all being counterattacked by the Zheng family. Martial arts hall, security company, fitness center. Now the business is greatly reduced. Oh? Xiao Chen was slightly stunned and immediately thought of something. Because of that Sun Wuming? Yeah, even our family's consecrator doesn't dare to provoke the Tsin family. It's a real martial arts family. It's not on the same level as our ordinary families. Lu Zhiming sighed. I didn't want to say this at first. I also know that you have a good relationship with Zheng Xiaoquan, so even if I said it, you wouldn't help me. It would make things difficult for you, but, AI. Xiaoqin nodded and said, I'll see the situation first. It seems that Zheng Xiaoquan has a bit of a compromise. I don't think this is his intention. Previously, Zheng Xiaoquan's expression and posture didn't seem to be willing. So Xiaoqin planned to observe him again. He could also get some information from Lu Zhiming. I don't know whether it's his intention or not. Anyway, it's the Zheng family's intention to cooperate with the Qin family, and the Zheng family also got the corresponding benefits. Lu Zhiming said, when they just entered Songning, they didn't dare to touch other businesses. They could only attack the underworld businesses. Because the Zheng family and our Lu family have grievances, it's reasonable to make a move. The other families won't intervene. After all, the Qin family didn't touch their territory. Oh, I was wondering why they were so happy to attack the Xiao family today. Xiaoqin nodded. It seems that they can't wait. What? They attacked the Xiao family? Lu Zhiming was shocked. Yeah, but don't worry. I don't care about a small Qin family. Xiaoqin said faintly, moreover, I don't need to do anything at all. They are no match for the Xie family with normal business means. But we still have to guard against their dirty tricks. Lu Zhiming said, the Qin family is quite sinister. I heard that they have some connections with the Wulin families. I'm afraid. It's okay. If it was in the past, Xiaoqin would be scared when he heard the words Wulin. Not to mention the Wulin, Xiaoqin didn't dare to offend the Wulin families easily. But now, well, since Boss Xiaoqin is confident, then I won't say more. Let's go eat. Lu Zhiming said. Outside the school, in a private room of a luxury restaurant, Sun Wu was eating a lamb chop elegantly. He said to Zheng Xiaoquan, you eat too. Don't act like a servant. Yes. Zheng Xiaoquan thought, am I not a servant? I don't have any human rights in front of you. You scold me all day and treat me like a lackey. I've had enough. But he didn't dare to say it. The Qin family could destroy the Zheng family in minutes. Although his father didn't say it clearly, Zheng Xiaoquan could see that his father regretted working with the Qin family. Oh yeah, let me ask you. What's the strength of that Xiaoqin? He seems to be okay? Sun Wu asked faintly while picking his teeth. I'm not very sure, but I heard that he's quite powerful. He seems to be close to the level of a devil master? Zheng Xiaoquan actually didn't know. The last news he heard was that Xiaoqin fought with the devil master of the Qishan sect, but he didn't know what his strength was. What? He's a devil master. Sun Wu suddenly widened his eyes after hearing it. He looked incredulous. Are you kidding me? A small ordinary family can have a devil master? I'm not very sure about this. Xiaoqin hasn't come to school for a while. I heard it before. Zheng Xiaoquan smiled bitterly. At that time, it seemed that there was a devil master from the outer martial arts sects who went to look for trouble with Xiaoqin, and then, the outer martial arts sects looked for trouble with Xiaoqin? Stop bullsh asterisk ting. Okay, no need to say more. Sun Wu immediately waved his hand after hearing it. A finished lamb chop bone was directly thrown at Zheng Xiaoquan's face. His throw was imbued with inner strength, and Zheng Xiaoquan was in so much pain that he almost cried. I know what you're thinking. Don't think that I don't know that you have a good relationship with that Xiaoqin. Don't you just want to promote him? You want me to think that he's strong and not go against him, right? Sun Wu Ming sneered. Zheng Xiaoquan, you're too naive. Think about it. If he's a devil master, then how can the Xiao family still be an ordinary family? Didn't they already apply to be promoted to a true martial arts family? Do you think that's possible? No. I heard that he and a few other friends chased the people from the Qishan sect away. Zheng Xiaoquan said. In fact, he only heard it from others. The Qishan sect wouldn't say the real truth, and the Xiao family naturally wouldn't say it either. He only heard a small part of it. He didn't even know if there were any deaths. That's too funny. Sun Wu Ming sneered. Alright, you said that he's a devil master, right? That's no problem. It just so happens that the second high priest of the family is coming tonight to check on our results today. When the time comes, I'll let him deal with Xiaoqin. Ah. Zheng Xiaoquan was stunned. He said that Xiaoqin was a devil master and how powerful he was. In fact, it wasn't that he didn't want Sun Wu Ming to keep the peace. If the Qin family and the Xiao family were to fight, then Zheng Xiaoquan would be in a difficult situation. After all, Xiaoqin had helped the Zheng family speak up at the Songning Righteous Devil Summit. Moreover, the two of them were also very good friends in school. But now, he didn't expect that after saying so much, it would attract an even more powerful opponent for Xiaoqin. This made him very depressed. Brother Tsin, there's no need to mobilize so many people to deal with a child from an aristocratic family, right? If the other aristocratic families in Songning saw this, they would think that we're also going to deal with them one by one. If that happens, it'll be difficult to deal with them jointly. Chapter 790. Haha, now everyone knows that it's Xiaoqin from the Xiao family who offended me. What's wrong with me taking out the Xiao family? Isn't that normal? Who would think twice? They'll just watch the show. Sun Wuming waved his hand. I'm doing this with a good reason. I'm not looking for trouble for no reason. Alright, say no more. I've made up my mind. Yes. Jing Xiaoquan nodded helplessly. He thought that he had to inform Xiaoqin so that Xiaoqin could prepare in advance. Otherwise, what would happen to Xiaoqin if the Tsin family's consecrator came? Why aren't you eating? Why don't you eat? Sun Wuming pointed at the food on the table. Seeing that Jing Xiaoquan wasn't eating much, he was unhappy. What? You don't like the food? I can eat but you can't? Eat. Jing Xiaoquan wasn't in the mood to eat. However, seeing Sun Wuming's expression, he knew that he had to eat. He could only bite the bullet and eat. That's more like it. Eat this plate of steak. Sun Wuming pushed a plate of steak in front of Jing Xiaoquan. Okay. Thank you, brother Tsin. Jing Xiaoquan was on the verge of tears. F***ck, you ordered so much, took a bite of each and left the rest for me? Are you trying to stuff me to death? Jing Xiaoquan almost died from eating. However, he had no choice but to pretend to be happy and return to class with Sun Wuming. At this time, Xiaoqin had already returned from his meal. Seeing Sun Wuming's arrogant look, he was amused. Where did this guy's sense of superiority come from? Did he really think that he had the Xiao family under his thumb? Xiaoqin, do you want to know the latest battle report? Seeing that Xiaoqin was ignoring him, Sun Wuming felt no sense of accomplishment. However, he didn't dare to make a move. After all, he wasn't sure if Xiaoqin was the devil master. So, it was better to wait for the family's consecrator. For the time being, he could just say something. I don't want to know, Xiaoqin said lightly. You. Sun Wuming looked deeply into Xiaoqin's eyes and said helplessly, do whatever you want, but don't cry tonight when you find out the result. Xiaoqin picked up the book and ignored him. Sun Wuming had the strength but nowhere to exert it, so he could only sit aside resentfully and take out his phone to continue contacting his father, Sun Jiejin. After school in the evening, Xiaoqin waited for Xiao Xiao, but he didn't drive immediately. Brother, why aren't you leaving? You're still waiting for someone? Xiao Xiao asked curiously. Look at Li Xiener. She didn't leave, right? Xiaoqin looked at the middle school section. I don't think so. I was the first one to run out. Xiao Xiao thought about it and said, by the way, brother, I helped you observe Li Xiener today. She's the same as usual. But I suspect. Of course, it's just a suspicion. This Li Xiener might be a fake name. What? Xiaoqin was stunned. You also know that I'm the class's art committee member. I have the right to check the information of the class members. Xiao Xiao said, I found out that everyone has an ID number except for her. Do you think there's a problem? Xiaoqin frowned. Nowadays, many people have an ID card at birth. They don't have to wait until they are 16 years old, but they usually get one after the age of 16. If Li Xiener doesn't have one, then there's really a problem. Yes. Xiao Xiao said proudly, I found nothing special about the others, but her grades in elementary school are very average. Although she looked good in elementary school, she wasn't ugly, but she was like a black potato. Her skin wasn't good at all. Now it's like milk. Her whole person also has an otherworldly fairy aura. Do you think she used her special ability to change her physique? Xiaoqin nodded. After waiting for a while, Li Xiener didn't come, but Sun Wuming came instead. Aha, isn't this Xiaoqin? Who's this pretty girl? Sun Wuming saw Xiao Xiao and suddenly had a feeling of amazement. He said, Sister, let me tell you. Don't think that this guy is the young master of the Xiao family. The Xiao family is about to go bankrupt. You will soon be living on the streets. There's no future for you to follow him. Get lost. Xiao Xiao said angrily, Who are you? Are you crazy? See, you still don't believe me. You should know Jing Xiaoquan, right? If you don't believe me, you can ask him if the Xiao family is going to be finished. Sun Wuming pointed to Zheng Xiaoquan beside him and said, "Brother Sun, that is Xiao Chen's sister." Zheng Xiaoquan's face was full of black lines. She is also from the Xiao family. What? Sun Wuming was stunned and didn't know what to say. He could only turn around and get into his car, a Ferrari sports car. Although he had taken a liking to Xiao Xiao, he had already reached an impasse today. There was no turning back. He could only give up for now and wait for the Xiao family to be finished. This kind of young lady who was used to living a luxurious life could be easily tricked into bed. Thinking of this, Sun Wuming was happy again, as if the Xiao family was going to be finished. After a while, Li Xiener came out with her school bag. It seemed that a boy was pestering her with flowers in his hand and was about to confess to her. Nobody knew what he was talking about. Anyway, Li Xiener didn't have a good expression. She walked forward with a cold face. Seeing that Li Xiener ignored him, the boy grabbed Li Xiener. "What are you doing?" "Zhao Yuqing, I told you that I don't want to be in a relationship. Can you stop bothering me? We are not suitable for each other." Li Xiener got rid of the boy impatiently and continued to walk forward. When passing the parking lot, Xiao Xiao suddenly opened the window and shouted, "Li Xiener, take my car. I'll give you a ride." Li Xiener was slightly surprised when she heard Xiao Chen call her, but then she saw Xiao Chen in the driver's seat. She subconsciously thought that Xiao Chen wanted to help her, but at this time she wanted to get away, so she directly got into the car. "Hey Li Xiener." The boy saw that Li Xiener got in the car and he was a little anxious. He walked over in a few steps to open the door. However, Xiao Chen had already locked the door and started the car. He directly threw the boy off. The man named Zhao Yuqing's eyes flashed a touch of coldness. He quickly ran to the side of a Volkswagen Touareg and got in the car. He directly started the car and chased after Xiao Chen's Land Rover. In terms of grade, his car wasn't worse than Xiao Chen's, but it looked more low-key. However, Xiao Chen recognized it and couldn't help but ask, "What is this person doing? He seems to be quite rich." "I don't know. He transferred from another school and then he began to chase me," Li Xiener said casually to Xiao Chen, but after she finished speaking she suddenly felt that she was too casual in front of Xiao Xiao. She was a girl who didn't like to talk much in school. Even if Xiao Chen saved her before, it was impossible for her to be so casual with Xiao Chen. However, Xiao Xiao didn't think there was anything wrong with it. She just smiled and said, "Why don't you be my brother's girlfriend? Then that Zhao Yuqing will give up." And? Li Xiener was stunned and looked at Xiao Xiao in confusion. "Alright, don't pretend. My brother told me that you are the same kind of person. You don't have to hide it." Xiao Xiao smiled. Oh. Li Xiener was surprised, but she didn't explain. She thought that Xiao Chen and Xiao Xiao were talking about her being a martial artist. After all, cultivators weren't easy to understand. Xiao Xiao was also a woman from an aristocratic family. She knew that there was nothing wrong with being a martial artist, so Li Xiener said, "Yes, I am also a martial artist, but my strength is too low. I don't have the ability to protect myself." When Xiao Xiao heard Li Xiener say this, she thought that she wanted to keep the matter of being a superpower a secret, so she didn't expose it. She nodded and said, "My brother is strong, so he can help you." "Alright Xiao Xiao, don't mess around. I just came back for a few days. How can I have time to care about these things?" Xiao Chen smiled bitterly. "Don't be a hindrance when the time comes. When Zhao Yuqing saw that I left, he would be even more crazy. He thinks that since Li Xiener can be a partner with me, she can naturally be a partner with him. It's better to refuse." "That's true." Xiao Xiao nodded. "Right Li Xiener, where is your home? We will send you back." "No need. Just drop me at the intersection in front." Li Xiener subconsciously didn't want Xiao Chen to know too much about her. "The car behind is chasing." Xiao Xiao pointed to the back of the car. "Ah." Li Xiener also saw Zhao Yuqing's car and she suddenly had a headache. Why did he follow? Really? Hee, so I helped you get rid of him. "Tell me, where is your home?" asked Xiao Chen. "Well, my home is in Shanty Town." Li Xiener had to say, "I rented a house there." Xiao Chen was slightly stunned. How can it be Shanty Town? Is this Li Xiener so poor? Seeing Xiao Chen's doubts, Li Xiener smiled self-deprecatingly. "I'm an orphan. I don't have much money. Only my master left me some inheritance before he died, but it's not much. I have to live frugally." Since Xiao Xiao knew that she was a martial artist, Li Xiener didn't avoid the matter of her master. "It's really hard for you to listen." Xiao Xiao sighed sympathetically. Li Xiener wanted to say, "Yeah," but she heard Xiao Xiao continue, So you really should find a rich boyfriend. Ha. Li Xianer looked at Xiao Xiao in amazement. I'm kidding. Xiao Xiao stuck out her tongue. Xiao Qin showed his racing skills at this time. Although it was the rush hour, Xiao Qin's Land Rover was still as dexterous as a motorcycle. It shuttled on the road, and it didn't take long for the Ferrari sports car behind to disappear. Motherf asterisk cur. Zhao Yuqing slammed the steering wheel and shouted, "The one who drives the Land Rover, I remember you. Don't let me see you again tomorrow, otherwise humph." As Zhao Yuqing said this, he found a double solid line and turned around to leave. The car came to Shantytown. Because it couldn't go in, Li Xianer got off here. He nodded to her and didn't say much. Xiao Qin drove away directly. Chapter 791. After Xiao Qin left, Li Xianer thought about it. It couldn't be that Xiao Chang still wanted to learn cultivation from her, so he asked his sister to matchmake her, right? Why didn't this Xiao Chang give up? Li Xianer already knew that Xiao Xiao was not Xiao Chang's boyfriend but his sister, so her thoughts began to drift again. When Xiao Qin and Xiao Xiao returned home, they saw Xie Huang and Yu Xiaochuan's father, Yunan. Second uncle Xiao Hai was discussing something with them. Seeing Xiao Qin come in, Xie Huang immediately stood up. "Xiao Qin. And you're all here. Are you studying the Tsin family?" Xiao Qin nodded and asked. "Yeah, some of the businesses that our Yu family and the Xiao family cooperated with were also attacked." Yunan said. The Yu family's main business was the hotel industry. It was true that they were attacked, but it was hard to say whether there would be any effect after the attack. Even if there was, it would be a good effect. Yunan was not as respectful to Xiao Qin as Xie Huang. After all, the Yu family had Yu Xiaochuan and their strength was not weak. In fact, the Yu family could do well without cooperating with the Xiao family. However, Yu Xiaochuan insisted on cooperating with the Xiao family, so Yunan had no choice. Although he was Yu Xiaochuan's father, the core figure of the Yu family was still Yu Xiaochuan. Whoever was stronger had the right to speak. "What's the result?" Xiao Qin asked. "Although we've all been attacked, it seems that our response measures are still good." Xie Huang said, "Take the chain store for example. Our business was not affected at all. On the contrary, because 90% of the goods in the Tsin family store were swallowed by us, they have no goods to sell now. Customers can only come to us. Moreover, because the price of the Tsin family store is extremely low, our purchase cost is also reduced a lot, so the profit is several times higher than usual." "Good job." Xiao Qin breathed a sigh of relief. Although he knew that Xie Huang and the others were not incompetent, he was relieved to hear that it was fine. The hotel business that the Yu clan was working with was also the same. Their profits were much higher than usual. Overall, it was good news. However, they still had to discuss it together. They were afraid that the Tsin clan would come to their senses and continue to play dirty tricks. The Xiao family was celebrating and so was the Tsin family. Tsin Jejin did not realize that his current actions were burning money. From his point of view, if he wanted to quickly open up the market, how could he not incur losses in the early stages? And now, the momentum brought about by various promotions and discounts was also very gratifying. Looking at the reports handed over by his assistants, Tsin Jejin couldn't close his mouth. "Great, this is great. In just one day we've taken over half of the hotel and supermarket industries." The Xiao family's businesses are losing ground? Yes, Director Xin. Our supermarket has been out of stock several times, and the hotel is already overcrowded, especially with many people applying for membership cards. The assistant nodded and said, "Not bad, you guys are very capable. Hold the Xiao family back for a few days. When the time comes they'll be finished. We'll send people to buy all of the Xiao family's businesses," Tsin Jejin said proudly. Actually, his plan was very good. The customers were already in his shop. Unless the Xiao family also started a price war, they could only wait for death. But the Xiao family was a small family. Could they afford a price war with the real martial clan? It was completely impossible. They could only be bought over. Otherwise, these businesses would be losing money in the hands of the Xiao family. What was the use of keeping them? Tsin Jejin's plan was very good. This was also a very common business method. Of course, it might be effective against some small businesses, but against the Xiao family, it would be a tragedy. The Xiao family was not a small family or a small business. In terms of wealth, no one in the vicinity could be richer than the Xie family. Especially the Xiao family, the Xie family, and the Yu family were united. Not only were they rich, they also had the business brain, Xie Huang. Not only did they not lose money and wait for death, but they also gained a great advantage. This was something Qin Jiajin did not expect. Of course, it was impossible for him to think in this direction. After all, supermarkets occupied a lot of their own business. Otherwise, why would many supermarkets like to buy on credit with their suppliers? They were also very scarce in cash. For the Xiao family to use money to buy all the goods in their competitors' supermarkets was simply unimaginable. He had never heard of anyone doing this before. This was not the stock market. It was the same for the hotel industry. It was also strange to let their employees stay in the hotel for a long time. But now that the Xiao family was rich and willful, it was not a problem. Director Qin, you flatter me. This is all because of Director Qin's leadership. The assistant quickly said modestly. Well, let's go. The second consecrator is coming. Let's welcome him together. Qin Jiajin stood up and said seriously. The second consecrator was not from the real martial clan's Qin family, but from the outer martial world's Qin family. The outer martial world's Qin family had sent 2 experts to the real martial clan's Qin family. This was also to make the Qin family stand out from the other real martial clans. Just then Qin Wuming came back from school. As soon as he entered the door, he saw that his father was going out. Dad, you are going to... Qin Wuming also received the family's battle report. He wanted to have a joyful chat with his father for a while. The second consecrator is coming. Wuming, you should go with him. Qin Jiajin said. Okay. Qin Wuming was very happy when he heard that the second consecrator was coming. He wanted to find a chance to talk to the second consecrator about how to deal with Xiao Qin. They arrived at the Zheng family's gate. The Zheng family had actually moved to a remote place in the courtyard. They were not allowed to walk around. Jing Xiaoquan felt that this was no longer his home. A commercial vehicle slowly stopped at the gate of the Zheng family's mansion. An old man in a black robe came out of the vehicle. He looked at Qin Jiajin with arrogance in his eyes and said, Jiajin, I heard that you have been here for a month and have not made any progress. The head of the previous family asked me to come and see if you are not capable or have some difficulties. The old man was very arrogant when he said this. He had the dignity and disdain of a superior. He was the second consecrator of the Qin family. The head of the previous family he mentioned was naturally not the head of the real martial world's Qin family, but the head of the outer martial world's Qin family. Second consecrator, that was in the past. Today I have great news to report to you. Qin Jiajin said respectfully. Please come in and listen to Jiajin's detailed report. Oh? Good news? Tell me about it. The second consecrator was slightly stunned. He was a little annoyed that Qin Jiajin was so useless. He was sent to help because he had not made any progress in a month. But now it seemed that it was not the case. Yes. After entering the living room, Qin Jiajin explained in detail how Qin Wuming obtained an opportunity from the Xiao family's hothead young master, Xiao Qin, and then seized half of the supermarket and hotel industry. Not bad. The second consecrator listened to Qin Jiajin's report. Although he felt that it was not bad, that was in consideration of the family's interests. He was a little unhappy from the perspective of personal interests. These things happened before he came, so it was not his credit. When he returned, the previous family's head would not give him any reward. This made him a little dispirited. All right, if that's the case, then continue according to your plan. I don't need to do anything. I think I will go back in a few days. Ah. How smart was Qin Jiajin. As soon as he heard the second consecrator's words, he understood the meaning behind it. He quickly said, Second consecrator, how can you leave? Today's results were only achieved under your supervision. Without your strong backing, we wouldn't have dared to challenge the Xiao family. After all, the Xiao family is a local aristocratic family. Even if we are a dragon crossing the river, a strong dragon can't suppress a snake in its own territory. But we know that the second consecrator is coming to support us, so we dared to do this. Is that so? Does this mean that I also contributed? The second consecrator was delighted. That's for sure. When the time comes, I'll report it to the upper family. Without the second deacon, we wouldn't have dared to challenge the Xiao family. All of this is because of the second deacon's support. Aha, I am not as powerful as you say. The second consecrator laughed. This way he could get a share of the profits. He immediately felt that Qin Jiajin was more pleasing to the eye. And since you said so, I will definitely contribute. If there is anything you can't handle, just tell me. I will solve it for you. Yes, thank you, second consecrator. Qin Jiajin quickly thanked him. That. Qin Wuming wanted to talk about Xiao Chen, but he was stopped by Qin Jiajin's eyes. Then, second consecrator, do you think we should eat at home or go to the family's hotel? Sun Jiajin asked. Let's go to the hotel. We can see how full the hotel is. The second consecrator nodded. Okay, then let's go to the hotel. Sun Jiajin said, I will contact them. And I will rest first. The second consecrator said, get someone to bring me to my room. Yes. Xiao Wang, bring the second consecrator to the prepared room. Sun Jiajin ordered his assistant, Xiao Wang. After Xiao Wang left with the second consecrator, Sun Wuming looked at his father in confusion. Father, just now I wanted to say, I know. Just now you wanted to talk about letting the second consecrator deal with Xiaoqin, right? Sun Jiajin asked. Yes, exactly. Why did you interrupt me? Sun Wuming was confused. He had already talked to his father about taking care of Xiaoqin during the day, and his father agreed. Why did he change his mind at night? At this time, it is not appropriate to let the second consecrator deal with Xiaoqin directly. We need to use the second consecrator as a trump card instead of using him directly. Sun Jiajin said, if this continues, the Xiao family's hotel and shopping center will not be able to hold on. In a few days we will be able to buy them over. However, even if the Xiao family wants to sell them, they will not sell them for a low price. At this time we need to threaten and bribe them. The second consecrator can appear. Chapter 792. Oh. Father, you are really far-sighted. Sun Wuming immediately understood. I'm just teaching Xiaoqin a lesson for a while, but you are making the Xiao family suffer for a long time. That's right. If Xiaoqin is really a martial arts master like you said, then the Xiao family will definitely use Xiaoqin as a trump card and bring him to negotiate with us. It will also serve as a deterrent and pressure. The price they sell us won't be too low. Sun Jiajin said, but they didn't expect our second priest to be even more powerful. They can only wait to cry haha. Okay, let Xiaoqin be proud for 2 more days. Sun Wuming thought about the gains and losses, so he wasn't in a hurry to teach Xiaoqin a lesson. Not only did he not teach Xiaoqin a lesson, but he also wanted to show weakness to the enemy, making Xiaoqin feel that he really couldn't do anything to him. When the second priest appeared, Xiaoqin's disadvantage would be huge. Maybe he wouldn't be able to accept the fact and become mentally ill. In the evening, Sun Jiajin and his son brought the second priest to a relatively high-end hotel. This hotel was also acquired, so the front desk manager didn't know Sun Jiajin and the others. He thought they were guests who wanted to stay in the hotel. In order to investigate the situation, Sun Jiajin didn't reveal his identity, but asked directly, young man, we want to stay in the hotel. 3 rooms? I'm sorry, sir. Our hotel is full because of the event. The lobby manager walked over and said politely. That room is empty? Sun Jiajin asked. This one is really empty. The lobby manager smiled bitterly. All of them are full. Then, can we have a room tomorrow? Sun Jiajin asked. This is hard to say because most of the guests booked more than 3 days. Even if there is a booking for 1 day, if they don't check out and continue to pay tomorrow, we can't kick them out, right? The lobby manager explained. Ah, not bad. Sun Jiajin was delighted after hearing it. The second priest on the side was also very satisfied. It seemed that Sun Jiajin wasn't bragging, but it was really true. Seeing that Sun Jiajin laughed and said not bad, the lobby manager was a little puzzled. Sir, you are Xiao Lu, right? I'm Sun Jiajin. Did my assistant, Xiao Wang, contact you before? Sun Jiajin smiled. It's Director Sun, I'm sorry. The lobby manager apologized profusely. I've never seen you before, so... Well, it's fine. I just want to see the real you. Alright, have you arranged the dinner? Lead the way. Sun Jiajin waved his hand and said. Okay, Director Sun, please come with me. The lobby manager hurriedly made a pleased gesture. When he went to the elevator, Sun Jiajin found that all 3 elevators were in use, which meant that there were a lot of people in the hotel, so he simply took the stairs. Anyway, the restaurant was in the basement, so it was only a few steps away. Keep it up. You've done very well. I'll report what I see. The second priest was also very satisfied with the current situation. Haha, same to you. Sun Jiajin said happily. It was a quiet night. The next morning, Xiaoqin woke up early. Looking at Xiao, who was sleeping soundly next to him, Xiaoqin planned to go to the morning market street to see how Kerlin was doing. He hadn't seen her for a long time. In Xiaoqin's mind, he didn't have much romantic feelings for Kerlin. At most, it might be a kind of habit to take care of her. It was like that when he was in number 1 middle school, and it was still the same after he left. Xiaoqun didn't drive but ran all the way to the morning market street. It was a familiar street, but when Xiaoqun came here again, it was so strange, as if it was a lifetime ago. It seemed like he hadn't been here for a long time. Looking at the familiar scene of the morning market street, it seemed that everything was getting farther and farther away from him. Fried dough sticks and tofu pudding, bacon pancake, Zhang's meat buns, all kinds of hawking were mixed with the sound of people bargaining. Xiaoqun slowly walked to the market, but when he walked to the stall where Tang Tang and himself used to be, he couldn't help but be stunned. This was not Lin Ker's family's wooden planks, but a stall selling new and strange items. Look, all kinds of new and special products. Several men in their 20s were hawking in front of the stall. Have you seen a small saw that can cut an iron bar? It's right here. Only $15. You won't lose out if you buy it. You won't regret it if you buy it. The man shouted as he sawed an iron pipe back and forth with a saw blade. Soon the iron pipe was sawed off. The saw in his hand was only a small saw that could be held with one hand. Such a magical thing naturally attracted the generosity of the people around, because 15 yuan was really not expensive. If this thing was really useful, it was really a good price. Have you seen a magical little box that can receive all the satellite programs? This is what I'm going to show everyone today. Everyone, please take a look. As long as you connect the video cable of this box to the TV, you can receive a satellite TV. The young man nimbly connected the equipment, and then all kinds of high-definition channels appeared on the TV. There's also an adult channel, you know. As he spoke, the young man changed the channel. Suddenly there were scenes of on the TV. Some aunties scolded the young man for being indecent, but there were also many old men who expressed great interest and wanted to buy it. At this time, an old man squeezed in with a swish. This satellite receiver box I bought yesterday doesn't work at all. Before he finished, a young man pulled the old man out. Sir, it's you who don't know how to use it, right? How about this? I will go home with you to adjust it. Xiaoqun frowned. Go home to adjust it? Maybe they threatened and forced this old man to not dare to make trouble again? Xiaoqun could guess this kind of trick. There were also things like sonic mousetraps, infrared dog scares, and the like. Some were real, but even if they were real, the effects weren't that magical. Xiaoqun didn't care about these. What he was most concerned about was who the owner of this stall was. Could it be someone hired by Lin's family? If that was the case, then Xiaoqun had really misjudged them. After watching for a while, Xiaoqun left. He planned to find someone to ask about the situation. However, as he walked forward, he saw Lin's noodle stall. It had returned to its original position. Of course, it was at the back and business wasn't as good as before. Lin. Xiaoqun called out to Lin, who was busy. Xiaoqun. When Lin saw Xiaoqun, a complicated look flashed in her eyes. She didn't know how she should treat Xiaoqun. Was it gratitude? Well, fear. Or nothing at all. However, every time she saw Xiaoqun, she would feel very nervous, and the spinach in her hand would fall to the ground. Let me help you pick it up. Xiaoqun squatted down and helped Lin pick up the spinach. Lin was wearing a short skirt in early spring, which was also the school uniform of number 1 middle school. When Xiaoqun squatted down, he saw a touch of spring between her legs. It was pink panties. Lin might have also realized this. When she saw Xiaoqun staring blankly, her face suddenly turned red. She subconsciously wanted to close her legs, but because the spinach and water from before had spilled on the ground, her feet slipped, and her body unconsciously leaned forward. This time, Lin sat directly on Xiaoqun's face. The pink panties also happened to press down on Xiaoqun's face. The scent of a young girl made Xiaoqun a little restless. He wanted to push Lin away, but he couldn't bear to let go of this feeling. At this time, Papa Lin and Mama Lin were attracted by the scream, and they saw their daughter sitting ambiguously on a man's face. This posture, this action. Papa Lin rubbed his eyes. It can't be, my daughter has grown up to be so avant-garde? Mama Lin was a little angry. She ran over and pulled Lin up. Only then did Xiaoqun awkwardly crawl out from under the skirt. Auntie? Mama Lin was about to get angry. Which little brat dared to do such a vulgar thing in public? But when she saw it was Xiaoqun, she couldn't help but be stunned. Isn't this Xiaoqun? Long time no see. You and our heir are already together? Mama Lin originally wanted to beat Lin and Xiaoqun to death when she saw her daughter fall in love. But when she saw it was Xiaoqun, her attitude mysteriously changed. First, Xiaoqun always helped the Lin family and he even saved Lin several times. Second, she heard that Xiao Chen's family was very well off, and her daughter wouldn't be at a disadvantage if she followed him. This, Auntie, it's a misunderstanding. Xiao Chen could only explain while wiping his sweat. I saw Ku'er drop the spinach, so I helped her pick it up. I didn't expect her to slip, and it became like that just now. Actually, we really didn't do anything. Is that really the case? Mama Lin looked at the spinach on the ground and suddenly felt a little disappointed. Speaking of which, she was very satisfied with Xiao Chen as a son-in-law, but it turned out to be a misunderstanding. That's right, Mommy, why are you making such a big fuss? Lin Ku'er said with a blushing face. She only felt that there was a strange feeling under her body. It was a little bashful and exciting, but it seemed to be pretty good. Shocked by this thought, Lin Ku'er hurriedly shook her head. How could it be pretty good? This was a very dirty thing. Oh. Mama Lin didn't say anything more. She looked at her daughter's blushing face and felt that there was a problem here, but maybe they hadn't really confirmed their relationship? In Mama Lin's opinion, Kurlin was also growing up, and in the blink of an eye she would be going to college in the next half of the year, so it was normal for her to have a boyfriend. And the most important problem was that the Lin family's financial situation wasn't good. Even if they had saved some money before with the addition of Kurlin's prize money from the competition, it was only enough to buy an ordinary first-floor retail store. So, Kurlin inevitably didn't have money to go to college. If Xiao Chen and Kurlin were together, then she wouldn't have to worry anymore. In the past, she thought that selling noodles could make a living, but as she grew older and Papa Lin's health wasn't very good, so Mama Lin wanted to open a store and not work so hard in the morning market. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.